They were both known as the school's top figures by their juniors. One was Yin Che, who was said to avoid early romances and socializing, becoming increasingly isolated due to his obsession with studying. The other was Zhang Yao, who adhered to the belief that his partner must be delicate, gentle, obedient, and possess a romantic mindset. Until one day, these two school leaders met. At this moment, within West City No. 1 High School, students were still gossiping about last night's incident during break. Did you hear? Yin Che sent a senior student to the hospital last night. As soon as Yin Che was mentioned, someone said, "Excuse me, may I pass?" Upon hearing this, the students immediately adopted a respectful attitude, saying, "Brother Che, you're too polite. Please come in." It was as if the entrance of a young lady had cleared the way, and the students were too scared to make a sound. Yin Che felt quite helpless. Do I really seem that intimidating to them? Meanwhile, in the 11th grade office, the teacher looked at the tall and imposing transfer student. "Zhang Yao, from now on, you'll be a part of our class. Make sure to get along well with your classmates." "All right. Thank you, teacher." In front of the teacher, Zhang Yao displayed an unprecedented level of obedience, leading many teachers to naively believe that this child was quite sensible and reassuring. Little did they know, after completing the enrollment procedures, this school bully revealed his true colors. These people are really noisy. Then the teacher brought Zhang Yao to the class and helped with the introduction. Zhang Yao scribbled his name on the blackboard. "Hello everyone, my name is Zhang Yao, I'm an alpha. I have a wide range of hobbies such as watching anime, watching movies, and reading novels. That's about it." After the introduction, there was scattered applause in the class. "What, such a nerd and so uncool. And his handwriting is so bad." The teacher planned to seat Zhang Yao at the last row by the window, but then found Yin Che sleeping soundly under his school uniform. Yin Che, how can you be asleep? Wake up." The drowsy Yin Che thought he was being called on in class and replied absent-mindedly, "Yin Che, you're young, you should be energetic." Meanwhile, Zhang Yao was already seated next to him. Zhang Yao looked at the writing in his book and thought, "This new deskmate has quite cute handwriting." Thinking this, Zhang Yao put on an innocent expression. "Classmate, I just transferred here and I'm not familiar with the textbook. Can I have a look at yours?" But Yin Che wasn't buying it at all, and impatiently tossed the book over. "Don't bother me if it's nothing important." After saying that, he lay back down on the desk and went back to sleep. Zhang Yao was left bewildered, but looking at him again, he found him quite cute, like an omega. When the school bell rang, Zhang Yao playfully poked Yin Che's cheek. "Classmate, school's over, you can." But before Zhang Yao could finish speaking, the next second, Yin Che flipped him over. "Are you looking for trouble?" The class president broke the silence and told him that Yin Che has an alpha stress disorder. Speaking of Yin Che, all the teachers and students at No. 1 High School have heard of him. Firstly, because he's rich, the kind of wealthy that ranks in the city. It's said that his dad owns a famous law firm and is close to the mayor. Their home is filled with countless mansions, with furniture made of pure gold. Secondly, because of Yin Che's eccentric temperament, he has an alpha stress disorder, like a dormant volcano. People joke and call him the school tyrant. The night before the school year started, boarding students had to arrive early. Zhang Yao finally finished packing and took a shower, ready to sleep. Then came a loud noise from next door, like someone hammering something. Such sounds would never come from an ordinary student dormitory, and it even had a duet effect. He put on his pajamas and disguise glasses, politely knocking on the door next door. "Hello classmate, I'm from room 307, could you open the door?" It finally quieted down, and a few seconds later, the door opened inward. Seeing the person, he didn't feel like talking anymore. What a small world. His new desk mate stood in front of him, slightly shorter and looking quite obedient, except for holding a saw. Privilege indeed, he couldn't even bring in a fruit knife, yet this guy could bring a saw. Yin Che's eyes remained indifferent. "What do you want? Why knock on the door?" In his skewed worldview, betas and omegas are weaklings. Yin Che had downgraded from a little bunny to a little rascal. "It's you, sorry about last time." Pointed at the saw in his hand. "May I ask if this is from when you were kidnapped as a child and all your characteristics were destroyed?" From that moment on, what he wanted was not the will to survive but the will to die. Until that unsuspecting new deskmate walked into his world. Pointed at the saw in his hand. "May I ask if this is? I'm the only one in the dorm. I'm sawing wood, don't you have common sense?" Zhang Yao has never seen a Bia with such an arrogant tone. He smiled and did not intend to be polite. "No matter what you are sawing, could you please keep it down? I live next door and can't sleep because of the noise." Yin Che just frowned and asked, "Is it very noisy? Why didn't anyone come to me the day before yesterday?" Zhang Yao wanted to laugh inwardly. "With such noise and no one coming to you, do you really not know what you are like at school?" He thought if the other party was still so arrogant, he wouldn't mind letting this beta experience what pheromone suppression is. However, the other party was reasonable. No need, I won't do it tonight, sorry. Zhang Yao was a bit surprised, never seen such a reclusive person. The next day in class, the math representative came to collect homework. Zhang Yao took out his math workbook and handed it to him. Yang Yilei nodded, reached out to take his workbook, and pulled but didn't pull it away. Zhang Yao smiled and measured. Yang student, you are an Omega, right? Yang Yile's face turned red. Just as he uttered the word, I, his desk mate who was holding a saw at midnight, slammed his fist on the desk, as if venting frustration and as a warning. Zhang Yao really wanted to ask his new desk mate what the problem was with his brain, always making noise. Yin Che told him not to harass Omega Zhang Yao, who then lost his temper. I was just asking if he is one. Isn't it normal for an alpha to train an Omega? Yin Che glared at him and uttered the word, frivolous. Zhang Yao held his breath and stood his ground. Yin Che, do you always talk like this? Like you're asking for a beating? The classroom instantly fell silent. No one had ever dared to talk back to the school bully. Yin Che clenched his fists, ready to fight. Just then, the class teacher's loud voice filled the room, easing the previously tense atmosphere to merely lingering echoes of his words. Yin Che turned his head first, signaling a ceasefire. Zhang Yao also took out his books to start reading. After class, he leisurely strolled to the cafeteria, and only when he saw the long queue did he remember that now there was no one to get food for him. He suddenly missed having someone to serve him meals at the old school, especially during the cafeteria's peak hours. Finally, he found a spot. As he got closer, he saw his deskmate sitting across from him. Yin Che, who was sipping his soup, looked up with a frown and asked, "Why are you sitting here?" Zhang Yao ignored him, but the other party kept provoking him. Unable to bear it any longer, Zhang Yao slammed down his chopsticks. "Is your name written on this seat? Can't I sit here?" If a tiger doesn't show his might, he is almost ridden on the head by monkeys. Yin Che's shoulders shook slightly, seemingly frightened, and asked, "Why are you so fierce?" Zhang Yao laughed. "This is fierce? I'm not as fierce as someone who flips chairs and slams tables. I thought my new deskmate was a gentle little rabbit. Who knew that upon arrival, he would be flipped onto the ground? Even during a meal, enemies cross paths, like a tiger not showing his might being almost ridden on the head by monkeys. First, I apologized without knowing. Second, Yang Yilei didn't think I was harassing him. What right do you have to say I'm harassing classmates? Now, I'm just trying to find a spot to eat, and you question me. What exactly did I do wrong? If you have a problem with me, go talk to the teacher. I'd be happy to be moved away." His temper wasn't any better, lacking patience. Even when chasing Omegas, he usually loses interest in 3 minutes, let alone tolerating an ignorant beat. Yin Che was silent for a moment before suddenly standing up. "I didn't question you. Normally, no one sits opposite me, that's all." Then, he left without looking back, carrying his tray. Zhang Yao watched his back in a daze. What's this young master up to? After finishing a lunch that didn't quite whet his appetite, he wandered aimlessly around the campus to get familiar with the new environment. Suddenly, faint voices came from the small grove. Was he stumbling upon a confession scene? He was always the main character, so being a bystander for the first time felt quite fresh. He walked a bit closer to the grove. "This is something I've done quite roughly. Next year, I'll try to make a better one for you." "Do you like it?" Zhang Yao mentally exclaimed. "Wow, this little rascal has someone he likes too." Yin Che, facing his direction, didn't notice him, as his gaze was entirely focused on the person in front of him. A hint of obvious nervousness mixed in his smile. The other person was only visible from the back, a tall male who looked like an alpha. "It's quite rough. For my birthday, you give me this thing? Do you know what birthday gift I really want? I want you to move out. Seeing you annoys me." Yin Che was stunned. "But I'm already in the dorms." The male snorted. "You still have to come home on weekends, and we still have to see each other at school. You hover around me every day, afraid that others don't know I have a brother like you? Your promises are nonsense to me. Stop pretending. Please stay away from me at school, I'd really appreciate it." Yin Che bit his lip and took the bag back, his eyes filled with red veins from staying up late. After the male finished speaking, he turned and walked out. Zhang Yao stepped back a few paces, pretending he was just passing by, and saw the male's face clearly, which had 5 or 6 similarities with Yin Che. He waited for a while until Yin Che came out of the grove, holding that large bag. Upon seeing him, Yin Che immediately tightened his arms and looked guarded. He smiled. "Why so tense? I'm not going to steal your wooden house from your late-night drama." Yin Che's face darkened. Eavesdropping is shameless. He launched a verbal attack. "Do you always curse so politely? Not even a single curse word, and you call that cursing?" Little Yang's cheeky mouth must have been learned from his old man, Zhang Xiao. He launches a verbal attack on Yin Che. Do you always insult people so elegantly? Not even a curse word, and you call that swearing? Your brother is even better at talking nonsense. I say, you're really lacking in dignity as an older brother. It's my first time seeing an older brother so despised. Yin Che, with a dark face, are you gonna fuck off or not? Not bad, you've finally grasped the essence of cursing. But sorry, I don't have a mom, I have two dads. Your words are ineffective on me. Yin Che, gritting his teeth and trying to hold back, couldn't resist anymore. With a shout, he dropped his bag and threw a punch. He squatted down to check the bag, and as if by coincidence, dodged the punch just in time. Yin Che, not hitting anyone, quickly covered up the contents of the bag. Two of his fingers had band-aids on them, and there were several inconspicuous bruises on the back of his hand. Zhang Yao asked if he got hurt while doing housework. Your brother must have seen it, right? To remain indifferent like that, he's really heartless. I suggest you give him a good beating. Yin Che hesitated. What do you know? My brother is very good. That's good? If my sister dared to yell at me like that, then Yin Che's eyes suddenly became fierce, as if he was seen as a child abuser. What will you do? I'll cut off her allowance, not buy her pretty dresses, not take her to see the new animated movie. What else did you think? Yin Che was taken aback, pursed his lips, and couldn't help but chuckle. He thought the little bunny looked even better when smiling. A pair of clear eyes, curved like the crescent moon reflected in a spring, cool even on a hot day. He blurted out, has anyone ever told you that you look good when you smile? Smile more, don't always keep a straight face. Yin Che clearly didn't think so, his smile immediately disappeared. Are you harassing me too? Zhang Yao raised his hands in surrender. It's unfair, I'm only interested in omegas, and they have to be pretty. Yin Che suspiciously sized him up. I think pretty omegas might not be interested in you. Zhang Yao was undeterred and extended his hand. Yin Che, I suddenly think you're quite kind. Let's be friends. Your stupid brother doesn't forgive you because he's narrow-minded, but I, being magnanimous, forgive you. Yin Che hesitated for a moment before realizing the main point in his words and turned to leave. Get lost, you're the stupid one. After the evening self-study, Zhang Yao looked up and saw the bright moon in the sky, suddenly feeling a bit homesick. At that moment, a slightly cold voice came from behind. What are you looking at? After the midday incident, the freeloader's attitude seemed to have softened towards him. He raised his head and chest, imitating the class teacher's intonation. Raising my head, I gaze at the bright moon. Lowering it, I think of home. However, he was met with the response, you lunatic. Alright, the softening was probably just his wishful thinking. He originally thought the new deskmate was a gentle little rabbit, but who knew he'd get knocked over just after arriving. He really wanted this beat to learn a lesson. He really wanted this beat to experience what pheromone suppression is. The next second, he learned the secret of his new deskmate. It seemed that the moon was also scared away by this poetry and quickly hid behind the clouds. Just as they entered the dormitory, a loud thunderous boom exploded outside. Yin Che took out a key and tried to insert it into the dormitory door lock, but missed several times. Zhang Yao couldn't stand it anymore and asked, do you have Parkinson's? A flash of white light suddenly struck, splitting the dark summer night sky and the torrential rain curtain, illuminating Yin Che's pale face. He was certain that when the light flashed, Yin Che trembled violently. The little rascal was actually afraid of lightning. He returned to the dormitory and received a video call from his sister, who was a cute omega. The rain outside showed no sign of letting up. Occasional self-illuminating lightning would flash, casting a stark white light inside the dormitory. He asked his sister if she was afraid of thunder, but she thought there was nothing to fear. Isn't it just a bit loud? What's so scary about it? Yeah, what's there to be afraid of? Even a delicate omega isn't scared, so why is that little rascal so afraid? At this moment, a loud noise came from the dormitory next door. He hung up the phone and walked out of the dormitory. The hallway was quiet, as if no one else had heard the loud noise, or perhaps they were used to it. Before he could speak, Yin Che apologized. Sorry, I accidentally broke a ceramic pot. Did I disturb you? Zhang Yao was incredulous. With all the wood and ceramics, young Master Yin, are you used to living in luxury and now want to experience primitive life in the dormitory? Yin Che turned to close the door to see the guests off but encountered resistance halfway. Zhang Yao smiled at him. Scared? If you are, just say it. There's no shame. Everyone has their fears. Even alphas have fears, let alone you being just a beta. Yin Che was slightly stunned. I'm not afraid, what about being a beta? Not more cowardly than you alphas. That sounds quite like my dad's style. You should visit my house someday, we get along well. Yin Che fell silent, realizing his words were abrupt. They had only known each other for a day or two, quarreling in the morning and now suddenly inviting the other to his home in the evening. It was a bit strange. So, I've been standing at the door for a long time, aren't you going to invite me in? Yin Che mentioned that his dorm room was very messy. 781 comics and beer. Zhang Yao indicated it didn't matter, he didn't mind. Hearing this, Yin Che loosened his grip and pushed the door open to enter. He took in the small dorm room at a glance. Are you sure you understand what messy means? The floor is spotless, and the textbooks on the shelf are neatly arranged by subject. There's even a jar of paper stars prominently placed on the desk. Just then, another flash of lightning fell outside the window. Zhang Yao saw that the person in front of him appeared unfazed, but the hands on his lap clenched into a fist, trying hard to appear calm. He had thought his new deskmate was a delicate little rabbit, only to be thrown to the ground by him as soon as he arrived. Knowing the other was afraid of lightning, he maliciously went to scare him but couldn't bring himself to do it upon seeing his reaction. He pulled up a chair to sit down. I'm looking for someone to help me with flashcards. Would you, dear deskmate? Yin Che said to remove that prefix. He asked, which prefix? Yin Che said, dear. Zhang Yao laughed in response. Yin Che usually found few willing to even talk to him, let alone someone so shameless. You better watch out, or I'll hit you. Zhang Yao earnestly said, how come you hit him? Don't you have a stress response? Oh, I get it. An alpha can't touch you, but you can touch an alpha? That's such a double standard. Yin Che frowned and hesitated for a while. Finally, reluctantly, he opened the vocabulary book. He was quiet and started memorizing. The warm light from the lamp made him unconsciously immerse himself and focus on the task at hand, gradually ignoring the thunder and lightning outside. When the rain stopped outside, Zhang Yao stretched lazily and said, let's call it a night. I'm going back to sleep. Yin Che was biting the pen, frowning in thought. Hearing this, he looked up and asked, going back? He blurted out, what else? Do you want me to stay overnight? It was the first time Yin Che heard him use that term. Are you insulting me? Zhang Yao replied immediately, it's not an insult, I think you're cute. Like a little bunny, but calling you a bunny is too cheesy, so I call you a rabbit brat. Yin Che skeptically asked, really? He inwardly thought, of course it's not true. To his surprise, Yin Che heard this, lowered his long lashed eyes, and with a shadow over his face, pursed his lips, and said, thank you. Zhang Yao was a bit puzzled, wondering if he really believed it. Is he really that innocent? Back at his dorm, Zhang Yao lay on the bed, exhaling lightly. It was rare to take care of the rabbit brat. Although he wasn't as obedient and soft as when they first met, he didn't seem as scary as the rumors said. Perhaps this night eased the tension between them. 2 weeks passed without any direct conflict between the two. Daily little squabbles were unavoidable. Sometimes, when things got louder, the surrounding classmates would notice. Over time, the class's impression of Zhang Yao gradually changed. During the free time in PE class, Zhang Yao wanted to find a bench to sit by the playground. After looking around, he found only the bench Yin Che was sitting on had 2 vacant spots. Zhang Ke hesitated and didn't dare to go over. Zhang Yao directly sat next to Yin Che and waved at him. Come on, Zhang Ke, my deskmate doesn't bite. However, Yin Che had a rather sour expression. You touched me. Zhang Yao looked down and saw that the corners of their uniforms were touching. He withdrew the hem of his uniform by a centimeter, so hard to please, not friendly at all to classmates. Yin Che frowned and asked him to move over, don't sit so close. Zhang Yao pretended to lean on him, no way, Zhang Ke also needs to sit here. If I move further, there won't be enough space. Move a bit to your side. If you don't move, then I'll have to. Zhang Yao found that this little rabbit, though not as gentle as when they first met, also didn't seem as terrible as the rumors suggested. He deliberately insisted on squeezing onto the same bench. Yin Che immediately stood up, flustered like an exploding furball. Are you sick? Zhang Yao then teasingly asked, do you have medicine? Yin Che, this bronze-level player who barely had any words to curse with, couldn't really keep up with him, a gold-level player. After struggling for a while, he turned around and left in frustration. Zhang Ke, watching from the side, was dumbfounded and couldn't help clapping. You really are fierce. Zhang Yao hadn't heard this nickname in a long time and felt a warm sense of familiarity. He gestured for him to come and sit. Actually, he's not that scary. Just a beta. With so many of you, are you still afraid of being bullied by a single beta? Zhang Ke mentioned his family was wealthy and he also had an alpha brother. What if his brother comes to avenge him? What if his younger brother comes to avenge his older brother? Upon hearing this, Zhang Yao couldn't help but laugh. His brother? His brother would do well not to join you guys in bullying him. Speaking of Yin Che's younger brother, he was a bit curious and asked what his name was and what grade he was in. I met him once before, he looks pretty decent. Zhang Ke widened her eyes. Pretty decent? You got quite the nerve. His brother is the famously handsome, school grass of our school, Yin Zi from class 3. You actually don't know him? Comes from a rich family and is very good looking. The Omegas that like him could line up around the track field 10 times. Oh, so he's that rival competing for the Omega resources. Didn't know that, quite interesting. One is the most popular student in the entire school. During the lunch break, Zhang Yao went to check out the school club's recruitment. He visited several club booths, the slogans were quite attractive and the activities varied and colorful. But he specifically wanted to find a club with no activities. In the drowsiness of the late summer afternoon, Yin Che sat under the warm sunshine, his vision blurred by a haze of orange and yellow light. Drowsy and about to fall asleep, suddenly his view darkened, blocked by an unknown shadow. Wake up, Bunny, someone's here to sign up. He opened his eyes wide to see the visitor clearly. He looked around and didn't see anyone else. Where? There's no one, you're tricking me. Zhang Yao leaned on the table and smiled at him. Am I not a person? Yin Che was taken aback. You want to sign up? Do you know what club this is? This club only has me, there's no funding, I pay out of my pocket, and it's quite boring. Hearing this, Zhang Yao picked up a pen and started filling out the registration form. That's perfect. I was looking for a club like this to slack off in. Immediately realizing something, he asked, wait, isn't it supposed to be disbanded if there are less than 10 members? Your club only has you. How can it still be running? It won't be gone by tomorrow, will it? Yin Che's heart tightened. What, you're backing out? Who said it's just me? There's also a senior in the 3rd year. He's the club president but is resting due to poor health. I had my parents talk to the principal about it. Zhang Yao suddenly realized, oh, I almost forgot that young Master Yin is from a privileged class. My apologies, my apologies. Yin Che exerted force on his hand, snatching away the filled registration form and said coldly, since you are new here, according to seniority, the task of cleaning the club's classroom this semester will be yours. It's not surprising for someone of the special class to have a private classroom. Which one is it? Yin Che raised his hand and pointed into the air. Looking in the direction of the dormitory building, he said, my dorm is 306. Zhang Yao, in order to tame this little bunny, started to act shamelessly without any limits. Indeed, you can't catch a wife with a thin skin. On Friday after school, he attended the new school's first club activity of the semester on time, and washed his hair quite ceremoniously. Che, I'm here to sleep. No, I mean I'm here for the club class. Yin Che opened the door with a dark face. Can you not always shout randomly? Then how do you want me to call you? Little Che, Che Bao, Brother Yin? Each more embarrassing than the last. Yin Che couldn't stand him and quickly pulled the door open to let him in. Zhang Yao thought there wasn't much to clean in his dormitory, really should let him see his own dormitory. Yin Che said there will be waste materials and garbage after doing handicrafts, you just need to clean that. Zhang Yao, lacking interest, took a chair and prepared to sit down. Then you sit. I'll watch from the side, I can't do it. Yin Che casually threw a pack of white stuff at him. Since you've joined the club, you should participate. Try this clay. Zhang Yao asked curiously what the clay was. It's a kind of material, similar to Play-Doh. You can mold whatever you want. Playing with Play-Doh, Zhang Yao felt as if he had returned to being 3 years old. No, he wouldn't play with such Omega stuff even when he was 3. He saw Yin Che resting on his own bed and asked him, aren't you going to mold anything? Yin Che looked down on him from above. No, it's not very beat. Does this make it very alpha? You wait, Bunny. He tore off 2 pieces of soft and squishy clay, one big and one small, put them in the palm of his hand, and vigorously kneaded them into 2 balls. Then he put the balls together and rolled 2 flat, long strips to add to the smaller ball. Does it look like your rabbit? Yin Che understood that anything made by his hands would look terrible. A rabbit, huh? And then? Then, Zhang Yao raised her hand and with a slap, flattened the rabbit she just made. This is what happens when you bully me. Yin Che had previously suspected that he had a minor mental issue, but now he overturned that guess. His mental issue must be a serious one. He couldn't help but laugh. Are you a primary school student, you crazy bunny? But you do look better when you smile. Zhang Yao couldn't help but blush at that. After the club class, he went back to the East City and had a dinner with his former brothers. They asked him how he has been recently. He originally wanted to talk about the Omegas at Yizhang, but thinking of those new classmates, the first thing that popped into his mind wasn't Omega but a beta. Let's talk about my desk mate at Yizhang, a beta, quite interesting. Since when did betas catch your eye in addition to Omegas? Zhao Cheng didn't dare to say or ask anything, could only follow up with, oh, then? Zhang Yao, thinking of Yin Che, felt inexplicably comfortable. Initially, she thought he was a tough character trying to scare her, but later found out he wasn't so frightening after all. He's actually quite simple-hearted. Treat him well and he considers you a friend, though he won't admit it. I enjoyed teasing him every day, seeing his grumpy face makes me happy. He's also good-looking. If he were an Omega, I might have pursued him. He once declared he wanted to find a gentle omega, and now he's taken a liking to a fierce beta. This completely overturns Zhao Cheng's understanding. He can't muster a smile anymore. Brother Yao, you're chasing a beat. Zhang Yao is speechless. I mean, if he's not an omega, not gentle or obedient, and can't bear me children, why would I pursue him? Zhao Cheng pats his chest, scared me to death. I thought your orientation had completely changed, but actually, it doesn't matter. Nowadays, isn't there that technology? A beta might also be able to bear you children. Zhang Yao is traditional in his views. He firmly believes what the biology books say, that a beta is the best companion for both body and soul. So, his partner must be an omega. The school sports meeting is coming soon. The class monitor is pulling everyone to sign up, not letting any capable alpha slip by. Zhang Yao has no choice but to randomly pick a less demanding event on the registration form. The class monitor teases, you're an alpha and you just sign up for the 4x100 relay? If you don't hug me, I'll forcibly hug you, she said. Yin Che panicked, thinking she meant an embrace, angrily retorted, you dare? Zhang Yao smiled at him and leaned in. Yin Che wanted to kick her away like last time, but since she hadn't touched him yet, it wasn't crossing the line. He hesitated for a second. Watching Zhang Yao get closer and closer, he thought, is he really going to be hugged by an alpha in front of the whole class? He carefully said, don't hug me, I can't. Zhang Yao paused for half a second, mouthed the word, fool, to him. Then she took his pen, I'll sign you up then. Yin Che was stunned for a while, and after processing it, he kicked Zhang Yao's chair away and walked quickly out of the classroom with his head down. During the evening self-study, he clearly felt that something was off with the other party. He passed a note to him. Little Yang's mouth is really no less sharp than old Zhang. This made his wife angry. He passed a note to his deskmate, Yin Che, who opened the note, read it, crumpled it up, and threw it aside. Zhang Yao, undeterred, continued to write and sequentially threw over a dozen notes, all crumpled into wrinkled little balls, piled up on Yin Che's desk like a little mountain of scrap. As soon as the class break bell rang, Yin Che immediately got up and left the classroom. Zhang Yao moved faster than him and blocked him at the stairway. Hey, I've apologized. Won't you forgive me? Yin Che looked at him coldly. Your handwriting is too ugly. I couldn't understand it. I'm not angry. I just think I'm stupid. Zhang Yao breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Actually, I also think you were pretty stupid at noon. How could you think I wanted to hug you? Yin Che retorted, you're even stupider. Can't even speak clearly. How did your mouth grow? Yes, I'm stupid. I'm the big idiot, and you're the little idiot, okay? Yin Che looked at him for a long time but couldn't help laughing in the end. Crazy. Who wants to be an idiot with you? Zhang Yao wanted to pat his shoulder but remembered not to touch him and had to put his hand down. What are you going to do? If you're going to climb over the wall, take me with you. Yin Che told him to get lost. It's easier for me to go unnoticed alone. Don't drag me down. Alpha was warned by a beta not to hold him back. It's like a top student being warned by a poor student not to let him cheat during the exam. It was a heavy blow to his soul. He returned to the classroom in a daze and heard his classmates gossiping. Zhang Ke mysteriously waved him over to listen. It is said that a new transfer student came to the neighboring school, called Fei Zhe, who harasses Omegas daily. He has been warned by their school's teachers and could be expelled if he continues. Unable to harass his own schoolmates, he has started targeting our school. Zhang Yao returned to his seat and didn't take what Zhang Ke said to heart. The second evening self-study bell rang, and he picked up his pen to continue his homework. Yin Che had not returned yet. He looked at the empty seat beside him and slowly frowned. Mian Zai looks so much like an Omega. I hope he doesn't run into that Fei Zhe outside. Other Omegas might just get upset if touched, but if that thug touches Yin Che, it could be lethal. He immediately threw down his pen, intending to go find him, but just as he turned his head, Yin Che entered from the back door at the last bell, holding a long strip of paper wrapped with stars. Zhang Yao breathed a sigh of relief, but unexpectedly, that very night, something happened at number 1 middle school. Yang Yilei was kidnapped by a thug alpha on his way home after the evening self-study. The next day, the Academic Affairs Office issued a notice. Due to the increasing darkness early, the school was concerned for everyone's safety, so from today onwards, day students are no longer allowed to apply for evening self-study. Who would have thought that the infamous school bully, in front of his younger brother, would be so humble to the dust? Because of the incident involving Yang Yilei, the school cancelled the evening self-study for day students, and the whole class was in an uproar. Zhang Yao shook his chair, pondered for a moment, and said, come with me tonight, I'll walk you back to the dorm. Yin Che didn't even glance at him and rolled away without agreeing. Zhang Yao felt, why do you always take kindness for granted, just like your brother? Indeed, it's true that a family breeds its own. Yin Che told him to shut up and not bring up his brother. Zhang Yao snorted twice and decided not to argue with this overprotective brother fanatic. He tapped on the desk of the person next to him and said, "See how terrifying this world is? It's bad enough being taken advantage of by bad people, but then you also have to endure their gossip. So, I advise you, let me walk you back to the dorm tonight." Yin Che said no need. If I encountered such a thing, I deal with the other party first and then myself, so I wouldn't hear anyone's gossip. Zhang Yao was shocked by how hardcore this was. The Family Planning Commission should recruit you to solve the overpopulation problem. The World Peace Organization should give you an award for best innovation. I mean, seriously, what's so scary about dying? Close your eyes and you don't have to deal with anything. What's scary is continuing to live. Zhang Yao applauded. Wow, you're really spitting out golden quotes today. A Chinese literary masterpiece is soon within reach. During the free activity time in physical education class, he wandered around aimlessly as usual and unexpectedly discovered Yin Che's brother under a secluded basketball hoop. To be fair, he played quite well, certainly had the makings of a school heartthrob. However, that aura of arrogance emanating from within, as if saying, "I'm the strongest, come fight me if you disagree," made him seem like a bratty kid. Zhang stood by and watched for a while, without cheering or applauding, barely noticeable. No cheers, no applause, a weak presence. Suddenly, Yin Zi stopped, frowned, and shouted at him, "What are you looking at? Not even allowed to look. What kind of young master's temper is this?" Zhang Yao was about to leave when a voice came from behind. "I'm just looking, it doesn't affect you." It turned out it wasn't directed at him. He turned his head and said, "The basketball court isn't built by him, you can watch if you want." Yin Che glared at him to stay out of it. Zhang Yao wisely decided not to get involved in the brothers' love-hate relationship. But as he chose to exit the conversation, Yin Zi insisted on dragging him in. "This is your new deskmate, right? What an arrogant look for a nobody." Zhang Yao immediately thought of a plant called grass. Yin Che came out to smooth things over. "Don't say that about him, he's my friend." This was the first time the little brat spoke up for him, and Zhang Yao couldn't help but feel touched. Upon hearing this, Yin Zi slammed the basketball onto the ground, and it bounced loudly against the wire mesh. "Friend? Brother, since when did you start making friends? Not going the loner route anymore?" Zhang Yao took a step forward. "Little brother, even if you want your brother's attention, don't use such childish methods, okay?" Who would have thought the notorious school bully would be so humble in front of his brother? With a strong sense of justice, Zhang Yao wanted to teach this arrogant kid a lesson, to use magic to defeat magic, and to laugh it off with him. Yin Zi thought this person was crazy. Who the heck wants his attention? Zhang Yao ignored his words. If you truly hate him, you wouldn't call him brother. Yin Zi thought this person was talking nonsense. What a twisted logic. At that moment, the basketball fell from the wire mesh and rolled to Yin Che's feet. He picked it up and passed it over, asking Ace to stop making noise. Unexpectedly, Yin Zi slapped the ball out of his hands. "Stop pretending to be the good guy, it's hypocritical." Without looking back, he walked away. Zhang Yao picked up the ball again and invited him to play. Yin Che looked in the direction Yin Zi left, indicating that next time he would talk to him first. Zhang Yao, feeling snubbed, casually threw the ball towards the basket from behind and scored a three-pointer. During the evening self-study, the class monitor passionately explained, pointing at Fei Ji's photo, "This is the thug who bullies our Yilei. If you see him on the street, don't act rashly, just call me. I'll come over quickly and slap him till his parents can't recognize him." Yin Che rarely looked up and joined in the excitement. "He looks okay." Zhang Yao couldn't believe it. "You call this okay? Your standards are too low." Yin Che's gaze moved to his deskmate's face. "I don't know where you get the courage to say someone else doesn't look good. He looks okay, at least better looking than you." Zhang Yao felt he needed to get his eyes checked. "What's blocking your vision?" Yin Che stared at him. "It's your eyes and bangs. Aren't you bothered by how long they are? They almost cover your eyes, like those non-mainstream styles from 20 years ago. Are you wearing colored contacts? Why do your eyes look?" Zhang Yao quickly leaned in. "You don't understand. This is called fashion. Come closer and appreciate my supreme beauty." Yin Che retreated and stopped looking at him. Finally, when school was over, Zhang Yao stretched, waved his hand grandly. Che, let's go out to eat tonight." "My treat." Zhang Ke rushed over wanting to join in, but Zhang Yao told him to leave. "I only invited my dear deskmate, no one else. My deskmate explained some problems to me, earning me 10 extra points on the math test. I owe him." Zhang Ke muttered softly. "No way, Yin Che actually explains problems to people?" Yin Che then said, "You guys go ahead, I have something to do and won't be going. You already knew how to solve that problem. You were just bored and looking for something to say yesterday. Don't think I don't know." Zhang Yao touched his nose and laughed. "You caught me. I finished my homework early and had nothing else to do. Yin Che couldn't be bothered to deal with him and told him not to bother him again tonight. Zhang Ke truly admired Zhang Yao for surviving under Yin Che's watch for so long. Amazing. We all thought you wouldn't last 2 days before applying to change seats. Zhang Yao laughed. Why? My deskmate is quite interesting. I wouldn't want to change even if I could. It was thought that the matter with Yang Yilei had ended, but a few days later, rumors spread that Yin Che had called Yang Yilei away. With Yin Che's reputation as a school bully, everyone couldn't help but suspect that Yang Yilei might be bullied. People searched in different directions and streets for Yang Yilei. Only Zhang Yao knew that the person to look for wasn't Yang Yilei, but his overly righteous deskmate. The one who would be in danger wasn't Yang Yilei, but that untouchable little rascal. He ran straight to the neighboring school. His guess was correct. Yin Che indeed took Yang Yilei to seek revenge. When Yang Yilei was harassed, he took out a utility knife for self-defense, accidentally cutting the other person. Now he's being falsely accused of intentional injury. At this moment, an alpha who was neither tall nor short, with a slightly chubby figure, came over. This person, named Wang Penghui, was the one who harassed Yang Yilei. Yin Che gestured to Yang Yilei to stay put and walked out himself. Wang Penghui had been in a bad mood these days. The school had issued a second warning, and one more would lead to expulsion. He kicked a nearby drink bottle in frustration, which ended up hitting Yin Che's leg. He looked up, intending to walk away nonchalantly, but once his eyes met the others, he couldn't look away. The streetlight outlined the person's tall figure, making him seem to glow all over. His small face was both handsome and cold. Wang Penghui swallowed. Damn, he's good looking. Sorry, classmate, I didn't notice. Yin Che frowned and indicated, you've dirtied my pants. Wang Penghui quickly seized the opportunity to step forward. Oh, I'm so sorry. How much should I compensate you, or should I wash it for you? Yin Che said, no need, just pay me. He immediately went over, reaching out to pat his shoulder. What's your phone number? I'll transfer the money to you. Let's add each other as friends. Yin Che quickly stepped back, telling him to not touch him and to get lost. Wang Penghui was indifferent. Quite a temper for just a touch, what's the big deal? An omega who hasn't been touched by an alpha is incomplete. Let me give you a feel. Yin Che felt nauseated and kept retreating, recording all of Wang Penghui's harassing words on the phone in his pocket. Touch my ass. I should have brought a knife for self-defense. Slash this guy in a critical spot so he'd be impotent for life. Wang Penghui kept approaching. He took a deep breath, ready to explode, when he suddenly caught sight of a figure not far away. Zhang Yao suddenly caught a glimpse of a tall figure not far away. The wind generated by his running lifted his long bangs, revealing his heroic eyebrows. It was his deskmate, Wang Penghui. While Zhang Yao was lost in thought, Wang Penghui stretched his claws towards his waist. Here came the heart-fluttering moment for Zhang Yao. Wang Penghui took advantage of his distraction and reached for his waist. Yin Che's expression darkened instantly. Yang Yilei took the lead, grabbed the anti-wolf stun gun, and rushed forward. Wang Penghui hadn't even realized what was happening when the stun gun made contact with his body, electrocuting him and causing him to convulse and his eyes to roll back. Zhang Yao arrived just in time. He didn't even look at the person lying on the ground, but squatted down to pick up the stun gun, swung his arm, and threw it far away. Turning back to the person in front of him, Yin Che was silent, his pale lips trembling slightly. Upon closer inspection, it seemed like his whole body was trembling. Zhang Yao knew that Yin Che was afraid of lightning. He stepped forward, touched the other's face to comfort him, saying it was okay. He had already thrown the thing away. However, Yin Che remained silent as if he had become mute. Zhang Yao slightly bowed his head, his face closer to him, looked into his eyes, raised his hand and gently touched his hair tips, saying, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Only then did Yin Che look back at him properly. At this moment they were only 7 or 8 centimeters apart, the streetlight illuminating each other's faces. Zhang Yao smiled at him. Yin Che snapped back to reality, as if the words had the power to summon spirits. The fear that had surged in his heart just now suddenly vanished as if he was truly mesmerized. Zhang Yao said it was good that everything was okay now. If there was still anything uncomfortable, he should tell him. At this moment, there were only 5 minutes left until the dormitory doors closed. The three of them looked at each other and started running. 3 young figures sprinted through the night. Yin Che was in front of Zhang Yao, a meter apart. The wind puffed up his school jacket, revealing the thin shirt underneath and the slender waist of the young man beneath the shirt. His posture while running was light, as if he might fly away the next second. Suddenly, I really wanted to pull him over, pull him to my side and not let him leave. Before I could figure out where this sudden impulse came from, my hand had already reached out. At that moment, Yin Che suddenly shouted his name loudly. "Zhang Yao, I forgot to say earlier, thank you. I take back what I said before. You are a bit more handsome than him. Yin Che didn't turn around, but Zhang Yao could see his profile from the side. His mouth was turned up in a smile, and he smiled as well. You finally get your brother's looks, huh? The evening wind whistled past their ears, lifting the boys' hair and school uniform hems. The streetlights illuminated the direction they were running in, unafraid of the night. The next day's lunch break, Zhang Yao was holding a fluffy rabbit ear headband, trying to put it on his deskmate's head. Che, wear it for a bit, it's absolutely cute. Yin Che held a textbook up to cover his face with one hand and picked up a pencil case to hit him with the other. Zhang Yao failed to force it on him and dejectedly put down the headband. Why don't you want to wear it? It's so cute. Just as he was about to shamelessly ask again, even if you don't wear it, you're still a little bunny. The label can't be removed. This was the first time Yin Che got Zhang Yao's charm. Everyone thought Zhang Yao was ordinary, only he thought the other was quite special. The events of last night eventually made their way to the principal's office. Both schools called in the parents of the people involved, but in the face of evidence, Wang Penghui could no longer escape punishment. After the matter came to an end, Yin's mother noticed that Zhang Yao, who had been beside her speaking up for her son, finally smiled. Our little Che is finally willing to make friends. This makes Mom very happy. Hadn't the child met the new one before? Yin Che said the new student this semester is my deskmate. Yin's mother expressed relief, saying it seems you two get along well. The previous deskmates I arranged for you didn't like it and drove them away, but now you finally have one. Yin Che helplessly said, it wasn't me who drove them away, they wanted to change seats themselves. I just didn't want to talk to them. Yin's mother smiled, so you like this one now? Che, do you really like your deskmate? Although this deskmate of yours is just average, as long as you like him, your dad and I won't oppose, said Yin's mother. Yin Che felt an unexpected skip in his heart, thinking his mother was being fanciful. It was impossible for him and Zhang Yao to have that kind of relationship. But what he wanted to say turned into, I like omegas, gentle and considerate omegas. We can't be, he concluded. Though the conclusion was the same, combined with the previous statement, it sounded like a helpless regret. He thought it wasn't right and added, I also don't like his type of alpha. It sounded like he was trying to cover up. He didn't know what to say anymore. He looked up and saw Zhang Yao coming in from the office door. Why are you waiting outside for me? Were you thinking? Zhang Yao stopped mid-sentence when he saw Yin's mother. Yin Che was sure the unfinished sentence was, were you thinking of me? So how could he possibly like such a shameless person? Yin Che, with his hands in his pockets, stepped down the stairs, watching the back of the head and broad back in front of him. Recalling his mother's description of Zhang Yao just now, he slightly disagreed. Zhang Yao wasn't just average, right? He's taller than most boys his age, his eyes are hazel, probably has some mixed-race genes. There are no other mixed-race students in the school. Most importantly, Zhang Yao is willing to be his deskmate. Most people aren't willing, so Zhang Yao is not ordinary at all. He suddenly asked out of nowhere, do you want to change deskmates? Zhang Yao was a bit puzzled but responded, although we've been deskmates for over a month and have a pretty good relationship, sometimes I still find you very annoying. Yin Che said that we can still switch now, but if we switch later, he'll beat me up. Zhang Yao laughed, why do I sense a bit of reluctance to part with me? Yin Che told him to get his ears checked, maybe there's something wrong with them. Zhang Yao cheerfully took a step closer, and the two began their usual banter. The rumored school bully with alpha response syndrome. Unknowingly, Zhang Yao had already touched many of his things, his stationery, his crafts, the tables and chairs in his dorm, even his hair, his cheeks, except for the initial face poking. The subsequent touches seemed to be tacitly approved by him. Zhang Yao thought it was funny while fetching water. The brat acts all fierce but is actually just a paper tiger. He runs a few steps and gets a stomach ache, claiming it's from intense exercise. Just as he was estimating the water temperature, someone came up and asked, why are you using my brother's cup? Did you get permission? With that condescending tone, Zhang Yao didn't need to look up to know who it was. Dan Ding, help your brother pour some water. He's unwell because he's upset by his younger brother. Yin Zi isn't stupid either. Stop beating around the bush and insulting me. You think you understand my brother so well. He has thick skin. No matter what I say, he won't take it seriously. He's just putting on a show for you outsiders, trying to gain your sympathy. Zhang Yao felt it was unnecessary to waste words with this rebellious youth and coldly replied, I'll sympathize with him if I want, what's it to you? Suddenly, a third voice emerged from behind, causing both alphas to tremble with their glasses. Yin Che stood behind them, looking at Zhang Yao, asking, who asked for your sympathy? It was the first time Zhang Yao saw such a look in his eyes, angry, sharp, guarded, and with a bit more disappointment than last time. He didn't know why this faintly visible disappointment seemed more profound this time. It was like a needle piercing Zhang Yao's heart, causing a twinge. Consequently, a mountain of waste paper piled up again on Yin Che's desk. Zhang Yao persistently threw small notes onto his desk, continuing for most of the class without any self-awareness. His terrible handwriting was indecipherable even if one wanted to read it. He didn't want to open them, not wanting to face how he seemed to have become increasingly off-kilter since meeting Zhang Yao. He would get angry over some meaningless things. It must be Zhang Yao's bad influence. Someone was sending him signals, stubbornly trying to capture his attention. Enthusiastically, he unfolded a page of his notebook for him to see. On the blank page, there were two stick figures holding hands drawn with a black pen, with a heart above them. No matter how you look at it, it was, Che loves Yao. He suddenly felt that using the term, bad influence, to describe Zhang Yao was an understatement. He was clearly a 24K pure jerk, and this pure jerk was still being sentimental. Bro, I know I said something wrong, I'm sorry, don't be mad. Listen to me, brother, walk with me hand in hand, let's create a happy life, and then he even started singing. Yin Che reached out to tear up the draft paper. Do you know what this song is called? If anyone sees this, I'm doomed. Yin Che posed a soul-searching question. If we argue, would you change your seatmate? It's not too late to change now, but if you change later, I'll have to hit you. Zhang Yao was amused. With your limited vocabulary and cursing, you think you cannot argue me? Don't worry, I'm being magnanimous. Isn't it normal for brothers to quarrel? We'll be loving again in a couple of days, unless you cheat on me. But given you look like an omega, you probably can't cheat on me. Yin Che kicked him. Who the hell wants to cheat on you? Are you kidding me with your uncut hair or your non-mainstream style? The two started their usual bickering mode. Yin Che sat back down, picked up his dictation sheet which read, A, then glanced at his seatmates, scanning it quickly for careless mistakes. The weird guy who could have gotten an A, sometimes careless and sloppy, yet sometimes incredibly meticulous. He recalled Zhang Yao running towards him that night, with a consoling yet fierce aura, more daunting than a stun baton, as if he was about to witness a violent scene the next second. However, Zhang Yao didn't bother with others, stopped in front of him, and gently touched his hair tips as if they had a telepathic connection, knowing what he feared. It was just over a month since they met, and besides Zhang being naturally meticulous and considerate, Yin Che couldn't think of another reason why Zhang understood him so well. He had to admit, under the streetlight, that smiling face was indeed a bit handsome. It wasn't the superficial kind of handsome, but a rare and precious gentleness underneath the ordinary. Zhang Yao intentionally posed handsomely, then turned his head and asked, how about that, bro? Wasn't my aim accurate? With an expressionless profile, he reminded, you threw it in the wet trash bin. Helplessly, he picked out the pull tab from among a pile of noodle snacks and remnants. Then he immediately ran to wash his hands, didn't dry them, and flicked the water droplets onto his deskmate's face, cheekily asking if it was cool. Then Yin Che carried him from one end of the corridor to the other. A classmate was promoted to head the literature and art department and treated everyone to ice cream. Zhang Yao got a strawberry-flavored one and wanted to exchange it with his deskmate, claiming that eating strawberry-flavored ice cream wasn't alpha. Yin Che told him to take it, as he wouldn't eat it. Zhang Yao asked why. Did the class president's period pain this morning infect you? Yin Che told him to shut up, saying it wasn't because of him that he was doing vigorous exercise right after eating. Zhang Yao wanted to press his head down, but figured he'd end up being pinned to the ground himself, so he said, fine, my bad, I'll get you a cup of hot water. He then picked up his water cup and walked out through the back door. Yin Che was momentarily stunned, thinking he should have grabbed the cup back, as he never let an alpha touch his things. But while he was in a daze, the cup was taken away. To anyone, this scene didn't look like a confession. The key was that the two of them were so immersed in their own world. The teacher shouted, asking what the two in the back row were doing. Zhang Yao's extended arm froze in midair, holding a notebook, while Yin Che struggled to grab it, almost falling on him. All the students suddenly had a knowing smile on their faces, but because it was about Yin Che, they suppressed it, making their expressions look strange. Zhang Yao tried to explain it wasn't what they thought, which made everyone's expressions even stranger. In the end, the two were called to stand in the hallway as punishment, and the bell rang. The teacher, worried the two troublemakers outside the door might sneak away in the chaos, for once didn't hold class late and checked the situation outside the classroom. They were still there, but their posture was the same as when they were in the classroom, with Zhang Yao holding up his notebook. Keep holding it. Think I don't have a temper? If you provoke me again, I'll make 180 copies of this page and plaster your dorm with them, constantly reminding you that we are brothers. While speaking, his hands suddenly became empty. The teacher swiftly tore the page off with a swoosh and held it in front of them, saying, good brothers, huh? Then, hand in hand, go to my office. Let all the teachers see how deep your brotherly love is. Yin Che didn't say a word, just had a look of none of my business and a disgusted expression. Zhang Yao, fearing he would talk back to the teacher, spoke up first. We understand our mistake, teacher, we'll go with you. But let's not hold hands, Yin Che doesn't like being touched. The teacher didn't indulge him, sarcastically remarking, oh, the young master. Oh, young master, so precious that no one is allowed to touch you. Yin Che's expression soured even more. Zhang Yao thought about how he was cold-shouldered all afternoon just for saying something inappropriate at noon. If the math teacher mocks him like this, wouldn't it be like a powder keg exploding? Wanting to explain, he suddenly felt his sleeve being tugged. He looked down to see his deskmate pinching the cuff of his school jacket with two slender, fair fingers. It was like a child in a crowded amusement park, holding onto a parent's clothes for fear of getting lost, yet afraid of being laughed at by other kids, surreptitiously clutching a small corner. Incredibly cute, Yin Che didn't explode, but Zhang Yao felt fireworks bursting in his heart. Having gotten used to Yin Che's current demeanor, he almost forgot his first impression of this exempted kid, a soft little rabbit. Although the little rabbit was 1.8 meters tall, with a strange and difficult temperament, when obedient, he could still be associated with the word cute. After school, the crowd gradually walked out of the classroom, and every student passing by class 1 saw the solitary school tyrant, who was said to beat anyone who touched him, actively holding an alpha's sleeve and obediently following along, a rare sight indeed. Who is this, caught early dating and taken to the office? The teacher tapped on the torn draft paper on the desk and asked, what's going on here, are you two dating? If Yin Che's expression was sour before, now it was like he had eaten shit. Zhang Yao said there was no need to be so disgusted. The teacher asked if it wasn't about dating, then was drawing such things out of boredom? Zhang Yao explained, teacher, you don't know, I had a little disagreement with my deskmate today. I drew this to make up with him. Yin Che quickly disassociated himself. He wanted to draw it himself. I didn't bother with him. Zhang Yao glared, aren't you still my brother? Yin Che returned with disdain, dismissing the idea of falling in love. The teacher slammed the table in anger, exclaiming, are you two done flirting here? Still claim you're not in a relationship? Zhang Yao was also shocked. Teacher, we're really not dating. But even if we were, it wouldn't violate school rules, right? Omegas experience heat periods after turning 18. Even with inhibitors, it can only be delayed for 3 years. You can't just find a partner during the heat period. That's why schools generally turn a blind eye to student relationships. There's no explicit rule against early relationships. The teacher was convinced these two were not telling the truth and pointed at Zhang Yao's nose, saying, don't try to fool me with that. Look at the person you're dating, is it an Omega? At this point, Yin Che clenched his fist. I know I'm not an Omega. I hate alphas and don't want people to think I'm dating him. So what was wrong with grabbing his draft notebook? Zhang Yao's heart inexplicably twisted. It's really not his fault, it's all my fault. Teacher, please punish me. Yin Che is truly innocent. I shouldn't have made such jokes, disrupting your class and his learning. I'm very sorry. The teacher looked at the two, one stubborn and the other calm. So he decided to let it go, asking them to write 2 reviews and also to call his father. Zhang Yao saw the number being typed into the phone and a crack appeared in his composed expression. Teacher, why don't you call my dad? The teacher thought he was scared and immediately dialed the number, putting it on speaker. After saying, your son is with me now, a cold laugh came from the other end. Just tear up the ticket, thank you, and the call ended. Zhang Yao awkwardly scratched his head. Teacher, I told you not to call my dad, afraid he'd upset you. The teacher didn't believe and redialed, this time stating his identity and explaining the situation. The attitude on the other end did improve slightly. Upon learning his son was being punished for his deskmate, and that it seemed like they were dating, he coldly remarked, impossible. With that silly look, who would want to date him? Young Master Zhang is as fierce as ever. Upon hearing the teacher mention his son's early relationship, his first reaction was actually that silly look of his. Who would want to date him? Yin Che curved his lips, showing the first smile of the day. The teacher's career faced an unprecedented challenge. It took half a day to reply that your son's deskmate is a Bia. Who knew that the response on the phone was even more certain that it was impossible? With his personality, he wouldn't consider beat until all Omegas had rejected him. He also praised his own good son for having real prospects. Just got to a new school and already made the parents be called in. Don't let me catch you this weekend or I'll break your legs. The teacher hung up the phone, holding his forehead, exhausted, and let them both go back. When Zhang Yao went downstairs, he looked dejected and said, how did I end up with such a dad? Yin Che's lips curled up again. Your dad is very interesting, seems like a powerful Omega. No kidding, in his middle school days, he could take down 2 alphas alone. He's the person I've been most afraid of from childhood. He brought deep shadows to my childhood. Now it still hasn't dissipated, so I've made up my mind to find a gentle, obedient, and clever Omega in the future. Yin Che mimicked his dad's tone. With that stupid look of yours, who would want to date you? Zhang Yao heard this but wasn't angry. Instead, he asked him back, not angry anymore, bunny? Yin Che lowered his head. I'm not angry. What he said was wrong. I was just arguing back. I'm not that, I know, but I also don't want to date an alpha. It's not that I'm not good enough, it's that I look down on them. Zhang Yao laughed. You look down on someone like me too? Actually, if you got to know me better, you might discover my bright spots. I'm quite low-key and reserved, so you haven't noticed yet. Yin Che asked, and what if I did notice? Do you really want to date me? Zhang Yao touched his nose, not really. Yin Che gave him a look, letting him figure it out himself. Then what's the point in saying all this? He turned back to see Zhang Yao walking from the dim into the dazzling light. Alpha stands tall and erect, casting a long shadow behind him. Low profile my foot, he literally shines from head to toe. The next day, there's a physical examination at school, and everyone is lining up in the corridor. Teacher John looks around and doesn't see his deskmate, thinking Yin Che has gone to the restroom. It's not until he finishes his exam and comes out of the booth, still not seeing Yin Che, that he starts to wonder and casually grabs John K passing by, asking if he has seen his deskmate. John K says he probably went to the medical room for a private examination, as he has special privileges. Zhang Yao thinks to himself, my dad donated 10 million, why don't I have this privilege? Besides, aren't the examinations supposed to be the same for everyone? Besides, aren't all physical exams the same? What's so special about it? Don't tell me you have some hidden illness you don't want anyone to find out. So, when he saw his deskmate, he asked him this question, almost dying on the spot. The two biggest school bullies in Dongcheng were actually rumored to be dating. Yin Che explained that he didn't want to share a cubicle with this smelly alpha. One item on the physical exam was a chest x-ray, requiring them to take off their shirts. The school doctor prepared cubicles with curtains so nothing could be seen. But with a bunch of boys going in and out, it was inevitable that some body odor would linger in the small space. Zhang Yao lifted his arm and smelled himself. Am I smelly? I think I might be. I must have picked up Guo Zhishang's scent. Scared, he immediately borrowed Lao Han's perfume to spray on himself. My deskmate says I stink. Han Meng laughed. Your deskmate has been complaining about you for more than a day. But Zhang Yao said, no, my deskmate even held my hand yesterday, didn't he? The perfume was a light citrus scent, like freshly squeezed iced orange juice. Yin Che's anxiety suddenly subsided with the fragrance. He wondered what Zhang Yao's pheromones smelled like. He had a slight urge to find out. Seeing him silent, Zhang Yao leaned closer. Che, give your rumored boyfriend a little face, okay? Yin Che replied, you're so thick-skinned, if I give you any more face, your face will be as thick as a city wall. Am I right? Han Meng couldn't help but laugh, but when Yin Che looked over, he immediately stopped. Then he froze, taking a while to realize Yin Che was asking him. He was simply overjoyed. The memory of being bullied in his first year of high school was still vivid. The invisible wall that has separated us for over a year was inexplicably broken. The class discussed the strongest pheromone found in this year's physical examination. Zhang Yao suddenly wanted to show off in front of his deskmate, quietly releasing a trace of pheromone. Although alpha pheromones don't control beats as strongly as they do omegas, they still have some influence. The mild pheromones of the beat would also be drawn out. He inexplicably really wanted to smell his deskmate's pheromone. Can you smell it? Isn't it exceptionally pure? A rich, luxurious sensation. 100% natural alpha pheromone, providing you with the ultimate olfactory feast. Yet Yin Che seemed indifferent, as if he smelled nothing. If your pheromones are really that powerful, why can't you find a partner? Zhang Yao really wanted to argue back, as there are many chasing him in Dongcheng that could circle the field several times, but due to his modern persona, he could only say, they just haven't discovered this treasure of a boy yet. Yin Che laughed, good luck, treasure boy. I'll wait for the day you find someone and then persuade him to see the error of his ways. Zhang Yao wasn't angry. Seriously, if I find someone, I'll introduce them to you first. You can help me screen them. I trust your judgment. Hearing this, Yin Che suddenly felt a bit suffocated and casually opened the window beside him. The cool evening breeze of autumn brushed against their faces, slightly dispersing some sentimental emotions. The two school tyrants of Dongcheng actually sparked early love rumors. Zhang Yao fantasized about a beautiful future. I haven't seriously dated yet. I hope the first one is also the last one. Date for 3 or 4 years until we're old enough to get married, then have a bunch of cute kids. By the way, would you like to be my best man? I'm reserving a spot for you. Yin Che tugged at the corner of his mouth. 3 or 4 years later, I don't even know where I'll be. Zhang Yao, leaning sideways, propped his face up to look at him. What do you mean you don't know where you'll be? With today's advanced networks, how could we not stay in touch unless you don't want to? Otherwise, I'm sure I could get in touch with you. I'd drag you back even from the ends of the earth. Don't think you can escape. Yin Che continued reading the novel he borrowed from the library. Flipping to the last page, a line caught his eye. Look at these clouds, they gather and then disperse and then gather again. Such is life with its meetings and partings. He didn't quite agree. Clouds might gather again after dispersing, but once people part, it might be forever. During the sports meet, Zhang Yao invited him to sit together, but Yin Che ignored him, wanting to stay away from this person, and took a step back. Suddenly, something hard hit his knee, almost bringing him down on one knee. He half knelt but managed to stabilize himself. Zhang Yao quickly raised his hand, indicating there was no need for such grand gestures. Yin Che turned to look behind. A tall and robust boy stood there. Sorry, it was an accident. The tone of his voice and the expression on his face held no hint of apology. Han Meng did not question the boy's intentions. The man snorted, it means nothing. I said it was an accident. Shall I move further away? After hearing their conversation, Zhang Yao realized that his deskmate had been hit. Yin Che commented, you really are quick to react. Han Meng's furrowed brows did not relax, insisting that it was intentional and that the boy might come to cause more trouble. Yin Che asked him, who is he? Have I provoked him? Zhang Yao laughed. Shouldn't you be asking yourself that? Yin Che wants to roll his eyes. There are so many people I dislike, am I supposed to know them all? I don't have the time for that. His words are so arrogant it's hard to respond. Zhang Yao happily claps in approval. Bu kui shi wo men che che. That's our shesh. After almost all the students are seated, the formations from each class line up to prepare for the entrance ceremony. Looking around, there's a bunch of classes in bizarre costumes. Some are in ancient clothing with folding fans. Some wear gold chains and sunglasses, and some are all dressed as girls. They're trying to be as eye-catching as possible, clearly not for the sake of winning, but to let loose and enjoy this rare moment of freedom, to be unrestrained in their youth. Zhang Yao takes off his school uniform jacket and puts on a headband. Halfway through, it gets stuck in his hair. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Shesh, help me. Zhang Yao, fearless as ever, teases his deskmate again, asking Yin Che to remove the headband tangled in his hair. Yin Che calmly finishes his water before helping. Zhang Yao, with lightning speed, takes off his own bunny ears and puts them on Yin Che's head. He nods in satisfaction. It really suits you. Yin Che crushes his water bottle. Water splashes into the air. The sound of a camera shutter clicks. The tiny water droplets, illuminated by the sunlight, refract a brilliant light, captured in the photograph, sparkling brightly. After the entrance ceremony, the sports meet officially begins. Zhang Yao is still trying to appease his deskmate. Yin Che remains indifferent, telling him not to talk to him today. Zhang Yao, unrepentant, says, it was just a joke. I didn't even touch you. Why are you so angry? I, a fierce alpha, don't mind wearing bunny ears, but you, little beta, are so easily offended. You little bastard, you really carry a burden. Yin Che clenched the water bottle in his hand, raised his eyebrows, and said, keep talking, and I'll splash this on you. He awkwardly tried to pin the number tag on his back. Zhang Yao didn't understand this confusing move. Why don't you just take off your jacket and pin it on? Yin Che told him to stop talking if he's not helping, so he did want help after all. Zhang Yao, deciding to let bygones be bygones, went over and helped him attach the number tag properly. Just then, the assembly broadcast started. Yin Che stepped onto his track, and even before the race started, he had already intimidated the competitors from other classes. They gathered together, whispering. Some were afraid they'd get hit if they ran too fast. But no matter how scared they were, the starting gunshot still sounded. Zhang Yao stood at the final leg position, watching the second leg swiftly approaching the third. His gaze shifted to his deskmate's side and suddenly realized that the competitor next to Yin Che from Class 4 looked familiar. On a closer look, wasn't this just the man who had bumped into Yin Che earlier? A foreboding feeling rose from the bottom of his heart, and sure enough, in the next second, Yin Che fell. He tripped and rolled out twice due to inertia, scraping his palm on the ground, immediately splattering blood. The bright and terrible red made Zhang Yao's pupils constrict sharply. His classmates hadn't even reacted yet when Yin Che had already propped himself up, swung his hand forcefully, and threw the relay baton towards someone standing still about 3 or 4 meters away. Zhang Yao finally snapped back to reality, caught the baton, took a deep breath and started running. A silent autumn wind swept past. The finish line was deathly quiet. Zhang Ke opened his mouth, stunned for a moment, then looked as if waking from a dream. What did I just see? Was that human speed? Chen Yinyan was also dumbfounded. Was he possessed by something? After 3 or 4 seconds, the referee finally snapped out of it, glanced at the stopwatch, and then looked up, hesitant to speak. 9.98 seconds. A high school student's 100-meter sprint, under 10 seconds? Unprecedented. Seeing his deskmate injured seemed to have triggered Zhang Yao's explosive power, resulting in a 9.98-second 100-meter dash. Yin Che sat still, slightly dazed, watching his deskmate reach the finish line, pausing for less than a second before turning and running back. As if in the blink of an eye, he stopped before Yin Che, crouching down to carry him to the infirmary. Yin Che swallowed, just about to say no, when Zhang Yao repeated, "Get on my back. Don't worry, I won't touch you." His voice was cold and elegant, as if suppressing a wild beast, leaving no room for refusal. It was a side of Zhang Yao Yin Che had never seen before, somewhat unfamiliar and slightly frightening. He instinctively wanted to obey, and without thinking, raised his hands, allowing himself to be carried. All actions were performed through their school uniforms. He didn't touch him an inch. Yin Che lay on his back. He didn't know when they left the playground, nor how others viewed the scene. His eyes only focused on the broad shoulders of the person carrying him and the tense neck and shoulder muscles from exertion. The image inexplicably made his heart race, his breathing quickening, making him dare not look. He looked up at the vast sky. Zhang Yao took large strides, carrying Yin Che to the infirmary in 2 or 3 minutes. "Teacher, my classmate fell. Could you check him?" The school nurse examined the two who had just entered. Except for his slightly dusty school uniform and face, Yin Che seemed unharmed. Zhang Yao gently placed him on a chair. "He probably twisted his leg and has some scrapes on his hands." Yin Che suspected he had a hidden camera in his clothes. "How did you know I twisted my leg?" Zhang Yao replied, "If you could stand, you wouldn't be sitting here making a spectacle of yourself." Yin Che couldn't argue. It was true he couldn't stand because he'd twisted his ankle, but the other half of the reason was that Zhang Yao had run past like a whirlwind. The sight was so shocking he was stunned and forgot to get up. He couldn't say that, but he still couldn't help asking, what was that just now? Genetic mutation? Zhang Yao smiled, reverting to his familiar deskmate. "Didn't you see you were hurt?" I panicked and just exploded. Normal, explosion can reach that harmful speed? Yin Che didn't understand, nor did he want to understand, the physiological structure of a. He didn't ask further, only saying, "If I'd known you could run that fast, I wouldn't have run so hard." Zhang Yao started showering him with praise again. "What are you saying? It's because you ran so hard that I could catch up. You're still amazing, Shesh." Yin Che turned his head away, avoiding his gaze. "Amazing after eating dirt like a dog?" Hearing this, Zhang Yao suddenly seemed to revert to that other mode, his deskmate's face darkening as he gritted his teeth and said, "My deskmate dares to be touched. I'll beat." Seeing Yin Che looking at him questioningly, he quickly swallowed the words, "to death." Yin Che didn't mind, saying, "It's useless. He'll say it was accidental. What can you do?" Seeing his deskmate being bullied, he was worried. Yin Che didn't mind, saying, "It's useless. He'll say it was accidental. What can you do?" Zhang Yao wanted to say, "I have plenty of ways," but it wasn't necessary to let Yin Che know. He told him not to worry and to just focus on healing, then asked, "Does it hurt a lot?" Yin Che twitched his lips, indicating this was nothing. Zhang Yao heard something was wrong and asked, "Have you been hurt worse before?" Yin Che withdrew his hand and said, "Who hasn't been hurt as a child?" "I don't remember clearly." Zhang Yao wanted to ask further. The school doctor came out from the medicine storage room and asked Yin Che to take off his coat for disinfection. Yin Che hesitated and did not move, glancing at Zhang Yao standing by. At that moment, the door to the clinic was knocked on again. A student had fainted and was being supported as they came in. Seeing the severity of the faint, the school doctor handed the disinfectant to Zhang Yao, asking him to help. Zhang Yao saw his deskmate not speaking and wasn't sure if he was willing, touched his own nose, and said, "Your hand is inconvenient, I'll help you pull it." "I'm afraid you might refuse," so I quickly added, "I definitely won't touch you, trust me. The wound needs to be disinfected promptly, or else it will be troublesome if it gets infected." Yin Che hesitated for a moment and finally nodded slightly. Zhang Yao smiled, walked up to him, and reached out to pull the zipper of his school uniform. Yin Che reflexively dodged back, but Zhang Yao still caught him and gently pulled him closer. The distance between them, which was already short, got even closer. Yin Che could clearly see the gray-brown eyes behind those glasses, thick eyelashes, and the cherry brows partially hidden by his bangs. Suddenly, he felt that Zhang Yao looked quite handsome up close, handsome in terms of looks. Zhang Yao pulled the zipper from top to bottom. Zhang Yao pulled the zipper up from the top to the bottom. As he looked up, everything in front of him seemed blurry. The skin below the neck looked like it hadn't been exposed to sunlight for a long time. He felt inexplicably warm. Such fair skin, he had only seen it on Omegas. Yin Che raised an eyebrow, looking fierce, and asked him if he had seen enough, threatening to hit him if he kept looking. Zhang Yao teased back saying he had no hidden diseases, asking how a beta could be so pale. Yin Che snapped back, then how can an alpha like you be like this? The brat has gotten better at cursing, probably learned it from himself. Zhang Yao said, since you're the injured one, you're the boss. I won't stoop to your level. He went behind Yin Che to help him take off his coat, then suddenly stopped. There was a noticeable scar the size of a coin on the lower left side of Yin Che's neck near his shoulder, reddish-brown and fierce-looking. Yin Che pursed his lips and said it was a burn from his childhood, asking if it was ugly and to not tell others. Zhang Yao was taken aback. What's there to be ugly about? It's just a scar. So, you always wrap your neck tightly, not wanting others to see this scar. The brat actually cares about looks and what others think, how novel. There was a noticeable scar on Yin Che's neck. Zhang Yao looked at it, feeling heartache, raised his hand to swear, rest assured, I'll absolutely keep it a secret. But don't worry too much about it. The scar isn't on your face, it doesn't affect your good looks. Besides, who doesn't have some scars from bumps and bruises? No one would say anything. Luckily you're not an Omega. That spot on an Omega is where the gland is, as important as life itself. Not to mention being burned like this, even a scratch would hurt terribly. How did you manage to burn yourself there? Were you especially mischievous as a child? Yin Che looked up, closed his eyes, and told him to shut up because it was giving him a headache. Zhang Yao thought he was just an ungrateful brat, but he didn't speak anymore and finished cleaning the wounds on his arms. The alpha in front of him bowed his head, and he thought Zhang Yao's fingers were very slender, his movements very gentle while treating the wounds. When carrying him on his back, he feels secure and well taken care of without feeling bad about him, and he thinks Zhang Yao is good in every aspect. He lowered his gaze, his eyelashes trembled, something seemed to be on the verge of coming out. At this moment, a classmate helped a girl, who was barely breathing, enter the room. She almost stumbled and fell, possibly from not standing steady. Yin Che watched as Zhang Yao dashed forward in a stride, catching the falling girl in his arms. Something rolled to his feet, and looking down, he saw it was a ball of cotton. It was like a white cloud from the sky falling into the dust, turned into a dirty lump of mud by the rain. The next day, Zhang Yao was especially excited and couldn't stop talking. I found out her name is Yaoi, such a beautiful name, obviously a gentle and virtuous Omega. I plan to pursue her. Yin Che lowered his head, his mind went blank, and he mechanically wished him success. Zhang Yao kept babbling on, also inviting him to the class leader's birthday party. Yin Che felt inexplicably irritated. To stop him from incessantly talking about that girl, I reluctantly agreed to go. Time quickly approached the class leader's birthday. We agreed to meet at the subway station. Zhang Yao, vainly, told me he looked a bit handsome today and joked that I might not recognize him and end up finding the wrong person. Listening to the confident words over the phone, I lifted my eyes and saw my deskmate, still with his non-mainstream fringe and tacky glasses. Handsome my foot, I recognized him immediately. I walked over and gave him a kick first. Zhang Yao immediately steadied himself on his knees and started acting vain again. Check out my outfit first, they say you should dress approachably for a first date, not too aloof. Yin Che took a reluctant look and said it was alright. When is Ziyue coming? Zhang Yao said he knew the way, so he went straight to the mall to find Yang Yile. I was afraid you would get lost, so I took you. Going out with a love interest and still bringing a brother, what's this about? Yin Che asked why bring me instead of him. Zhang Yao found it baffling. Didn't he say he knew the way? Turns out, on the road to pursuing someone, the biggest obstacle is not looks but emotional intelligence, especially for straight alphas. Yin Che couldn't help saying if you want to pursue him, just focus on following him and don't mind me. Zhang Yao laughed, how could he? Am I the kind of person who prioritizes love over friendship? I want both friends and love interests. Yin Che realized this big fool really didn't understand the intricacies involved and couldn't sort out the threads of love. He had to remind him to not get too close to other Omegas or beats in front of him. Zhang Yao said he knew that, and not to be so fierce when everyone is out having fun. Yin Che retorted, you know nothing. After driving away the fifth person who came to chat with him, he thought he still had to give the big fool some hints to accompany his own sister. Zhang Yao looked at the graceful figure ahead, chatting happily with Yang Yile. Why should I interrupt? Yin Che told his deskmate, who had neither looks nor emotional intelligence, that he should be grateful that he was willing to hang out with you, and you should talk more with him. Zhang Yao disagreed, what do you mean lucky? I attracted him with my personal charm. He doesn't care about my looks at all, unlike you who always complains about me. Yin Che didn't know what to say, realizing his own emotional intelligence was also low, unable to figure out how to defend himself without letting Zhang Yao realize his feelings. He wanted to remind the big fool, who was engrossed in eating barbecue, to give a piece of meat to the girl across, but didn't know how to do it. Poking his leg seemed weird, and stepping on his shoe might make Zhang Yao think he wanted to fight. He finally chose to cough, although his acting was very poor, but at least it caught Zhang Yao's attention. Little did he know, the coughing attraction method failed. The big fool next to him not only didn't get it but also added a lot of meat to his plate, telling him to eat slowly as no one was competing with him. Absolutely speechless, Zhang Yao is sometimes careless and sometimes attentive, switching modes randomly. Clearly today, he didn't switch to the attentive mode. He didn't understand his glance at all and kept adding food to his plate, wrapping a freshly grilled steak in lettuce for him, dipping it in barbecue sauce, even more meticulously than Ling Yuan, almost feeding it to his mouth. Yin Che looked at the lettuce-wrapped meat on his plate, wondering if he had taken the wrong female-led script. The fish on the grill was sizzling and smoking, ready to be flipped. Zhang Yao wanted to grab it with the tongs but caught something soft instead. He immediately realized it was his tablemate's hand. He accidentally held his tablemate's hand and suddenly remembered his alpha-induced stress response. Suddenly remembered he had alpha stress disorder. Zhang Yao was so scared he kept apologizing. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Bai Yue from across the table looked over and asked what happened. Zhang Yao said he accidentally touched his hand. Actually, it wasn't just a touch, he held it and felt it was too delicate, and inexplicably squeezed it. Now he's really in trouble. He was ready to be flipped over any moment, quickly thinking of ways to prevent his tablemate from starting a fight in the store. But Yin Che didn't even acknowledge him, telling him to stop talking nonsense and focus on eating. After the escape room officially started, all the bags had to be stored in the lockers outside, and phones were not allowed. As soon as they entered the room, the lights went out quickly, making it hard to recognize the people around. The first step was to solve a puzzle to find the power switch. Zhang Ke and Han Meng hugged each other, trembling. Zhang Yao occasionally looked back, feeling slightly relieved seeing his tablemate was fine. Yin Che felt around and found a mechanism, a large knife switch. Without much thought, he grabbed the handle and pulled it down. The sudden intense light startled everyone. With the room fully lit, Han Meng patted his chest, still in shock. The sound effects and projections are too realistic. I almost thought I was going to get electrocuted. Yin Che thanked him, but the person standing in the corner didn't respond, still facing away from them, body stiff. Yang Yilei thought something was wrong and wanted to check. Zhang Yao blocked the way, telling everyone, he just told me he has a stomachache, maybe he ate too much at lunch. You guys continue, I'll take him out. Zhang Yao took the person outside to ease his stiffness. Yin Che's behavior was too abnormal. How could he be so afraid of electricity? Has he been shocked before? It's not unheard of to be afraid of electricity, but there should be very few people who are so terrified by the virtual projection of electricity that they can't move. Yin Che looked up at the ceiling and suddenly asked, have you ever been afraid? Zhang Yao said, yes, for example, when I feel I can't protect the people around me. Yin Che smiled, that's all you can think of as fear? Then you're really lucky. Zhang Yao watched him for a moment, slowly put away his smile, and seriously asked, kid, have you experienced something terrifying? Yin Che absent-mindedly said, my dad used to be a big lawyer. I've seen plenty of terrifying things, all sorts of unimaginable scary cases. Zhang Yao asked, is there one that left a deep impression on you? Tell me about it. Yin Che unconsciously tightened his grip on the plastic cup. Water flowed onto the back of his hand, startling him awake. There's nothing worth talking about. Go inside and play with them. Zhang Yao insisted, how could I do that? You'll be lonely here by yourself. Zhang Yao finally realized that Yin Che's fear of electricity was too abnormal. He insisted on staying with him. Yin Che was speechless. Aren't you trying to pursue Ziyue? There are 3 single alphas inside, each one stronger than you. Zhang Yao smiled, that might not be the case. I think I'm stronger than all of them, and she'll definitely choose me. Yin Che laughed. Where does your confidence come from? Zhang Yao said, it's natural, and then tentatively asked, kid, if one day you discover how awesome I am, would you regret not holding onto me tightly now? Yin Che snorted, as if mocking, you're dreaming. No matter what you become, my attitude towards you won't change. How could someone's feelings for another easily change? In the upcoming middle school exams, the two were assigned to the same examination room. Zhang Yao finished the dictation in 2 or 3 minutes and was about to flip through the test paper when he caught a glimpse of someone at a desk acting suspiciously, peeking at his test paper. He was annoyed by such behavior and decided to cover his answer sheet. At that moment, he heard the person mutter under their breath, what is this crappy writing? Can't understand a thing. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he saw a small paper ball fly past his face. Unfortunately, it didn't have enough force and landed on Yin Che's desk. Considering the direction from which the paper ball came and the fact that a certain person always threw paper notes at him during class, Yin Che didn't think twice and directly assumed that it was thrown by the person behind him. Without looking, he picked up the paper ball, threw it back, and glared at his deskmate, mouthing the word, "Scram," silently. Zhang Yao felt this was a grave injustice. The person beside him, having missed the target with the first paper ball, quickly rolled a second one and hit Yin Che on the neck. The teacher, holding the exam papers rolled into a tube, rushed over. The teacher gave Yin Che a fierce knock on the head with the tube and asked him to stand out. Although being hit with the papers wasn't very painful, Yin Che seemed to be stunned and didn't stand up. Zhang Yao couldn't help but say, "Teacher, that paper ball isn't mine," but before he could point out the real culprit, the teacher had already seen another paper ball on his desk and became furious. "You again, Zhang Yao? You're trying to take the blame for your deskmate this time? No way, both of you, get out." Subsequently, both of them were sent to stand in the conference room as punishment. Zhang Yao looked at his deskmate's gloomy expression and carefully explained, "It really wasn't me who threw it, it was the person next to me. Do you think I'm the type to cheat on exams?" To his surprise, Yin Che said, "I know you wouldn't ask me for answers, so I thought you finished and wanted to chat. That really does sound like something you would do." Students who finished the math exam gradually came out of the classroom, and snippets of conversations occasionally reached Zhang Yao's ears. With his keen hearing, he heard everything that should and shouldn't be heard. He glanced at his deskmate, whose expression seemed unchanged, unsure if he had heard those comments. "Shut up and listen to me, stop putting on a brave face. With me around, no one can touch you." "What kind of overbearing statement is that?" A cold and sarcastic voice came from the side. "Hey, who is this? Can't even solve such a simple paper and still needs to cheat, what a joke." Zhang Yao smiled, slowed his pace slightly, and walked a few steps behind him. "Compared to you who scored the highest, in 96 on the college entrance exam, impressive." Wrong Wei instantly froze, his eyes widening in disbelief. Zhang Yao patted his shoulder, "If you touch my brother again, I'll make sure your little brothers pay for it." They both went to the dean's office, but no matter how they explained, the teacher didn't believe they didn't cheat. Even Yang Yilei came to speak for them but got scolded by the teacher, who said that cheating would be recorded in their files, affecting their chances of getting into college and being hard to remove. Zhang Yao muttered a curse under his breath, not because he was afraid of the record but because he felt aggrieved. Being wronged himself was one thing, but implicating the kid as well. He wanted to say something more but suddenly felt a tug on the back of his school uniform. Glancing sideways, he saw Yin Che gently shaking his head at him. "Stop talking. Teacher, I admit it was me who threw the paper ball. Teacher, I admit that I threw the paper ball. I wasn't sure if my answer was correct, so I wanted to check with Zhang Yao, but he ignored me and threw the paper ball back. As you can see, the paper is blank. He didn't write any answers, so it doesn't count as cheating. If you're going to issue a demerit, give it to me, it has nothing to do with him." Zhang Yao was incredulous. "Are you insane? Why admit to something you didn't do?" Actually, the teacher has a bigger issue with Zhang Yao and mainly wants to punish him to assert their indisputable authority. Whether or not Yin Che gets punished doesn't really matter. After all, his parents will surely have the means to get the school to revoke his demerit. Punishing him is as good as not punishing him. But no one expected Yin Che to step up and exonerate Zhang Yao. Yin Che calmly asked, "Can we resolve this quickly? I want to go back to the dorm and sleep." His tone was very much like the rumored domineering and arrogant school bully. What was initially a deadlock suddenly had someone decisively cut the knot, solving the problem instantly. After the matter was settled, Yin Che pulled out his dorm key, opened the door, and was about to step inside when someone suddenly shoved him hard from behind. He stumbled forward a few steps and nearly fell, only to be yanked back by his collar and slammed against the door. The person tried to pin him down, demanding, "Why act like a hero?" Yin Che's gaze remained calm. This was the best solution. Besides, I can get the demerit revoked. Do you have any better ideas? Zhang Yao, who was visibly agitated, was on the verge of confessing everything. "I'm far more capable than you think. I have plenty of ways. I just didn't want you to suffer this injustice." But back at the disciplinary office, he was powerless to do anything. No matter how much he tried to persuade Yin Che, he wouldn't listen. In the end, he could only comply with the teacher's arrangement. "Why did you admit it? I could have had the demerit revoked. You didn't need to sacrifice yourself to protect me. Shut up and listen to me. Don't act tough. As long as I'm here, no one can touch you." What kind of overbearing statement was that? Yin Che looked at him and said, "Even if you can get it revoked, people's impressions of you won't be revoked." Zhang Yao was taken aback. "What do you mean? Literally, everyone will think you really cheated. Even if our classmates believe you, that's how rumors start. Do you really want people to whisper about you behind your back? In their eyes, I already seem like the kind of person who would cheat. This doesn't affect me. Zhang Yao couldn't understand. Are you always this pessimistic? Everyone is concerned about you, and you just give up on yourself? Yin Che said indifferently, it's not about giving up on myself. I truly don't care about what you all think. We'll all go our separate ways after graduation anyway. We probably won't see each other again. Zhang Yao, who had been cold-faced and even-tempered, suddenly laughed at his indifferent words. Who are you trying to fool? Do you think I'll believe that? On one hand, you take all the blame for me, and on the other, you act like you don't care about me at all. Your logic is clearly contradictory. You're just saying this to stop me from worrying about you, aren't you? Yin Che tried to retort but was cut off. Zhang Yao told him to shut up. Listen to me, stop trying to be tough. As long as I'm here, no one will lay a finger on you. This was the first time someone had said they would protect him. He had thought his life would be so different, but it was just returning to the same old pattern. The rumors had already spread throughout the school. The school's punishment was probably coming soon. Even Zhang Ke, who usually talked the most, stopped speaking to him. But Yin Che didn't care much because the only person who still wanted to talk to him was asking if he was going home for the weekend and if he wanted his brother to stay with him. Yin Che had been home last week, and this week he was staying in the dormitory. Hearing that he wanted to stay, Yin Che told him not to ruin his wonderful weekend. Go chase the girl that's after you. Be careful, or she might run off with someone else. Zhang Yao was somewhat dissatisfied. This ungrateful kid, I've got your back, and you throw me under the bus? So he left a piece of candy and walked away. Yin Che pushed down his chaotic emotions, then opened the drawer of the desk. He found a tin box from the corner, stuffed with small notes. The handwriting on the paper was hard to decipher. In the center of the tin box lay a paper rose, quietly. It was the rose he had picked up from the trash, made by Zhang Yao, intended for someone else. He looked at the rose in front of him and thought it was fortunate it was made of paper, it wouldn't wither or fade like people do. The next day after evening self-study, he saw Yu Wei feeling a bit embarrassed, standing at the classroom door waving at Zhang Yao. It looked like they had agreed to meet. He watched his deskmate, full of spring, walk towards Bai Yu Wei, gladly accepting the teasing of the whole class. He watched his deskmate, full of spring, walk towards Bai Yu Wei, gladly accepting the teasing of the whole class. His heart was filled with mixed emotions. In just half a semester, he could get along with all the classmates. If this person had a better appearance, who knows how many people would be after him. As soon as they left, the classmates in the classroom couldn't help but start gossiping. Yao Zhe is really something. Even Bai Yu Wei could be won over. Chen Yingying, however, didn't find it surprising. Not all girls are part of the appearance club. We also like interesting souls, okay? Zhang Ke didn't agree. Class president, you really have the nerve to say that. Can you say you like Yin Zi not because of his looks? Chen Yingying, however, said she had lost interest in him. Even if he appeared in front of me now, I wouldn't look at him twice. At that moment, Yin Zi walked past her with his hands in his pockets and said, I wouldn't look at someone like you twice either. Halfway through, he was stopped by Han Meng, who demanded he apologize to Chen Yingying. Yin Zi naturally refused. Why should I? Didn't she say something about me too? Isn't it the truth? The two tall alphas stood facing off in the classroom, the atmosphere tense. Yin Che hurriedly came over, pulling his brother's clothes to lead him out of the classroom. I'll apologize for my brother. I'll go talk to him. Yin Zi scoffed. Do you really like taking the blame for others so much? It's one thing to take the blame for me, but for your deskmate too? Is he worth it? Yin Che lowered his head like a student being reprimanded and said, worth it. Yin Zi's eyes were full of mockery. Worth it? Do you think he'll appreciate you for doing this? Tomorrow the school will announce you're cheating to everyone, and what's your deskmate doing now? Flirting with girls. Has he considered your feelings? Yin Che took a gentle breath. I don't have any feelings he needs to consider. He treats me well. He's not as bad as you think. When Zhang Yao said, with me here, no one can touch you, he probably meant that he would help him solve any troubles in the future. Isn't that good enough? He thought it was great. Zhang Yao truly considers him a good friend and brother. As for anything else, he hasn't thought about it. Yin Zi sneered, so noble, how come I never noticed before? Amazing, how come I never noticed this great side of you before? Am I, your younger brother, not worthy of your protection? Am I not even as important as a classmate you've only known for a few months? Yin Che paused, and eventually, it was still that same, I'm sorry. Yin Zi threw out one last sentence, you're always just going to say sorry to me. I'm sick of hearing it. Shut up. Stay away from me tomorrow. Don't talk to me. I can't afford to lose face like this. Yin Che obediently shut his mouth, as if he were the one of lower seniority. Zhang Yao and Bai Yuwei said their goodbyes at the staircase. Turning around, Zhang Yao saw his deskmate standing by the open window, quietly enjoying the evening breeze. He never would have thought that the deskmate he used to find so annoying would take the risk of being reprimanded or retaliated against to stand up for him. Zhang Yao casually closed the window and asked, "Why aren't you going inside? It's so cold. Aren't you afraid of catching a cold?" Yin Che turned around, his nose slightly red, and his eyes seemed a bit red too. He muttered, "None of your business." Zhang Yao thought this brat was still just as aggressive. Tentatively, he reached out and pinched his sleeve. Seeing that Yin Che didn't react, he pulled him back into the classroom, telling him to sit down and do his homework and go to bed early tonight. "I have good news for you tomorrow." Yin Che wanted to ask, "Are you going to confess to Bai Yuwei, and she'll give you an answer tomorrow?" But since Zhang Yao wanted it to be a surprise, he decided not to press further. If that really was the good news, what would be the most natural thing to say later? School announcements usually come during lunch break. Even if he said he didn't care, he still cared a little. After all, living in this world means having to interact with others. Yin Che thought about how he felt on the first day of school when he saw his new deskmate. He just simply disliked this person at first glance. But at some point, the more he looked, the more he liked. The school's broadcast prelude sounded, followed by the voice of teacher Zhang. Zheng Fan from class 6, grade 11, attempted to cheat during the midterm exams. His results are hereby cancelled, and he is given a demerit and publicly criticized in front of the entire school. Yin Che from class 2-1, please come to the moral education office. What's all this about? Puzzled, Yin Che makes his way there, only to hear Principal Zhang speak earnestly to him. Don't admit to things you haven't done in the future. Do you think demerits are a joke? Yin Che is bewildered, a suspicion forming in his mind. Before he even enters the classroom, he hears Zhang Ke shout, "Congratulations, Brother Che. Revenge is served." Someone walks over with a smug smile, saying, "See? I told you no one could touch you." Turns out, after they left the moral education office that day, Yang Yilei and Zhang Yao gathered evidence to clear their names, while Zheng Fan paid for tutoring with teacher Chen. That's why he was so protective of Zheng Fan. Moreover, to improve the grades of his tutored students. Yin Che finds it odd. "How did you know? You didn't attend his tutoring." Zhang Yao replies, "Yu Wei went and took advantage of the weekend sessions to secretly photograph the practice papers." Yin Che looks at him. "Did you ever consider that if they denied everything, everyone would get dragged down because of you?" Zhang Yao smirks. "Of course I thought about it. That's why I made them promise to testify voluntarily and kept you out of the loop. If it didn't work out, it would have been embarrassing." Yin Che is somewhat stunned. Zhang Yao actually took a risk of being criticized and retaliated against to gamble on his behalf. Luckily, Zheng Fan and Chen Shumai cracked under pressure and confessed. If they had stubbornly denied everything, the school probably wouldn't have been able to do anything to them. Is Zhang Yao, the East City school tyrant, about to lose his disguise? Zhao Cheng sends him a message to be careful. It seems that his arch-enemy has guessed about his transfer to First Middle School. Just then, Yin Che tosses something into his arms. Zhang Yao looks down to see. It's the meat buns sold in the cafeteria this morning, 2 of them still warm. Holding them feels like a small furnace, a bit too hot to handle. He is somewhat taken aback. "Why are you suddenly being so nice to me?" Yin Che says, "It's a thank you gift for helping me before." Zhang Yao was amused and helpless. "Finally seeing the good in me. Are you even more infatuated now? Have you had breakfast?" Yin Che hesitated for a moment and said he did. That obviously means he didn't. Zhang Yao didn't think much and directly put the bun to his mouth. "Open up, be good, I'll share one with you." Yin Che hesitated for a moment, then slowly opened his mouth. Zhang Yao suddenly felt that the bun in his hand was extremely hot, too hot to hold steadily. Yin Che lowered his eyes. His long eyelashes fluttered down as he took a small bite of the bun. Zhang Ke turned around to ask the back row if there was any homework to copy, unintentionally sweeping his gaze over the last row. Startled, his notebook flew out of his hand, and his shout woke the 2 in the back row. Yin Che quickly distanced himself, chewing on the bun skin, and mumbled, "It's all right. I'm not hungry, you eat it." After saying it, he felt it wasn't right. How could he let someone eat what he's bitten? However, Zhang Yao didn't seem to mind at all and ate the bun he had bitten in a few bites, then stuffed another bun into his desk. After a while, when the class bell rang, Zhang Yao suddenly said, "What did I just do?" "Ate the bun you bit." Yin Che tightened his grip on the pen. "How would I know? You wanted to eat it yourself. Don't mind if it's disgusting or not. It's just, why does it feel so wrong?" Even back in the dormitory, he still couldn't figure out what felt wrong, so he went to find his deskmate. The brat was wearing a beige fluffy pajama, looking very warm and making people want to pinch it. Zhang Yao resisted this dangerous impulse and squeezed in forcefully. Yin Che reminded him irritably to be more proactive, otherwise, the girl might run off with someone else. Zhang Yao said that's impossible. We're quite compatible. We were just complaining about her ex-boyfriend, your annoying little brother. As a result, he got kicked again by his deskmate. Zhang Yao was still cheerful after being kicked, and even said that thanks to his younger brother, he could soon find a girlfriend. Once my lifelong matter is settled, I'll help you find someone. Yin Che pursed his lips. No need, I already like someone. Zhang Yao was stunned for a full 3 seconds. Who? Someone in our class or another class? Do I know them? Yin Che quietly looked at him for a while, staring until Zhang Yao felt a bit uneasy. Then suddenly, Yin Che smirked and said, just joking. Hearing that his deskmate had someone he liked, Zhang Yao was stunned for a full 3 seconds. When Yin Che told him it was a joke, Zhang Yao immediately let out a sigh of relief. How can you joke about something like that? My heart almost jumped out of my chest. Yin Che asked, why are you so worked up? Whether I like someone or not, what does that have to do with you? Zhang Yao replied confidently, of course it has to do with me. My best friend has someone he likes, and he only tells me now? How heartbreaking. And what if the person you like is me? After all, I'm the closest to you and treat you the best. After all, I've always been the closest to you and treated you the best, never minding your bad temper. Yin Che cut him off sharply, telling him to get back to the dorm and that he was going to sleep. Zhang Yao stared at the closed dorm door and sighed sadly. The little rascal is great in every way except for being superficial, always looking down on him. He wondered how handsome one had to be to catch the rascal's eye. Could he possibly qualify? This sudden thought popped into his head unbidden. It was like a thunderclap, deafening and overwhelming, shocking even himself. It hit him harder than hearing Yin Che say earlier, I already have someone I like. The school promoted winter running to boost immunity, so they replaced daily exercises with an 800-meter jog. The students listened to the announcement in the classroom with despair, utterly miserable. Zhang Yao was running at the back and spotted his deskmate just ahead of him. His school jacket zipper was undone, flapping in the wind, just like his hair blowing freely. Without thinking, Zhang Yao shouted, Che, zip up your jacket. Aren't you cold? He shouted so loudly that all the students in class 1 heard him. Even the students in class 5, running alongside, turned to look. Yin Che, speechless, turned his head to tell him to quiet down but suddenly noticed Bai Yu Wei from class 5 also looking at him. The moment their eyes met, she quickly looked away. Zhang Yao anxiously caught up with him. Why don't you listen when I tell you to zip up? What if you catch a cold and get a fever? Then I'll have to take notes for you, and you don't even like my handwriting. Yin Che reluctantly zipped up his jacket and suddenly asked, when are you planning to confess to Bai Yu Wei? Zhang Yao was startled. You little rascal, since when did you get so nosy? Yin Che wanted to say he didn't mean to pry, but the way Bai Yu Wei looked at him earlier felt as if she could see right through him. It didn't seem malicious, but it made him uncomfortable. He could only respond, if you like her, just confess already. What's the point of dragging it out? Zhang Yao mysteriously said, you don't understand this, do you? The ambiguous phase is the essence of dating. Yin Che said, I don't understand. I only know that if you like someone, you should give them a sense of security and not make them anxious. Zhang Yao shrugged, that makes sense. However, he isn't anxious because he doesn't really like me, and I don't really like him either. Hearing Zhang Yao talk about playing the field with others and boldly making scumbag remarks, Yin Che was somewhat stunned. If you don't like him, why are you leading him on? Zhang Yao felt wronged. I'm not leading him on. He's the one leading me on, okay? I feel like he just treats me as a friend, but then he acts like he's somewhat interested in me. It's confusing. Yin Che unhappily said, he's just looking for an excuse to avoid responsibility. Zhang Yao was hurt by these words. Why do you always look down on me? Do I appear so bad in your eyes? Besides, I've only been chatting and texting with him. I haven't done anything to take responsibility for. Isn't dating supposed to be consensual? If I'm reluctant, are you going to force me? Yin Che took a deep breath and asked bluntly, if you're reluctant, just refuse. If you think he doesn't like you, just clarify it. What's the meaning of acting like this now? Do you think flirting with a pretty girl gives you face? The question made the atmosphere instantly tense. Zhang Yao's face darkened, the smile gone. Do you think I'm that kind of person? How I date is none of your business. No one likes you anyway. Yin Che suddenly fell silent, staring at her with a look that pained his heart. Zhang Yao, startled, thought to apologize, but he didn't want to be the first to back down. He thought their relationship was close enough, but he was disappointed to find that Yin Che thought otherwise. Yin Che said nothing more and simply walked away. The Cold War lasted all day. He thought it would all end by the evening study session, but even until he returned to the dorm, He hadn't received an apology. Stubborn Zhang Yao, feeling helpless, eventually opened his messages. There's always someone who has to make the first move. He sent a message and waited for 10 minutes, but there was no response. Anxious, he sent several messages in a row questioning, "You're not going to talk to me anymore? Is it worth it to argue over such a small matter between brothers? I apologize, okay? I misspoke this morning. I'm sorry." After a while, Yin Che replied to him, "You're right, I was wrong. I'm sorry." Zhang Yao, who had been tense all day, finally relaxed. "See, if you had done this earlier, it would have been fine. Next time, just say things clearly. Whether it's arguing or apologizing, it's better than a cold war." Yin Che replied with an It was surprisingly obedient, a rare sight. The last bit of anger in Zhang Yao's heart completely disappeared. He sent a voice message apologizing again, "You're great, really great. Someone will definitely like you. Also, I'll go and ask Yaoi what she really means, okay?" Yin Che saved the voice message into a clipping software, cutting out the beginning and the end, leaving only 3 words, "like you." He played it back over and over again. The voice message Zhang Yao sent was trimmed by Yin Che, leaving only, "I like you." It was a light that accompanied him through a long period of darkness. He stared at the wall in the dark, lost in thought. He just hoped that Zhang Yao could seriously engage in a relationship. Not letting others down, and not letting himself down either. After all, Zhang Yao was so good and had such high standards. It was rare to find someone who met his criteria. Even Yaoi had noticed how great he was. Why not cherish that? But Zhang Yao was right. He had no right to interfere. At this moment, Yaoi sent him a message, getting straight to the point. "The reason I agreed to go out with Zhang Yao was to make my ex-boyfriend, your brother Yin Zi, jealous. But after spending time with him, I think Zhang Yao is really nice, and I want to try dating him. If you like him, I'll back off immediately." Yin Che stared at the message for a long time, silent for what felt like ages, but he didn't deny it. In the end, he replied, "Zhang Yao only likes omegas. Even if you back off, it wouldn't be my turn. I don't want him to like me either. Please don't tell him." A flood of memories overwhelmed his mind. The scar on his neck throbbed painfully. He curled up under the blanket and drifted into a hazy sleep. The usual daily battles resumed. Pens and notebooks flew everywhere, accompanied by Chen Yingying's angry shouts. Zhang Yao wanted to invite him out over the weekend to meet his brothers from the east side of the city. Yin Che said he had an appointment with a doctor that weekend. Zhang Yao instinctively got nervous upon hearing this. "Are you sick? I told you, you should pay attention to keeping warm. It's so easy to get sick this time of year. Do you have medicine in the dorm? If not, I'll go to the infirmary and get some for you to use for now." Yin Che frowned slightly. "I'm not sick. It's just a routine checkup." His response made Zhang Yao realize he might have been talking more than usual lately. Especially in front of this little bunny, he's just like a nagging old father. He used to be the cool guy who was tough but didn't talk much. Although Zhang Yao talks a lot, he's quite persuasive. Yin Che hesitated for a while but eventually agreed. Living in this world, you've got to interact with people. Making some new friends is nice. But he regretted it immediately. What a joke. On the busy streets, 5 tall and brawny boys stood in a straight line, their voices booming as they respectfully bowed and greeted with, "Good day, Brother Che." Passers-by cast strange looks, suspecting them of being in a gang. Yin Che turned to leave, but Zhang Yao stopped him, asking him to show some face. "They all really want to get to know you." A powerful voice from behind agreed, "Yes, Brother Yao," in perfect unison, as if they had been trained for years. Yin Che stepped back and whispered, "I thought it was just 1 or 2 people, not such a crowd." Zhang Yao whispered back, "Then I'll tell them to leave, and it'll just be the 2 of us." Unknowingly in love, Zhang Yao finally had an epiphany and recognized his own feelings. He grandly waved his hand and dismissed the group of brothers. Only Zhao Cheng held tightly to his arm, refusing to let go, and even wanted to treat them to a meal. Yin Che, hearing that someone was offering a treat, reluctantly let him stay. Zhang Yao knew his dining companion was quite plain and unadorned. It was as if he wasn't a teenager living in the 21st century. So, he booked a DIY workshop where you can make your own handcrafted jewelry. However, after spending so much time with Yin Che, he forgot one thing: those who like crafting are usually omegas. Zhao Cheng had never been surrounded by so many omegas in his life, and each one was constantly sizing him up, making him feel uneasy. Zhang Yao complained that this wasn't very alpha-like. "Bro, I've made such a sacrifice for you, how are you going to thank me?" Yin Che, without even looking up, told him to get lost. No one forced him. Zhao Cheng, hearing this, widened his eyes like brass bells, shocked. Knowing Zhang Yao, the beatdown was about to begin any second. How should I intervene to pull him away from Yao Zhe later? What if they break the tables and chairs? His pocket money isn't enough to cover it. He's already thinking about selling his labor to pay it off. Suddenly, he hears Yaoi laugh, saying, "Okay, it's my choice. Do you like this place today? When I was searching, I saw several other themed places. Next time you come, I'll take you there." Zhao Cheng's worldview seems to have undergone a huge upheaval like a tsunami. Is this still the so-called demon king of the East City, who would pin people to the ground for slight disrespect, coldly asking if they know who they're talking to? After finishing the bracelet, Zhang Yao asks Zhao Cheng to pay the bill, ready to go have dinner together, with Yin Che holding the newly made bracelet, asking me, "I don't wear jewelry. Do you want it? If not, just throw it away." Zhang Yao says he doesn't wear it either. Zhao Cheng touches his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed. "Then, can you give it to me? I think it's pretty well made." Yin Che frowns slightly without answering, making the atmosphere slightly awkward. Zhang Yao starts feeling uneasy again, and before figuring it out, his hand has already reached out and snatched it. Yin Che, speechless, says, "Didn't you say you don't wear them?" Zhang Yao rolls up his sleeve, shows his wrist, smiles at him, "Since you made it, I'll wear it. Help me put it on." Yin Che looks at him for a long time and then throws the bracelet back into his hands, letting him wear it himself. They left the DIY workshop. After walking a few steps, Yin Che says he forgot something and went back. Zhang Yao takes this opportunity to pull Zhao Cheng into a secluded corner. "Zhao Cheng, what do you mean by that?" Zhang Yao rarely calls his full name. It's never a good sign when he does. He shudders. I didn't mean anything." The feeling of unease in Zhang Yao's mind intensifies, like a string being tightened more and more, causing a headache. Seeing his buddy wanting the same bracelet as his tablemate, the uneasy feeling in his mind grows stronger, like a string being tightened more and more, causing a headache. Zhao Cheng touches his nose, feeling a bit embarrassed, admitting he has taken a liking to Yin Che. "He's so good looking, any normal person would be moved, right? Just help me out here." Zhang Yao growled, "Helping him is bullshit, he's a beat. Why do you like him? This anger is absurd. Just a while ago, you were talking about introducing someone to Yin Che. But now that this potential partner has appeared, he finds it incomprehensible. How can an alpha pursue a beat? And how can he pursue his own deskmate? How can Yin Che be pursued by someone else?" Zhao Cheng helplessly said, "It's the 21st century. It's normal for alphas and beats to be in a relationship. It's not illegal." Zhang Yao felt for the first time that the phrase, being in a relationship, was so annoying and infuriating. Grinding his teeth, he said, "No way, he doesn't like alphas. Not even a touch is allowed." Zhao Cheng thought he was being considerate, and chuckled naively. "He seems quite indifferent, but it's nothing. Just need more interaction. How many beats can resist an alpha? Maybe he doesn't like the pheromones now, but later he might want hugs and kisses." Zhang Yao's mind snapped at that, realizing he had already violently grabbed Zhao Cheng's collar. "Whom do you want to hug?" Zhao Cheng struggled to breathe as his neck was constricted. His face turned red, but what was most shocking was the sudden burst of pheromones from Zhang Yao. Unable to control his rage, his pheromones surged like a beast whose territory had been violated. His sense of crisis peaked, attacking all potential enemies indiscriminately. How could this be? This isn't like him at all. Is it just because Zhao Cheng wants to pursue Yin Che? Is it just because Yin Che might be with someone else? Is it just because Yin Che might leave him? I don't want any of it. I just want to pull that person close, keep him by my side forever, never let him go. That night, when he ran through the night but couldn't reach out, everything became clear at this moment. After realizing his own feelings, Zhang Yao acted quickly. He bought a small cake for his deskmate to win favor. Yin Che said he didn't like it and asked him to give it to Bai Yuwei instead. Zhang Yao didn't speak for a moment, his foot on the bar of the desk, the chair legs tilting as he gently rocked back and forth, staring at the ceiling. Giving it to him might not be good, right? I just rejected him last night. Holding a betting column in his hand, Yin Che asked, "Did he agree to date you? Why did you reject him? Didn't you also want to try being with him?" Zhang Yao pushed up his glasses and smiled faintly, "Because there's someone else I want to pursue now. They say two people who secretly love each other can read each other's minds, but why can't the two of you ever tune into the same frequency?" Hearing him say there's someone else he wanted to pursue, Yin Che heard him say he had someone else he wanted to pursue. His reaction was quite indifferent, with a hint of disdain. As expected, a scumbag. Too lazy to argue, he turned back. "Chase whoever you want, but if I see you playing with someone's feelings again, I will definitely fight you. Be prepared." Zhang Yao lay on the desk, pushed a small cake towards him with his finger. "This time I might be the one getting my feelings played with. The person I want to pursue doesn't seem to like me. Buddy, give me some advice." Yin Che didn't want to pay attention to him but inadvertently saw Zhang Yao's left wrist, wearing the bracelet he made. So he accepted the bribe. Isn't it normal that they don't like you? Talk less, be more sincere, and they'll like you. Zhang Yao shook his head. He's part of the looks club, so he doesn't like me. Yin Che pushed the cake back, indicating that there's no chance, find someone else. Zhang Yao's gaze was a bit complicated. Alright, I understand, but even if there's no hope, I still want to try my best. Yin Che was annoyed. Given Zhang Yao's standards for choosing a partner, the one he wants to chase this time is probably another pretty girl. Chase whoever you want, just don't tell me. I don't want to know. After taking a shower at night, drying his hair, Zhang Yao brought some hot milk and knocked on his door. Asked if he hasn't been sleeping well lately. Yin Che paused. It's alright, just nightmares. Zhang Yao joked, what kind of nightmares? Dreaming of wearing a maid outfit? Yin Che kicked him. Would you dare look if I dared to wear it? When he kicked him, a small part of his fair ankle was briefly exposed, seemingly tied with something. Zhang Yao didn't get a clear look. He asked, what's tied around your ankle? Is it one of those protective charms you've worn since childhood? Yin Che immediately retracted his foot, covering his ankle again. He neither confirmed nor denied it, telling him to go back to the dormitory. Zhang Yao smiled and pointed to the left corner of his mouth. You have something on it. Yin Che instinctively stuck out his tongue to lick. Zhang Yao's Adam's apple moved slightly, then pointed to the right and said there was more. Yin Che continued to lick the right side. Seeing this, Zhang Yao pulled a tissue from the table and stretched it over. Yin Che slightly felt the warmth of the fingers through the thin tissue touching the corner of his mouth, as if directly caressed by Zhang Yao's fingers. It seems that Zhang Yao remembered the spot he wiped for him, which was also licked by him, or it might just be his illusion. But Zhang Yao has been quite domineering lately, it probably isn't an illusion. Previously, if he were to do such a cleaning action, Zhang Yao would definitely seek his consent. Like the last time he helped him remove his coat to apply medicine, and recently, Zhang Yao has an indescribable aggressiveness, gradually invading his territory, as if testing his tolerance limits. Recently, Zhang Yao has shown an indescribable aggressiveness, inching closer to his defenses, bit by bit invading his territory, as if testing his tolerance limits. Zhang Yao softly asked him if the brat had changed his opinion about him. Yin Che asked what aspect he was referring to. Zhang Yao played with his own bangs, his gaze seemingly evasive. Do you feel, although I'm average in many ways, that there are aspects about me that could make your heart flutter? Yin Che replied, you'd better ask someone else. Zhang Yao put down his hand with a sigh. Alright, I knew you'd say that. It's a tough question to answer. Even if Zhang Yao makes his heart flutter in every way, how would he know if others would feel the same? On the night of the garden party, Zhang Yao brought Wang Xiaoro to visit and introduced his deskmate to her. Xiaoro, this is brother's deskmate, call him Brother Yin. Wang Xiaoro exclaimed, Brother Yin is so handsome. Zhang Yao smiled and rubbed the top of her head, call him that again, and call this one next to me stinky little brother. Wang Xiaoro, confused, asked, why? This brother is handsome too. With an aggrieved expression, Zhang Yao said, Xiao Ru, he insulted my brother. Wang Xiaoru immediately frowned and shouted fiercely, stinky little brother, don't you dare insult my brother. Yin Che glanced at the snickering Zhang Yao and then restrained himself, saying he would take his sister out for a walk. Before leaving, he whispered to his deskmate, Che, I just went out and got something for you. Find me in the dorm after the garden party ends. As the night deepened and the moon rose, Yin Che took advantage of the school gates being open, sneaked into the school, and went straight to the dormitory. Holding a rose intended as a return gift, he knocked on his deskmate's door. Zhang Yao, still in his school uniform, looked somewhat comical with many stickers that Wang Xiaoru won in games adhered to his clothes. Noticing the item in his hand, he asked, who did you buy the flowers for? Yin Che handed him the flowers, give them to the person you're pursuing, hurry up or it'll be too late. Zhang Yao, holding the flowers, looked bewildered for a while and asked, are you helping me pursue someone? What else? With just you, when will you ever succeed? Zhang Yao played with the rose, meticulously wrapped with paper and ribbon, showing a faint smile after a long while. Don't worry about it, I'll deliver it myself. And one is too few, I want to give him many, many more for some reason. Yin Che felt that he seemed unhappy, as if he had botched things up. He pursed his lips, it is too few, sorry for not considering it thoroughly. Zhang Yao walked to his desk, put down the rose, and waved him over. Never mind that, come see what I brought for you. As a reciprocal gesture, I also got you one. The last one I made was too ugly to show. The method of making the bracelet was exactly the same as his gray-brown one. Even the knots were tied in the same place, looking like a pair. Yin Che, however, did not accept it, indicating that it was too much like a couple's item, which might lead to misunderstandings. Either you remake it in a different style or I can't accept it. Zhang Yao suddenly became unhappy, so what if there's a misunderstanding? Yin Che shook his head. It's not so good. It wouldn't be good if the person you're pursuing saw it. But Zhang Yao thought differently, his expression turning somewhat ugly. What's not so good? Don't want to be associated with me in that way? Feel embarrassed, is that it? In your eyes, as an alpha, I have no merits? Yin Che had a lot to say, opened his mouth but didn't know which sentence to start with. Any of them could reveal his hidden thoughts. Fortunately, at that moment, Zhang Yao's phone rang, saving them from the awkward silence. The awkward silence was saved, and Yin Che breathed a sigh of relief. But in the next moment, he saw Zhang Yao, who answered the phone, looking even more upset. Whatever was said on the other end clearly angered Zhang Yao, who uttered a curse and immediately rushed out after hanging up. Yin Che chased after him to ask what happened and whose call it was. Zhang Yao didn't have time to explain much and succinctly said, "Don't follow me. An old enemy from Dongcheng found our school. Bai Yue is in his hands." Ignoring the advice, Yin Che followed him downstairs. By the light of the automatic sensor lights, Yin Che saw Bai Yue and someone he didn't recognize. That person also noticed him. "Get lost, this place is temporarily under my control. I'm waiting for someone," the person said. Yin Che pointed to Zhang Yao, who stood ignored on the side, and asked if he was waiting for him. The person suspiciously looked at Zhang Yao for a moment. "Who is he? I've never met such a non-mainstream person." Zhang Yao lowered his head, his bangs covering his eyes, and walked towards him, telling him to take a good look. The person did take a step forward, just about to look closely, when he suddenly felt an invisible pressure coming at him, familiar and terrifying. Just as he was about to speak, Zhang Yao swiftly grabbed his arm, bent down, and with a forceful, beautiful over-the-shoulder throw, slammed him heavily onto the ground. "It's me, Pan Wei. Don't you recognize an old friend? Whatever you have against me, come at me. Taking my classmate isn't what a man would do." Pan Wei cried out wildly, I heard your classmate say she's your girlfriend, so I just—" Zhang Yao suddenly glanced at Yin Che, then said, "Trying to threaten me, thinking I'd listen to you? Pan Wei, don't you know my temper? Plus, I'm in a particularly bad mood tonight." Bai Yue, who had just been suppressed by Pan Hui's pheromones, stood up shakily and warned Zhang Yao, "Be careful, his pheromones are strong." But soon he realized that the stronger pheromones he was now smelling didn't come from Pan Wei. Zhang Yao swiftly grabbed his arm again, bent down, and with a forceful, beautiful over-the-shoulder throw. He then told them to leave first, as the scene to follow would be quite brutal and they shouldn't watch. Upon hearing this, Pan Wei was scared and started yelling. Yin Che shouted at him not to fight. Zhang Yao paused and asked me if being good at fighting was a merit. Yin Che said it wasn't. Zhang Yao mocked himself, "Then I really am good for nothing. Since it doesn't matter whether I fight or not, why should I listen to you?" Zi Yue, afraid of seeing something too brutal, immediately covered her eyes and turned away. However, she was still dizzy and lost her balance, slipping and falling into the pond with a splash. Yin Che couldn't swim and thought to take off his coat and throw it over. He wanted Zi Yue to grab it and pull him ashore. Zhang Yao knocked Pan Wei out with one punch, quickly took off his coat and made Yin Che wear it. "Put this on, don't catch a cold." Then he took off his glasses and dived into the pond. Before Yin Che could start to worry, Zhang Yao had already rescued the weak Zi Yue. Zhang Yao was completely soaked, his hair dripping with water. He casually slicked his wet hair back, picked up the unconscious Pan Wei, and said, "Take her back to the dorm. I'll handle this guy at the guard post. He probably won't dare to come back." Yin Che silently watched him, puzzled. Zhang Yao asked what was wrong, then realized what was happening. At this critical moment, this should have been hidden moment, the evening breeze was cool. The two by the pond silently stared at each other. Yin Che stared at him intently for a while, then raised his hand to rub his eyes. He took a step closer and continued to stare at him, like a curious baby, with big, bright, clear eyes. Zhang Yao couldn't help but stare back. He was too adorable, but there was no time to waste. He couldn't indulge in beauty. He took a deep breath to regain his composure. "Can we talk about this later? I need to deal with this person first." Yin Che snapped back to reality and looked away. "Be careful," he said in a low, gentle tone, completely different from his usual demeanor. Zhang Yao felt a chill run down his spine instantly. This exposure couldn't have come at a worse time. After dealing with Pan Wei, he returned to his dormitory and took a hot shower to shake off the cold, but his heart still felt frozen. He noticed the bracelet lying on the desk, the one he had spent 2 hours making but wasn't accepted. He didn't know what to say. Perhaps it would be better to just give up. Hesitating for a moment, he decided to send Yin Che a message asking if he wanted to come over. Had Yin Che seen his true self earlier? Would he like it, or would he still think he was worthless? If Yin Che ended up liking him because of this, it didn't seem like something worth celebrating. After sending the message, there was no reply for a long time. Zhang Yao's hair was almost dry from the heater. Lying on his bed with his eyes closed, his mind was in turmoil. Why did he fall for a beat? Why didn't this beat like him? Unable to come to any conclusions, drowsiness gradually overtook him. Half asleep, he heard 2 knocks on the dormitory door. At first, he didn't react, still squinting. The visitor's footsteps were light, but not completely inaudible. He could feel the person slowly approaching his bedside. The familiar, faint scent of body wash lingered, reminiscent of grass after rain or melting ice in a spring. If pheromones had a scent, Yin Che's would probably smell like this. Zhang Yao speculated, wondering what sneaking into his room was all about. Was he here to confirm what Zhang truly looked like? Yin Che stood silently by the bed for a long time. The dormitory's overhead light was on, illuminating the room brightly. If he wanted to see Zhang Yao's face, he should have already seen it clearly. Time felt excruciatingly slow. Every passing second stoked the fire in Zhang Yao's chest higher. Unable to bear it anymore, he decided to open his eyes and directly ask what was going on. At this moment, something lightly and softly brushed against his hand hanging by the bedside. He quickly opened his eyes. Yin Che pressed his lips together, slightly curled up the corners of his mouth, and then quickly put them down. He was about to get up and leave when suddenly a voice sounded above him. "What are you doing?" Yin Che reacted quickly, immediately saying expressionlessly as if he had done nothing, "Just checking if you froze to death. If not, I'll head back." Zhang Yao, without his glasses, with his bangs pushed back, looked down and asked him, "Do you think I'm okay now?" Yin Che wanted to look away from the face in front of him but found he couldn't. Not bad. Is appearance really that important? An hour ago, I was here giving you a gift. Weren't you afraid people would think we're a couple? Now you sneak up to kiss my hand. I thought you would be different. It was a scene he had longed for, yet it felt like heartbreak. He couldn't tell who he was more disappointed in at this moment, Yin Che, who changed his attitude 180 degrees because of appearance, or himself, who despite being useless still had to rely on looks to be liked. Yin Che remained indifferent. "I didn't kiss your hand, it was an accident." Zhang Yao pressed. "Then why were you so close to me? Close enough to accidentally touch my hand? Usually, even touching your clothes makes you wary. Aren't you the one who hates alphas the most? Or do you only hate alphas you look down on?" Yin Che calmly retorted, "I don't look down on you. I consider you a friend. But why are you hiding from me, hiding from everyone? Someone like you can have anyone you want without my advice. Why do you need me?" Zhang Yao, unwilling to admit it, wondered how to break free from the fact that he liked himself too much. He's quite anxious online. He was at a loss for words, finding himself increasingly tongue-tied in front of Yin Che. As he was leaving, his gaze quickly swept over something, seemingly paying attention to it. Picking up the bracelet, Zhang Yao raised his eyebrows and looked at him. After last night, the atmosphere between the two of them became somewhat subtle. At first, Zhang Yao seemed attentive, but soon his focus shifted to the person beside him, and had seen Yin Che staring at his face in a daze, he would have almost thought that Yin Che was indifferent and entirely unmoved by him. What he ended up with was a misshapen, multi-pointed star of indeterminate shape. After a whole lesson, Zhang Yao still couldn't fold a proper star. Yin Che hesitated at the door, clenched the handle of his suitcase, and quietly said, "Hey, see you next year." After finishing, he pulled his suitcase and left without looking back. Zhang Yao was left alone in the dormitory, staring blankly. Sure enough, he still liked it. Yin Che went back to his room, took a shower, and lay down to look at his phone, his feet up. The red string on his ankle swayed back and forth. The class group chat was lively, with people sharing dinners, playing games, and posting jokes. Most of it was meaningless chatter. Zhang Yao's expression was finally captured. Yin Che watched the chattering class group for a while and noticed Zhang Yao hadn't spoken. Just as he was curious about what Zhang Yao was doing, he received a video call from him. Yin Che was startled but answered. Zhang Yao was also lying in bed. His face on the screen was handsome and unruly, usually smiling with a sunny and warm demeanor. But now, his smirk seemed quite roguish. The two most popular types of guys on campus, and Zhang Yao embodied them both. Truly blessed. Zhang Yao asked, with 5 minutes left, "Do you want to make a New Year's wish?" "I'll go first. My happiest moment this year was being desk mates with you. I hope we'll stay desk mates until graduation." Yin Che was taken aback and said, "I do." Zhang Yao stared out the window as the sound of fireworks exploded in the distance. Yin Che looked up and repeated, "I said I do. My happiest moment this year was also being desk mates with you. It's probably the happiest moment of my life too. Thanks, Zhang Yao." Zhang Yao took a deep breath, repeated 3 times, and finally spoke, "Then I have another wish. I hope this year, with my personal charm, I can win over the person I like." Yin Che fell silent for a second. "Oh, then, you should keep it up." Zhang Yao stared at him steadily, "But now, I regret it." I can't wait. I've realized it doesn't matter whether it's for looks, personality, or anything else, as long as he likes me. As long as I can win him over quickly. Why am I being so pretentious and stubborn about whether he's an omega or cares about looks? What does it matter? Why should I be constrained by these principles I've set for myself? I should have understood earlier, I like him, and that's my principle. Zhang Yao's voice grew louder as he spoke. The evening breeze carried his murmur over the lights of thousands of homes, drifting into Yin Che's ears. He was stunned for a while before he came back to his senses, thinking to himself that he should feel happy for previously thinking Zhang Yao had low emotional intelligence and love. Turns out, you're quite eloquent. If you say these things to the person you like, you'll definitely win them over. Good luck. Zhang Yao laughed. Really? But I've already said it, so why hasn't he had any reaction? Yin Che asked. You've already said it, and he didn't agree? Zhang Yao didn't reply, just continued to smile at him. Yin Che slowly came to a realization. Things didn't seem to be as he thought. The person Zhang Yao was talking about didn't seem to be someone else. Zhang Yao's smile was deep. His gaze never left him from beginning to end. He's good in every way, just a bit foolish. Don't just stand there, it's you. You're the one I want to pursue, the one I like. You are my principal. Yin Che, be with me. Say, I do, to me one more time, okay? The cool look on Yin Che's face spelled out a capital I. For indifference, I refuse. Zhang Yao panicked. Why? At least give me a reason, let me know what I'm not doing well enough. It has nothing to do with whether you're good enough, I just don't want to date in high school. Zhang Yao was taken aback. Just this? And here I thought I was conservative enough. But I didn't expect to meet such an old-fashioned kid. What year is it? The Qing dynasty has long fallen. There's another reason Yin Che looks at him. I have a difficult-to-treat condition, pheromone deficiency. I neither have pheromones nor can I smell them. Zhang Yao was stunned to find out it was this condition. No wonder last time when he deliberately released pheromones, Yin Che said he couldn't smell it. Turns out he really couldn't. Can I ask around? It might not be incurable. Even if it can't be cured, it shouldn't matter much, right? You're a beta, you don't really need pheromones. Yin Che explained to this uninformed fool. Have you studied biology? I can't release pheromones, which means I can't blend with alpha pheromones and can't have children, understand? Zhang Yao was stunned and then his whole face turned red at a visible speed. Why are you saying this? Do you want to have my child? Yin Che was also stunned, then his face quickly turned burning red. I was just explaining, where did your mind go? Zhang Yao covered his face with one hand, his ears bright red. You silly rabbit, there's no need to think so far ahead. Whether we have children or not, I can accept it. Yin Che really wanted to shut him up. Who said anything about having your child? Shut up, I don't like you. Pursue anyone you like, just don't pursue me. You won't succeed. For the first time in 17 years, Zhang Yao liked someone this much, and also for the first time in 17 years, he was rejected so miserably. In the end, it was a mistake. Zhang Yao was well behaved during evening self-study, but when he returned to the dormitory, he had to face it. Leaning against the door of room 306 with one hand, dodged me for 3 days, impressive, brother Che. Yin Che used all his strength but still couldn't close it, finally realizing the disparity in strength between them. He gave up struggling and asked, what do you want? I've made it very clear. Zhang Yao shook the small square box in his hand. Nothing, just brought you a warm glass of milk and then I'll leave. Yin Che didn't believe it. But Zhang Yao really just watched him drink the warm milk and then left without saying a word. He didn't do anything else. Clearly, they hadn't agreed to be together, they weren't a couple, yet why did it feel so much like a couple's daily interaction? Yin Che couldn't understand. He covered himself with a blanket and reflected for a long time, finally concluding that this must be Zhang Yao's gentle trap, trying to trap him little by little, but it wouldn't work. He had been in the trap all along. He couldn't figure out why. Zhang Yao wanted to use a gentle trap, to ensnare Yin Che bit by bit, but he didn't know that Yin Che had already been trapped. Yin Che had imagined that by rejecting him, Zhang Yao should give up. He should have moved on to pursue someone else. Why then did he become even closer to him? Was he not being cold enough? Zhang Yao jabbed the back of his hand with a pen. Not leaving. Are you coming to my birthday event next Friday night? He firmly refused to go. Zhang Yao looked aggrieved. Why so cold? A breeze blew by. A few snowflakes fluttered and landed on Yin Che's hairtips. They were too light, he did not notice. Zhang Yao hesitated but still reached out his hand. There's snow in your hair. His movements were quick, and by the time he spoke, he had already brushed the snow away. Yin Che couldn't dodge in time. Zhang Yao's hand stayed, hovering at the back of his head, chuckling lightly. Hair can be touched, so what about this? His hand slowly moved forward, his palm resting on the soft hair strands, then his fingers gently weaved through them. Yin Che watched as the face before him gradually enlarged, his gaze losing focus, somewhat dazed. Since he was 7, aside from his parents, no one had touched his hair so casually. Strangely, he didn't resist. Zhang Yao was very close now, their warm breaths mingling, the air grew hotter and the snowflakes melted upon contact. Even this doesn't bother you? Then, may I do something even more excessive? Suddenly, Yin Che felt a chill on the back of his neck. His hands slowly moved down, touching that small patch of skin not covered by his high-neck sweater. Yin Che remained motionless in his seat, as if immobilized. In a low voice, Zhang Yao asked, "Why aren't you pushing me away?" "Brat, this will make me overstep my bounds." Yin Che didn't know how to react. This was different from the handshake last time. This time Zhang Yao touched him intentionally, with a comforting yet aggressive and invasive intent, breaking through his last line of defense. He then realized how fragile his supposedly impregnable defenses were. Any alpha stronger than him could easily break in and touch him, just like 10 years ago. Seeing that his expression was off, Zhang Yao immediately withdrew his hand. "You look pale. Are you feeling unwell?" As my wrist was suddenly seized while I was receiving something, I was lucky to react quickly. I stood up, turned around, and pulled out my arm. Otherwise, it might have been broken by now. "Am I bothering you by talking to your brother? It's none of your business, right?" Yin Zi heard this. Suddenly, Yin Zi snapped back to reality and questioned, "How is it not my business? Do you need to get physical just to chat?" Yin Che frowned and rubbed his temples, asking them to stop quarreling, and looked at Yin Zi, asking what he wanted. Yin Zi leaned in and whispered, "Mom wants you to come home this week. Dr. Feng said he might have a way. When your brother and boyfriend both fall into the water, who should you save first? It's quite urgent." Zhang Yao, who was initially leaning on the cabinet behind, stepped forward to give the brothers some private space. After hearing Yin Che's words, he approached quickly and asked, "What way? Can your brother's hidden illness be cured?" Yin Zi suddenly stared at Yin Che in astonishment. "You told him all about it?" Yin Che was still a bit stunned but nodded. Yin Zi, whose anger had just subsided, flared up again. "I've never seen anyone as shameless as you." Zhang Yao laughed. "I should thank your brother. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known how special you really feel about me. Shameless but useful. Why not admit that you just like me a bit more?" Yin Zi scoffed. "Why should he like such a useless alpha like you?" Zhang Yao squinted. "Because I'm outstanding. Ask your brother if I'm not better than you." Yin Zi, as if he heard a huge joke, "Did you hear what he said? Does he have delusions? Just because he broke my record once? It was just one time, who knows if it was just a fluke." Zhang Yao's smile didn't fade. "Then let's have a race in next week's long-distance run test to see if it was a coincidence. If you lose, will you show some respect to your brother? If you lose, you are not allowed to touch my brother again." Zhang Yao walked up to him, patted his shoulder, and lowered his voice. "Okay, but only if my brother disagrees. If he allows me to touch him, I can only respectfully comply." The day of the competition came quickly. Yin Che knew Zhang Yao could be faster. Whispering, "If you win, don't mock him. He's proud and I'm afraid he'll be unhappy." Zhang Xiao laughed. "If I win, of course he'll be unhappy." Yin Che opened his mouth but didn't speak. His meaning was clear. Zhang Yao reached out to ruffle his hair but stopped halfway. "You really are biased. Do you want me to lose on purpose? Have you ever thought that I would be unhappy? Do you think I'm so heartless?" Yin Che was silent for a moment and then returned to his initial request. "Just don't mock him, especially don't say I'm better than him or whatever. My brother is the most important person to me. I owe him a lot." Zhang Yao looked at him for a long time and said, "Remember that you owe me a favor too. I will collect it sooner or later." Their wager was already well known. At the sound of the whistle, Zhang Yao was always in the lead at first, but when the final results were announced, he had lost. Yin Zi's jaw nearly hit the sky in surprise. Zhang Yao brushed his windswept bangs back into place and turned to walk towards him, shrugging nonchalantly. A real man never seeks face in front of his wife. To let Yin Che participate in his own life event, he intentionally lost the race. Yin Che looked at him with a complex gaze. "Who told you to lose on purpose? I told you not to mock him. Can't you understand that?" Zhang Yao smiled. "If I had won, he definitely wouldn't be happy. If he's unhappy, he'll take it out on you, and I don't want you to be unhappy." Yin Che looked at him. "And what about you? Wouldn't you be unhappy?" Zhang Yao cunningly blinked. "If it makes you care whether I'm happy or not, then I'm very happy. Besides, it makes you owe me a favor. This Friday night, got it?" It was all calculated. Yin Che gritted his teeth while Zhang Yao felt quite pleased. "Can I ask you another small question? Your stinky little brother is the most important person to you, right? So am I the second most important?" Yin Che said no, but Zhang Yao, not giving up, asked, "Then what rank am I? You should know that I run very fast." Even if I'm currently in 100th place, I can catch up to the first place. Your brother should be careful. But the one who should be most careful is you, because once I win first place, you'll be my prize. Soon it was Friday, and they took the subway together. Zhang Yao struck up a conversation naturally. That doctor your brother mentioned last time, is he the one who can cure your hidden ailment? Once you're cured, will you have pheromones? Yin Che suddenly felt annoyed in his heart. Maybe, but I don't want to be cured. Because the cure might be painful, I'd rather not go through with it. He didn't tell Zhang Yao that if the treatment didn't work, the worst outcome would be death. Zhang Yao seemed thoughtful as he looked at him earnestly. Anyway, whatever decision you make, as long as it doesn't affect your health, I'll support you. Before entering the door, Zhang Yao took off his glasses and his bangs fell forward. Yin Che, looking at his suddenly handsome face, said, "Your glasses and bangs, did you put some kind of spell on them? Why is the difference so big?" Zhang Yao smiled. "I actually had a stylist design this. He said if there's something particularly striking about a person, just cover that part up and you'll immediately become ordinary. That's why I dressed up." It took a moment for Yin Che to understand what he was saying, and then he kicked over a footstool. In the villa, Zhao Cheng and the others had already arrived in the KTV private room. Ghostly wails and howls of songs came through the door. Yin Che noticed that Zhang Yao's popularity and prestige among these brothers was extraordinarily high. Being the only person Zhang Yao brought, the others immediately treated him differently, offering him a seat. The 24-point game started again. Yin Che faced off against him and won 13 times, while Zhang Yao won 15 times. Zhang Yao leans back on the sofa with his legs crossed, looking smug. "You little brat, accept it or not, come and take your punishment." Everyone else immediately gets excited. Zhang Yao's means of punishment must be quite explosive. Everyone's eyes are wide open, not daring to blink. Zhang Yao leans back on the sofa with his legs crossed, a smug look on his face. "You little brat, accept it or not, come and take your punishment. The bet is for the two to eat from the same biscuit." Yin Che is a bit afraid of Zhang Yao acting recklessly in front of so many people, but since he has already spoken, he doesn't want to go back on his word. He has no choice but to brace himself and slowly move closer to Zhang Yao. His hand secretly clenches into a fist. When they are only half a biscuit apart, his whole body trembles, and he bites off the biscuit just in time. Everyone is stunned. What kind of punishment is this? A forceful kiss? Where's the explosive scene? Zhang Yao quickly stands up to smooth things over. "You don't know, my deskmate is quite stubborn. It's not easy for him to listen to me obediently. Are you guys hungry? I'll order some takeout." The crowd shouts, "Thank you, Brother Yao," and quickly forgets the incident. Zhang Yao takes the opportunity to pull his deskmate out to the bar, which is a bit away from the crowd, and explains that their group usually loves to joke like this. "Don't mind it, I ordered the cake from last time. Can you help me cut it later?" Yin Che finds it a bit strange. "Why am I cutting it? Shouldn't it be you, the birthday boy?" Zhang Yao looks up at the sky and sighs. "Why else? Because I like you." Hearing this phrase again after a few weeks, his heart trembles again. Now, face to face, there's nowhere to hide, and Yin Che doesn't know where to put his hands. Seeing this, Zhang Yao chuckles and pats his back. "Don't panic, I'm not forcing you to respond now. But after today, you'll be of age, a single, high-quality alpha. Very in demand, you'd better act fast." Yin Che thought to himself that you were already popular even though you were underage. He smiled slightly and said, "I thought you were younger than me, but it turns out we are the same age." Zhang Yao said it was because he needed to adapt to the environment, so he studied for an extra year, citing his reasons. Yin Che paused for a moment, having had 2 surgeries on his body and a year of recuperation. When asked about his illness, he just said he couldn't remember clearly. Seeing that he was reluctant to talk, Zhang Yao did not press further. He looked down and fiddled with the bracelet. "My dad used to give me something I liked every year for my birthday, but this time he gave me a very special gift." Yin Che was slightly startled. Suppressants are usually for Omega to delay their heat period. There are also for Alpha, but few use them. Pheromones are a symbol of Alpha's strength. Pheromones are a symbol of Alpha strength. Who would suppress their own abilities for no reason? My dad says that although I'm an adult now, I still have many immature aspects. He hopes I take responsibility for myself. If I have someone I like, I should touch their heart with sincerity, not pheromones. Zhang Yao's birthday gift turned out to be a suppressant, simply because his dad told him, if you have someone you like, touch their heart with sincerity, not pheromones. Alphas conquering others using pheromones is nothing new. Many Omegas do admire alphas with strong pheromones. It's a physiological instinct, mutual consent, and there's nothing wrong with it. Yin Che thinks his dad's perspective is quite unique. My dad has always been unconventional. He once said something to me, I didn't understand it before, but now it seems I do. The heavens gave us different attributes just to point us toward a path. For example, alphas are meant to be strong and protect the weak, omegas are meant to be gentle and understanding. But we don't necessarily have to follow this path. What kind of life we lead, what kind of partner we choose, is entirely up to us. Physiological bonds are shallow, emotional compatibility is profound. Love the person you love and be loyal to them. Yin Che lingered for a while, savoring his dad's words. Your dad's words are truly wise. After finishing the cake, the dormitory had actually already locked its doors. But Yin Che insisted on going back. Zhang Yao silently stared at him, then suddenly smiled faintly. The birthday wish I just made is the same as the one I made that night, to win over the person I like. Honestly, I don't feel confident at all. Can you tell me what I've done wrong? For instance, why do you insist on going back tonight? What can I do to make you stay? I just want you to spend the rest of this birthday with me. Yin Che looked at him through the night. In his impression, Zhang Yao had always been self-confident to the point of arrogance. It seemed like he had never shown such an expression before, cautious, almost pleading. Yin Che forced himself not to look away. You've done everything well, but you're chasing the wrong person. Rejected once again, Zhang Yao stared at him for a long time, trying to find a trace of a lie on his face, but found nothing. Yin Che really didn't like him. Helplessly, he smiled and said, I just changed my wish. I hope to send you back to school tonight. Can you help me fulfill it? Yin Che didn't know what else to say. The boy's smile was pure and untainted. He couldn't bear to refuse again. Usually talkative, Zhang Yao was very quiet the whole time. Yin Che couldn't help but glance sideways and found him with his eyes closed, seemingly taking a nap. His gaze turned to the window. It's only about 30 kilometers from Dongcheng No. 8 High School to Xicheng No. 1 High School, but those 30 kilometers separate millions of people. In some sense, their meeting was a miracle. Yin Che thought Zhang Yao was a miracle in his life, but he still needed another miracle. Would heaven really grant a person 2 miracles? By the time they reached the dormitory, Yin Che had already fallen asleep. He had no choice but to carry him back to the dormitory. Zhang Yao was a miracle in Yin Che's life, his light. Would heaven really grant a person 2 miracles? To make Yin Che sleep more comfortably, Zhang Yao planned to help him take off his coat. He supported Yin Che's back, half holding him in his arms. After taking off the coat, he was reluctant to let go. The little rascal tilted his head, frowning slightly, as if troubled even in his dream. Zhang Yao gently patted his back through the sweater, whispering soothingly in his ear. After a few minutes, Yin Che's frown finally relaxed. Zhang Yao then squatted down to take off his shoes but suddenly touched something soft, like a rope. Curious, he pulled up the pant leg slightly. It was indeed a red string, but it was poorly made, crooked, with wrong knots, and rough. It was the discarded string Zhang Yao hadn't finished weaving. Now, a tight knot had been tied at the connection of the red string. Unless cut, it could never be untied for a lifetime. Zhang Yao's lips curled into a smile, thinking he finally caught the little rascal's tail. When Yin Che woke up, he was dizzy and groggily looked at the bed, suddenly realizing the blanket covering him. The whole dormitory wasn't his. He immediately threw off the blanket and got out of bed. His movements were a bit loud, waking up the person sleeping at the side of the desk. Zhang Yao's voice was hoarse as he rubbed his own hair with his eyes half closed. You're awake? Did you sleep well, on my bed? Yin Che put on his shoes and coat, saying it was too hard to sleep well. Zhang Yao stretched his sore arms and legs, walked up to him, and sniffed the air. Yin Che was so startled that he took a step back. Zhang Yao lazily smiled with a hint of mischief. It's a pity you can't smell pheromones. You're covered in my scent now. Yin Che grabbed a pillow and threw it at his face, not wanting to smell it at all. I'm heading back. Zhang Yao's gaze was a bit odd as he looked at him and said, take care. Yin Che couldn't pinpoint what was odd, just felt like he was being watched. 10 minutes later, the person who had just left returned. Zhang Yao was still standing there and asked, what's wrong? Yin Che seemed a bit anxious, asking him for Zhao Cheng's number. I left something at the villa. I need to go back. Zhang Yao knowingly asked, is it that important? What is it? I'll ask him to help you find it. Yin Che hesitated for a moment, then turned to leave. Tell him not to leave yet and to open the door for me. I'll be there soon. Then a voice from behind said, is this what you're looking for? Yin Che's steps halted, and his mind was racing as he stiffly turned around. Zhang Yao was holding a cut red string, raising his eyebrow. Because I made it, it's important, right? Zhang Yao stepped closer, bit by bit. How about me, you little rascal? I'm seriously confessing, seriously chasing you, and you're playing hard to get. Are you messing with me? I'm seriously confessing, seriously chasing you, and you're playing hard to get. Yin Che finally revealed himself. He swallowed and was about to say, I didn't, when Zhang Yao interrupted him in a deep voice. Then explain what's with this string. I clearly left it at the shop that day. You went back to get it, didn't you? And you tied it on your foot especially. Tell me why. Yin Che was forced to retreat step by step until his back was against the door with no way out, no room to escape. You already know why, don't ask. Zhang Yao leaned in close. I want to hear you say it yourself. When did you start liking me? Yin Che's eyelashes trembled. A boy like Zhang Yao is probably irresistible. Anyway, he has never been able to tell the truth. When asked if it was the sports meet, Zhang Yao took a gentle breath. You lied to me so early? You even encouraged me to pursue Ziyue. Fine, but now I said I want to pursue you, and why are you rejecting me? He moved closer, his breath landing on my face as he spoke. Yin Che turned his head uncomfortably. Because it's troublesome. Dating you is troublesome. You're an alpha and I'm a beta with no pheromones. If I want to be with you, I need to cure my illness. But curing this illness is troublesome and not guaranteed. Even if cured, you might still think omegas are better. So forget it. Zhang Yao was stunned. Just for such a lousy reason? Yin Che impatiently twisted the doorknob behind him. A lousy reason is still a reason. I just don't want to. Don't force me. Zhang Yao's fist slammed on the door. How am I forcing you? I've said I don't care about your illness. What are you imagining? Not even giving me a chance. How can you decide what I'll be like in the future? And since your illness can be treated, don't you even have the intention to try for me? If it's really troublesome, giving up later is not too late. Yin Che pursed his lips. You don't know anything. Zhang Yao was genuinely angry. I don't understand what you're thinking. I only know if it were me, I would try to cure the illness for you, and I would find ways to make you like me. Do you truly like me? The air was tense, and Yin Che didn't react, his face calm. I don't know. Think whatever you want. Anyway, let's just be friends. If you don't want to be friends, that's fine too. I don't care. His expression and tone were cold. Zhang Ke heard the noise and came to knock on the dormitory door. Zhang Yao's voice was low, sounding even more muffled through the wooden door. We're arguing. I'll deal with him later. Don't come over no matter what noise you hear. Then the door was locked from the inside. Zhang Yao pulled the blanket over Yin Che, who finally revealed his secret crush discovered by his deskmate. Zhang Yao pulled the blanket over him, wrapping him tightly, leaving only his head exposed. If you don't agree, don't even think about leaving. Even in such an angry situation, I still didn't touch him. Instead, I supported myself above him and looked into his eyes. To be honest, I can't guarantee what will happen in the future. The future is too long, no one can say for sure. Even if I say I will always like you, you wouldn't believe it, and neither would I don't know if you will always like me, but as long as we are together, we can have a relationship for a day, perhaps discovering that a lifetime has passed this way. Even if not, it's still better than never having a relationship at all, better than never having had a single day. This idea is really tempting. Miracles may not happen, tomorrow may not come, but if you can have a relationship for a day with the one you like, it seems life isn't wasted. Yin Che was silent for a long time before speaking. If one day you don't like me anymore, tell me directly, don't lie to me. I do not accept any reason for deception. If one day I want to break up with you, you are not allowed to chase after me. If you agree to these two conditions, I will agree with you. Zhang Yao's eyes suddenly lit up. You mean, he was excited for a second but suddenly felt this clause was tricky. Wait, you won't agree and then immediately propose a breakup, and then I can't chase you, right? Saying it like this really sounds like something you would do. Yin Che wanted to confront him, but unfortunately, his legs couldn't move, so he could only stare at him. If you don't agree, forget it. Zhang Yao laughed softly, pressing his body down almost to his nose tip, whispering in his ear to agree. I will be the boyfriend that makes you unwilling to break up with me. Zhang Ke paced outside for a long time, wondering why it suddenly became quiet inside. He was increasingly worried and decided to go back to the dorm to get some reinforcements to help mediate the conflict. At this moment, the door of 307 opened, and Yin Che came out, glanced at him, and told him to go in and collect the body. Zhang Ke walked in, dazed and trembling, and saw someone lying crookedly on the bed, face covered with a white blanket. Zhang Ke shouted in grief, "Why are you so overconfident? So young and already gone." Zhang Yao hugged the blanket tightly, buried himself in it, took a deep breath, and said, "Don't disturb me. I'm busy here. I'm smelling the scent of love." After going through many hardships, he finally managed to pursue the object of his affection. Zhang Yao originally had a pretty good plan. They were desk mates and both stayed on campus, making everything convenient. However, he forgot that this was the last week of the semester with final exams. They could only meet during the evening self-study sessions, but Yin Che was unwilling to go to the grove with him, looking at him like he was a criminal. After all the hardships to finally win over his deskmate, he was met with familiar rejection. The familiar coldness was baffling. He wouldn't even hold hands, let alone stay over. After 4 days of dating, it was no different from their previous brotherly mode. Until the 5th day, when all the exams were finished, Zhang Yao suddenly realized that winter break was coming. Can I ask you out during the winter break? Yin Che pursed his lips, seemingly a bit conflicted, and responded with a hesitant, indicating yes, but not overnight, which was too fast. This was driving him crazy. Zhang Yao thought his innocent boy should be naturally flirtatious, not knowing how charming he was. One day, Zhang Yao insisted on asking for his address, saying he had a carefully prepared gift to send him. He softened for a moment and gave it to him. Before receiving the gift, Yin Che thought through various price ranges for return gifts. Until he took a thin document envelope from the courier, he vaguely felt he had overestimated Zhang the straight guy. Upon opening the envelope, it was just as he thought. Zhang Yao sent him a piece of paper with 2 stick figures drawn on it, their names written on them, holding hands with a big heart above, to commemorate our first hand-holding. Not crumpling it into a ball and tossing it into the trash was his greatest mercy. And he had the nerve to ask for a return gift. Until nearly midnight, there was no response from the other side. He once again took out his phone to check the time when Zhang Yao called. Yin Che was a bit angry. Your boyfriend asked me to ask you, what were you just doing? Did you fall asleep and abandon him? Zhang Yao's voice was mixed with the cheers of wind and rain and crowds. I'm not telling you. Let him come out. Yin Che froze, and after realizing, he quickly put on a few pieces of clothing, rushed downstairs, and out the door. A heavy motorcycle was parked by the roadside. Just as the person regained consciousness and stepped back, he took off the helmet, shook his hair, and his bangs were trimmed above his eyebrows, changing from a bowl cut to a side part. Revealing a face with a rebellious aura, he arrogantly raised an eyebrow at him. Why are you backing off? Haven't seen your boyfriend for a few days and don't recognize him? Zhang Yao's tone was too arrogant, leaving him momentarily unsure how to retort, only able to ask, how did you get here? Zhang Yao set down the helmet. Your reaction really kills my vibe. I traveled from the east of the city to the west just to spend New Year's with you. Shouldn't you be like, oh dear, I'm so touched. I was just thinking of you and here you are. I love you so much. Yin Che remained cold. Do you think that's possible? Zhang Yao smiled. I also don't think it's very likely. I was just trying to tease you. Before he finished speaking, the back of his hand, hanging by his side, was touched. I am very moved and missed you a lot. After all the hardships, I finally won over my classmate. Zhang Yao couldn't help but grab his wrist, undeterred by the onlookers. Their eyes only on each other, he tightened his arms and hugged for about 4 or 5 seconds. Feeling the body in his arms gradually stiffen, he then let go. Sorry, I should have asked for your permission. Are you uncomfortable? Yin Che's face paled a bit, but his ears were very red, and he didn't look at him, indicating he was okay. Zhang Yao jokingly opened his arms again, then let's hug again. Yin Che took a small step back. Once a day, I'm still not used to such close contact. Zhang Yao grinned. What's going on, my clingy boy? Do I need to come hug you every day? A fine alpha, but with such a mouth. Zhang Yao patted the heavy motorcycle behind him. Anyway, with this tool of crime, a round trip every night only takes 2 hours. For my boyfriend, it's worth it to come and embrace you soon. Yin Che is speechless. Who asks you to come every day? Stop fussing around. And changing the topic, whose car is it? Do you have a license? Zhang Yao steps aside to show off the whole car. It's a birthday gift from my dad. Of course I have a license. Otherwise we would be meeting in a police station now. Cool, isn't it? Want to try? Boys generally can't resist such hardcore machinery. Yin Che sincerely says he wants to. He thought Zhang Yao was about to take him for a ride. But Zhang Yao just smiled and said, some other day. It's too late today and a bit dangerous. I'm brave enough alone, but not with another person. Besides, it's my treasure. And it's cold today, easy to catch a cold. Yin Che looks at his earnest expression with lowered eyelashes and suddenly feels very fortunate. I'm glad I agreed to this relationship, even if it's just for one day, it's already worth it. Zhang Yao grabs his sleeve and asks, can it really only be once a day? I really want to hug you now. Can I save it for tomorrow? The second the countdown ends, he whispers in his embrace, Happy New Year, my first words are for you. The 3-week winter break flies by quickly. Zhang Ke is the first to spot Zhang Yao, widening his eyes and pointing out the classroom window. Wow, so handsome. Not just him, other classmates and students passing in the hallway also see him, instantly causing a sensation. The more he looks, the more he feels something is off. This face, this height, feels a bit familiar. The person walks from the front to the back door of the classroom as if a spotlight is on him, attracting attention all the way, while only Yin Che remains as calm as usual. The whole class is restless all day, surrounded by students from other classes during breaks like they are visiting a zoo. After evening self-study, Zhang Yao drags him into the neighboring dormitory for a hug. Zhang Yao lifts the seal on his looks, causing quite a stir at school. Yin Che, jealous, gets dragged by Zhang Yao into the neighboring dormitory for a hug. Yin Che fought back with punches and kicks, but still ended up with his freshly washed and blow-dried fluffy hair tousled and sticking out in all directions, looking like it was all puffed up in anger as he glared back with slightly reddened cheeks, mostly from irritation. It took Zhang Yao a while to let go, and he even smoothed out Yin Che's messy hair. By the way, I have something to declare. Your boyfriend might have attracted some attention, but I assure you, you're the only one in my heart. Yin Che paused and raised an eyebrow. In your heart? But you don't plan to make our relationship public? That's another life-threatening question. Zhang Yao confessed. Why are you so perceptive? I don't plan to say anything for now. I don't want to cause you trouble. Those in Dongcheng who are displeased with me, now that they know I'm at Yizhong, might come to find trouble with me. If they knew you were my partner, they would definitely harass you too, just like last time when Pan Wei used Zi Wei as leverage. If they can't beat me, they'll target those around me. Unsatisfied, Yin Che retorted, so what if they do? They might not be able to beat me either. Zhang Yao laughed. I know you're strong, but it's still not okay. You just focus on getting better, I'll handle the rest. Let's wait until things calm down before telling everyone, okay? Yin Che agreed without hesitation, which made Zhang Yao uneasy. Why are you suddenly so obedient? Aren't you afraid I'm deceiving you? What if I don't want to go public just to make it easier to cheat? Yin Che's expression was calm and resolute. You won't do that. You promised you wouldn't lie to me. I trust you unconditionally, 100%. Zhang Yao couldn't help himself again, reaching out to pull him into his arms. Little bunny, do you especially like being close to me, an alpha? The approach of an alpha made Yin Che stiffen involuntarily. His ears started buzzing again, and his mind was in chaos, but he didn't move away or answer. The question was too silly, they both knew the answer. Free time during physical education class. Today, there were unusually many students gathered around the basketball court, not only to watch Yin Zi play basketball but also to gaze at the two handsome guys sitting on the side of the court. Zhang Yao wasn't playing, he was chatting with his deskmate, deep in conversation. Suddenly, a basketball from the court flew at high speed towards him, heading straight for his face. Zhang Yao turned his head, and the basketball smashed into the wire fence behind him. Yin Zi stands under the basketball hoop not far away, looking over here. It's a pity it didn't hit you. Zhang Yao picks up the ball and casually throws it back. Whether you're trying to provoke or whatever, I'm not interested. I'm having a good chat with your brother. Yin Zi looks at him provocatively. It's just a game, you're not chickening out, are you? Zhang Yao tilts his body. Let me ask this brother here, can I crush your annoying little brother? Yin Che says, don't hurt his self-esteem. Zhang Yao laughs. This is a bit of a test of acting skills. Shouldn't I get paid for this? Let me ask this brother here, can I crush your annoying little brother? Yin Che says, don't hurt his self-esteem. Zhang Yao laughs. This is a bit of a test of acting skills. Shouldn't I get paid for this? Yin Che asks, what do you want? Zhang Yao leans over and whispers something in his ear, which Yin Che mercilessly rejects. Yin Zi watches them talking privately as if no one else is around, grinding his teeth. I'll count to 3. If you don't dare to go on the court, it means you're scared. Zhang Yao persists. If you don't agree, I'll go crush your brother then. I guarantee you'll be left with a psychological shadow and won't want to play basketball ever again. Yin Zi has already started counting down, and Yin Che reluctantly agrees. The audience seats instantly erupted. The old-school heartthrob provoking the new one. How could they miss this excitement? A one-on-one match, whoever scores 5 points first wins. As the whistle blows, Zhang Yao suddenly bursts forward like a whirlwind. Yin Zi was dribbling and about to sprint, but hesitated, and the ball was gone. The next second, the sound of the basketball hitting the net and landing echoes from behind. A three-pointer, perfectly executed without a flaw. Then he pats Yin Zi on the shoulder. It's only 1-0, don't get discouraged. Your skills are still good, little brother. Yin Zi shakes off his hand. Backquote. The game went on with Yin Zi becoming more cautious, not daring to underestimate the opponent while dribbling and breaking through the defense. He took 3 shots, 1 was blocked, but 2 went in. The players were evenly matched, coming to match point. Both cheer squads were shouting their lungs out. In the end, each ball drew a beautiful parabola in the air and went straight into the basket. Yin Zi lost, but not shamefully. At that moment, the PE teacher blew the whistle for the students to gather. Wanting to follow the others, I slowly made my way to the assembly point. Did I act okay? It's tough playing basketball for the first time. Don't forget our agreement. Yin Che was somewhat distracted. Are you really not going to mess around? He asked. Zhang Yao just smiled and promised, though he certainly didn't mean it. That night, he brought Yin Che to stay over in his dormitory, swearing that he absolutely wouldn't do anything inappropriate. But he couldn't resist the temptation of having his boyfriend so close. He broke his promise, though he actually did nothing, not even touching his boyfriend who was within arm's reach. The single bed was too narrow, so to give Yin Che enough space to sleep comfortably, he curled up on the edge of the bed and only fell asleep in the early morning. First thing in the morning, Han Meng invited Zhang Yao for a morning run, but no one answered after knocking twice. Trying the doorknob and finding it unlocked, since they were all alphas, there was nothing to be shy about, he walked in boldly. On the narrow single bed in the dormitory lay two people. The startled Zhang Yao scrambled to pull the blanket over the person beside him and growled, "Can't you freaking knock first?" Han Meng was dumbfounded and couldn't utter another word for a long time. The scene was too much for him, his innocent and pure heart couldn't bear it. The legend is true. The two school tyrants of first middle school are together. Han Meng was so shocked he couldn't utter a word for ages. This scene is too intense. His innocent young heart can't take it. The blanket next to Zhang Yao bulged up. The person underneath must have felt suffocated and with a sweep of the hand, pulled the blanket off his face. When Han Meng saw who it was, his CPU almost fried. "Why are you two sleeping together?" Zhang Yao made up a story on the spot. "We were discussing homework until late last night, and Che wanted to stay over." Yin Che ruthlessly revealed he never said that. Zhang Yao scratched his head. "Alright, I was confused and remembered wrong. It was me shamelessly begging Che to let me stay over to strengthen our brotherly bond." Han Meng held his forehead and took a deep breath. "Do you think I'm an idiot? Your dorm is as messy as a pigsty. Why would Che want to stay here? Did you two really work on homework until late?" Zhang Yao leapt up. "How can you have such dirty thoughts? Can't you be more pure? Our Che is still underage. Che, don't listen to him." Han Meng was speechless. "I'll ask one last time, what exactly is your relationship?" Both answered at the same time. Zhang Yao said, "Good brothers," Yin Che said, "Boyfriends." Zhang Yao couldn't believe it. "Didn't we agree to keep it a secret for now? You just blurted it out. What if he spreads it around?" Yin Che stated, "If he dares, aren't we too capable of handling him?" Han Meng wanted to curse but didn't dare to, only able to express his indignation. "Who would have thought you two would be together? This kind of mind-blowing affair, even if I told others, no one would believe it, okay?" During today's club activity, Yin Che said he would take him to visit the club president who took a leave of absence due to hospitalization. Zhang Yao, having attended club activities for a whole semester without ever meeting the president, was quite curious and casually asked what illness he had. Yin Che looked down. "Congenital adrenal hypoplasia. A lack of sex hormones, similar to me. We have the same attending physician." Zhang Yao suddenly remembered, this must have a bigger impact on him, right? After all, as an omega without pheromones, that means no heat periods. What's the difference from beat? It's even worse than beat. This remark was too cruel for Zhang Yao to say out loud. He realized something was very wrong. Why is he hospitalized for a congenital defect now? And without pheromones, it doesn't seem to affect his normal life. Why take a break from school for treatment? Yin Che stopped in his tracks, his face expressionless. Before the heat period arrives, it indeed won't be a problem. But every omega will experience a heat period. It's determined by biological structure. The heat period is like a hungry beast. It needs to devour enough alpha pheromones to be satisfied. Without pheromones, it can't blend with alpha pheromones. So when an omega's heat period arrives without alpha pheromones to sustain it, you know what happens to that beast. An omega lacking pheromones will experience rapid organ failure after the heat period and inevitably die. Zhang Yao's mind buzzed, feeling completely stunned. Impossible, isn't there inhibitors? Inhibitors can delay the heat period. No, inhibitors actually suppress pheromones, and only delay the explosion of pheromones. How do you delay without pheromones? Suddenly, Zhang Yao felt an unusually strong foreboding and grabbed Yin Che's arm. "So, is your condition the same?" Yin Che remained silent, his eyes devoid of emotion, like a dead pool of water. Zhang Yao was on the verge of collapse from his gaze when he finally heard him say, "No, it's different." The stars hanging in the sky fell heavily. "Alright, you're a beat, you don't have a heat period." "What am I thinking?" he asked unwillingly. "Then there must be a way to cure your illness, right?" Yin Che said, "Congenital cases have no cured examples domestically or abroad. But there are self-recovery cases as long as there are glands. Pheromones actually exist. Pheromones actually exist, it's just that the channel hasn't been opened. If there's a compatible alpha during the heat period giving strong stimulation, it might help open the pheromone channel. The doctor estimates the success rate to be around 80%. Zhang Yao breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. "You should have said so earlier, you scared me to death." I thought it was some incurable disease. Yin Che's voice dropped to almost a murmur. Congenital pheromone deficiency is easier to treat, just needing stimulation from an alpha. If it's acquired, it's much more complicated and the success rate is also very low. Zhang Yao and he clasped their hands together, praying from today for his peace and safety. Yin Che curled his lips but didn't speak. Days passed peacefully like flowing water, and soon it was time for the spring outing. The bus had spacious seats with several empty ones. Seeing no one next to him, Zhang Yao threw his backpack and snacks over. He really wanted to continue by picking up a certain little bunny and cuddle it in his lap. Yin Che didn't notice the calculating gaze beside him, feeling sleepy as he had woken up early. Zhang Yao then drew him to himself, letting his head rest on his shoulder. Turning his head, he saw Yin Zi outside the window, stomping in anger. Zhang Yao deliberately teased by pinching Yin Che's soft earlobe, looking up and smiling across with a hooked lip, immersed in joy. Suddenly, an ominous voice came unexpectedly to his ear, telling him to take his hand off. He immediately withdrew his hand and took a candy, offering it to Yin Che's mouth. Yin Che turned his head indicating he wouldn't eat. Zhang Yao pushed the candy inside with his finger, touching his lips briefly. The warmth was fleeting, leaving Yin Che stunned. Zhang Yao withdrew his hand, touched his own lips with the finger that had touched Yin Che's. He looked at Yin Che with a smirk, his alpha ambitions clear. Yin Che retreated to the window, warily watching him, like a small animal trying to maintain calm while being threatened by a wild beast. Zhang Yao also felt that he was being too obvious with his feelings. He apologized for pinching his ear and touching his lips without permission. Recently, Zhang Yao seemed to be becoming more and more bold and reckless. Yin Che's breathing was unsteady as he said, "If you don't have the patience to wait, then forget it. Find someone else." Zhang Yao was stunned. What do you mean by find someone else? Find someone you can touch at will? Find someone with pheromones? Find someone who likes children? Find someone who can meet all your needs, but don't find me. He suddenly realized that he really wasn't ready for psychological treatment. It wasn't working at all. His mind was filled with thoughts of retreat. Anyway, it might not necessarily be cured. Anyway, Zhang Yao might not have the patience to wait. Why bother treating it? Zhang Yao frowned. What do you mean? If you don't like me doing this, then I apologize. You can criticize and teach me a lesson, but why do you have to say things like that? Am I just playing around with you? Yin Che's mind was in chaos. Some images were lingering and he was annoyed. He told him not to talk to him. Zhang Yao opened his mouth but eventually swallowed his words. When they had almost finished eating the candy, the bus arrived at the destination. Everyone began to form teams to play. Yin Che and Zhang Yao stood still. Several groups invited them, but they shook their heads and refused. The two of them stood side by side, looking cold and ignoring each other. The others exchanged glances and soon realized that these two seemed to have had a quarrel. Yin Che sat and watched the bags for his classmates. The backpacks beside him were bulging with snacks, but his backpack was almost empty. Because before they left, Zhang Yao had taken everything from his bag and said, "With your boyfriend here, you don't need to carry anything." Sometimes Zhang Yao could be pretty bad, intentionally making him rely on him. He stared at the ground, lost in thought, unable to leave. It didn't matter if he was ready or not, he didn't want to leave Zhang Yao. Suddenly, someone threw a piece of chocolate over. Startled, he turned to find Zhang Yao sitting at the other end. Zhang Yao opened his backpack and asked what else he wanted to eat. Yin Che replied there was no need to think about it, asking, "How did you come out? Are you done playing?" He felt it was a redundant question. Zhang Yao must have come out for him. Before he could think of another topic, Chen Yingying and the others came down, ready to go to the haunted house. Chen Yingying led the way, with Zhang Ke and Yang Yilei holding hands behind her. Zhang Yao and Yin Che walked at the back. The three in front were soon scared off and ran away. Zhang Yao stood still, casually warning not to move carelessly in case of tripping. Yin Che, who had just been standing right behind him, was now completely silent only a few steps away. Zhang Yao tentatively called out, "Are you there? If you are, say something." Suddenly, a hand firmly grasped his arm. The hand was stiff but determined, slowly moving down until it touched his palm. Fingers intertwined, locking tightly, skin touching, hearts throbbing. In the darkness, Yin Che's slightly agitated voice sounded, "Sorry, don't be mad, bro." Zhang Yao wasn't really angry, he was to blame for touching what he shouldn't have without permission. He deserved to be scolded. At most, he felt a bit upset, thinking the kid's words were too harsh. No matter what, he shouldn't have been told to find someone else. But now, Yin Che was holding his hand voluntarily, and Zhang Yao lost all his temper in an instant. They hadn't held hands before, their hearts racing. Zhang Yao, acting on impulse, pulled him close, hugged his waist, and asked if he was feeling unwell. Yin Che held on tighter, burying his head in his neck. His voice was muffled. It's okay, hold on for a bit longer. In the darkness, all other senses were heightened. The voice echoing in his ears, the breath spraying on his neck, the warmth exchanged in the palms of their hands. It was naive, bewildered, and incredibly exciting. Zhang Yao never thought holding hands could be so tortuous. He was almost losing control and wanted more, expecting to be scolded again, so he was about to let go. But Yin Che didn't understand his feelings. Raising her other hand to hug him back for the first time, she spoke softly with a hint of coquettishness, "I'll let go if you're not angry." Zhang Yao was overjoyed and wanted to keep pretending, but Yin Che's hand was shaking more and more, as if forcing himself to touch him. Unable to bear it, he consciously released his grip, indicating that he wasn't angry and there was no need to force it. Yin Che asked if that meant they had made up, and Zhang Yao said, "Yeah, we've made up." Yin Che sighed with relief, and another voice in the darkness also sighed with relief. Zhang Yao immediately drew closer to his little bunny and said sternly, "Whoever is there, stop messing around and come out." A disheveled NPC, standing 2 or 3 steps away, said helplessly, "Young lads, this is a haunted house. If I don't play ghost tricks, what else can I do? I've been anxiously listening to you two prattle on forever, I barely dared to breathe. Now that you've made up, please argue less and be more tolerant of each other in the future. That's how a relationship lasts." Chen Yingying and the others had been waiting at the exit for a long time, wondering why they hadn't come out yet. Could they have fainted from fright? Zhang Ke said it was impossible. It's more likely that Brother Che scared the ghosts, they joked. They waited another 10 minutes before they saw the two of them, walking out shoulder to shoulder. Zhang Yao stretched and yawned, finally out. It was so dark in there, but thankfully I had Che with me. Heart. The other three exchanged shocked glances, wondering what had happened inside that led to them making up so quickly. That night, a wild wind howled outside, and the sky on the balcony suddenly brightened with a flash of lightning streaking across. Yin Che visibly shuddered, and Zhang Yao chuckled inwardly, opening his arms and asking for his hug for the day. Yin Che hesitated, wondering whether to embrace him or not, feeling a bit embarrassed. Then another bolt of lightning struck, and Zhang Yao quickly seized the opportunity to pull the frightened bunny into his arms. Noticing that the bunny's waist was very slim, narrower than his own by a whole size. He asked if he had been eating less recently, as he seemed to have lost weight. Yin Che said he looked slim because of his muscles from exercising. Zhang Yao laughed and said, "Where's the muscle? Lift your shirt and let me see." As he spoke, he grabbed the hem of his pajamas and asked, "Do you want to see mine?" He shouted, "Let me show you what real muscle is." Yin Che pushed him away and stepped back, leaning against the desk with a smirk, saying, "Sure, Zhang Yao." Zhang Yao was stunned, swallowed a bit, saying, "This isn't what I imagined. I thought you would tell me to get lost and throw me out." Yin Che smiled and said, "That was the plan, but I changed my mind. Now that I've called, you have to fulfill your promise." Zhang Yao's expression became awkward. "Do you really want to see? Don't you have alpha stimulation syndrome? I'm afraid you'll feel uncomfortable." Yin Che realized Zhang Yao was all talk with no real experience, even more shy in these matters than himself. It was tempting to tease him. He then said, "It'll be fine as long as we don't touch." Zhang Yao had no way out, scratched his head, and slowly lifted his pajamas. As the first abdominal muscle came into view, Yin Che suddenly realized he wasn't as composed as he thought and told him to put it down. The atmosphere turned into a subtle silence. The two stood facing each other, instinctively avoiding eye contact, feeling that looking into each other's eyes might lead to something uncontrollable. Zhang Yao cleared his throat. Che, do you want to do well in this midterm exam? You've never really tried before, right? I noticed it's quite obvious. I usually don't try hard to avoid attracting attention and enemies. What about you? Yin Che pondered and said, "Same as you. Doing too well or too poorly attracts attention, so I aim for average." Zhang Yao leaned on the desk, trapping him. "I don't think you're that antisocial. Otherwise, why did you help Yang Yike catch Lu Mian? You're contradicting yourself." Yin Che looked into his eyes and said, "Because you're here. I used to think that way, but now it's different." Zhang Yao was speechless, unable to find the right words, as the suppressed impulse surged again. Backquote. Feeling all heated inside, that little rascal really knows how to flirt. He said he'd advance about 50 ranks, but Zhang Yao's mind was all over the place, not really listening or playing seriously. So Yin Che thought he planned to advance gradually, maybe a few dozen ranks, to avoid drawing suspicion from teachers and classmates. Unexpectedly, he went all out, and when the results came out, Zhang Ke rushed into the classroom shouting that the top student in the grade was from their class. Yin Che thought it was Yang Yilei. So when Zhang Ke announced who the top student was, besides the shocked gazes from all around, Zhang Yao also felt a strong stare from beside him. Turning his head, he saw his deskmate looking at him like he was a big traitor and liar. Thus, a mountain of paper balls accumulated on Yin Che's desk. He couldn't understand a single word, but he chose to forgive. Getting first place with such terrible handwriting was no easy feat, and he was too lazy to scold. Congratulations on being first in the grade. Congratulations on being the school's heartthrob. Zhang Yao laughed. Why do I feel like you're speaking with a jealous tone? Yin Che remarked, just a reminder, don't get too arrogant. Be careful of your enemies. Zhang Yao laughed nonchalantly, they've already found me. Zhao Chenggang told me he heard that Pan Wei and a few from Dongcheng who have always disliked me have teamed up. They're planning to ambush me at school next week after class. Yin Che paused, if you need help, just say the word. The sooner it's resolved, the sooner we can have peace. No need to keep it hidden. Zhang Yao picked up on the implication, do you really want to go public with me? Yin Che retorted, don't you? Zhang Yao chuckled softly, of course I want to. I'm just surprised you do too. Everyone says alphas are possessive. Turns out my little rascal isn't weak either. If your illness can be cured before your birthday, I'll gift you a bottle of my pheromones so you can smell it whenever you miss me. Yin Che said, haha, then I'll choose to stop treatment. It might not be cured anyway. It's been a month with no effect. Your pheromones might go to waste. Waste them then. If I don't give them to you, I won't give them to anyone else. Zhang Yao suddenly made up his mind and added. Backquote. If it can't be cured, I'll take a permanent inhibitor. There's an alpha inhibitor that can hide alpha pheromones, and I can maintain it for life if I want to. My dad used it before, so don't worry, even if it can't be cured, it's no big deal. At worst, your boyfriend will join you as a beta. Yin Che was about to say something when his younger brother's laughter came from behind. What are you doing? Have you no shame? Zhang Yao waved his hand, indicating that it was an affair between brothers, and the younger brother shouldn't butt in. You're still young, you don't understand. Don't mess with him, and definitely don't hit him. Zhang Yao reassured him, how could I dare to really hit him? He's my brother-in-law. Yin Che took a moment to react and then retorted, who's your brother-in-law? Soon after, evening self-study ended, and Zhang Yao and Yin Che walked hand in hand towards the small forest, feeling quite accomplished and a bit proud. You seem to be less resistant to holding hands now. Does this mean we can move to the next step? Yin Che reminded him that he wasn't yet of legal age. Zhang Yao froze for a moment, and then his palms began to sweat as he explained that he wasn't referring to that step. After your birthday, when you're ready, we'll take that step. Yin Che felt like he was holding a furnace, the heat spreading from his palm to his heart. Witnessing this scene, Yin Zi was about to explode. You two are deliberately showing off in front of me. Yin Che immediately let go of Zhang Yao's hand to explain. Yin Zi sneered, don't bother explaining. I already knew you liked him. Now you've got what you wanted. Happy now? Helping your boyfriend to teach your brother a lesson? Before Yin Che could explain, Zhang Yao asked, you knew all along? Why didn't you tell me? I could have pursued your brother earlier. I'm destined to be your brother-in-law. Yin Zi's eyes were practically shooting flames. You two are a perfect match, one hypocrite and one narcissist. Zhang Yao's face darkened as he rolled up his sleeves, ready to hit him. Yin Che held him back. What are you doing? How did you promise me? Try touching him, I dare you. Zhang Yao's momentum weakened instantly and he felt wronged. You're scolding me? I get it. If your boyfriend and your brother fell into the river, you'd definitely save your brother first. Yin Che was speechless. You can swim, can't you? Zhang Yao's eyes widened in shock, stepping back 2 steps. You don't even want to save me? Yin Che wanted to say, stop being so dramatic, this is not the time for jokes. Suddenly, the expressions of the two people opposite him changed drastically. A hand unexpectedly reached out from behind him. It grabbed him by the neck. 4 or 5 figures emerged from the small forest. So this is your boyfriend, Zhang Yao. What a coincidence. We were going to your classroom, but you came to us instead. Fate is inevitable. Under the streetlight, Zhang Yao saw clearly that the person was Pan Wei. Yin Che couldn't see the person behind him, but he could feel that the person was taller, very strong, and quick, likely an alpha. The man smiled coldly, you've hidden well. It's taken over half a year to hear about you. You've even transferred schools but still meddle in East City. Yin Zi stared at the man and asked, who are you? If you have a grudge against him, find him. Why involve my brother? Pan Wei shrugged indifferently, apologies, brother. We'll borrow your brother for a bit. I just overheard you don't seem to like him either. Why not help us deal with him first? Your new boyfriend is quite good looking. When you're tired of him someday, I wouldn't mind taking over. Yin Zi and Zhang Yao exploded instantly, their pheromones surging like a massive wave, rushing forward intensely, creating a suffocating feeling akin to sinking deep into the ocean. Even Yin Zi's expression changed. Just as they were about to make a move, Pan Wei suddenly felt sharp pain in his calf, losing balance instantly. The world spun as he crashed to the ground, his face covered in dirt, incredulous. Yin Che kicked him 5 or 6 more times. You think you're worthy of taking over? Pan Wei, with a mouthful of dirt and grass, shouted, what are you waiting for? Attack. The others snapped back to reality, rolling up their sleeves, grabbing weapons, and charging forward, turning into a chaotic melee. Pan Wei tried to sneak attack with a stun baton in the midst of the chaos. Zhang Yao unleashed his pheromones, causing Pan Hui's legs to weaken, losing all combat capability, stumbling forward with only one step to Yin Che. Zhang Yao shouted, run. However, Yin Che seemed to have lost consciousness or was paralyzed with fear, standing rigidly without moving. Yin Zi looked puzzled, not understanding why Zhang Yao was so tense, nor why his brother didn't fight back. Zhang Yao couldn't reach in time, watching helplessly as Pan Wei collided with Yin Che, along with the stun baton. Yin Che didn't resist, his body shuddered and collapsed. Before losing consciousness, he vaguely saw 2 figures rushing toward him anxiously. One figure caught him first, strong arms holding him securely, providing comfort as he finally closed his eyes completely. Waking up amidst the familiar messy setup, he found himself lying in Zhang Yao's bedroom. But the person beside the bed wasn't Zhang Yao. Yin Zi got up and said, you're awake? Then I'll head back. Yin Che called out to him, asking, where's Zhang Yao? Yin Zi showed a hint of annoyance. You wake up and ask about him, am I invisible? You've only known him for half a year, and you've told him everything. You even told him about your illness and your fear of electricity. Why didn't you tell me you're afraid of electricity? Are you more open with this stranger than with me? Yin Che, pressing his forehead, asked if they could talk about this later. Yin Zi turned and walked towards the door, saying, later, it's always later. I bet you'll never tell me until you die. Do you know why I don't treat you like a brother? Because you've never treated me like one, Yin Che said as the door slammed shut, leaving a long echo in the empty dormitory. Yin Zi walked down to his own dorm room. Coincidentally, he ran into the person he disliked the most on the way. Unable to bear it any longer, he gestured towards the staircase, signaling the person to follow. He wanted to confirm if Zhang Yao was serious about his brother. Zhang Yao understood and said, your brother is sick. He can't stand being touched. He has a bad temper. I know all of this. And don't try to throw $1 million in my face to make me leave your brother. I don't need the money. Yin Zi cursed under his breath. You're the one who's sick, my brother isn't. Zhang Yao replied indifferently, little brother, I understand your pathological pride and attachment to your brother, but being sick is nothing to be ashamed of. You have to face it bravely to get better. The conversation was going nowhere. Yin Zi tried to keep his anger in check, insisting, no sickness means no sickness. He doesn't lack pheromones because he's sick. Zhang Yao's voice deepened, what are you saying? Then how did he become like this? Yin Zi felt a bit triumphant as if he had turned the tables. So he hasn't told you about this? Zhang Yao wasn't in the mood to argue over this. Frowning and brooding for a while, he slowly said, my brother and I were kidnapped when we were kids. Our dad is a well-known attorney. Years ago, he took on a rape case. The defendant was a rich man's son who had brutally mistreated a beat working as a club hostess. Afterwards, that beat committed suicide. Originally, I didn't plan to take this case, but Beat's parents knelt at the office door and begged. Even if it meant losing everything, they wanted to win the case. But sometimes, seeking justice isn't that simple, involving many interests. Coincidentally, that day his 2 sons came to see their father and witnessed this scene. Yin Chung suddenly said, Dad, why don't you help them? Aren't you a hero? Because of this sentence from his eldest son, he took the case. The lawsuit was very difficult, but after much hardship they finally won. The wealthy merchant's son was sentenced to death. Everything seemed perfect. Until the summer of the victory, the Yin family went to the beach. The 2 sons were kidnapped. Yin's covered his forehead, recalling that distant and heavy past. The kidnappers took us to an abandoned factory and called my parents. My brother found the back door and used a rock to smash it. His hands were bleeding, but he finally broke the door open and took me out. But those people soon realized we had escaped and chased after us. There was a bush where we could hide. It could clearly fit 2 people, but he pushed me away and told me to keep running. He used me as bait so he could escape. I used to admire him so much, and at that moment, I was so desperate. My favorite brother turned out to be such a selfish person. How did your brother lose his pheromones? Yins composed himself and said calmly, in the end, they didn't catch up. I reached a safe place, but the bush where my brother hid was found. He was caught again. Fortunately, my parents reported to the police in time, and the case was solved in 2 or 3 days. My brother was locked up for several days without food. His body was too weak and he was left with psychological trauma. He took a year off school to recover, but since the scare, he lost his pheromones. Yin Zi stood up and dusted off his pants. Alright, I've told you everything I should and shouldn't about my brother. He seems loyal but is actually quite hypocritical. If you can't accept that, leave him early. Don't make excuses to break up later. Zhang Yao sat still, lost in thought, then suddenly asked, weren't you locked up together? How did you know he didn't eat? Yin Zi replied, my parents told me. Zhang Yao continued, I guess your brother told you the same thing, right? Yin Zi frowned, what do you mean by that? Zhang Yao understood everything, why the kid was afraid of electricity, why he resisted Alpha's touch, why he had a burn on his neck, why the beta pheromone deficiency, obviously not an incurable disease, hasn't been treated yet, why he obviously likes him but has to reject him. Because he had no choice but to reject him. It was so obvious. When they first met, he had suspected it all along but hadn't realized it. Zhang Yao took a deep breath. Let me ask you, was your brother afraid of electricity as a child? Did you know he has a scar here? Yin Zi hesitated, I don't know. Zhang Yao sneered, his eyes turning gray like a blade. Brother, you're really a fool, aren't you? Let me ask you one last thing. Do you know your brother is an Omega? In the dormitory, Yin Che woke up and couldn't fall back asleep, lying on the bed, lost in thought. What Yin Zi said before leaving wasn't unreasonable. He hasn't been completely open with him all these years. Being disliked is also understandable. But what if he can't cure it and loses a disliked brother? Let's talk it over later. Right now, he's still not over it and wants to see someone else more. He stared at Zhang Yao's jacket, ensuring there were no footsteps in the hallway outside. He grabbed the coat, buried his face in it, and took a deep breath. Apart from a faint smell of laundry soap, he couldn't detect any other scent. After over a month of treatment, there was still no effect. Just then, footsteps sounded outside the door, and he quickly stuffed the coat back into the corner. You just scared me to death, not even knowing how to hide. Yin Che got out of bed, indicating he was fine. Zhang Yao unzipped his jacket, about to take it off. Suddenly, he grimaced and held his waist. When I picked you up earlier, I accidentally got ambushed and took a hit. It hurts a bit. Yin Che went to pull his clothes to check, but Zhang Yao held his hand down. It's nothing, just a bruise, I guess. I'll go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. You stay and help me ask for leave from old Wu. Yin Che was a bit puzzled but didn't think much of it. Early the next morning, Zhang Yao went to the hospital and found Yin Che's attending physician to identify himself and inquire about Yin Che's condition. Dr. Feng was momentarily stunned, looking troubled. Zhang Yao probed, actually, even if you don't say it, I kind of understand. He was kidnapped before and lost his omega pheromones because of it, right? Dr. Feng's surprised expression confirmed his guess, and his heart sank rapidly. He feared he might be wrong, but feared more that he might be right. Before I came, I checked that losing pheromones later in life for an omega is almost impossible to cure. Is it true that if untreated, they won't live past 19? Dr. Feng paused for a moment and sighed, it's true. Zhang Yao felt weak, unable to recover for a long time, and his breathing was trembling. But if it's true, why aren't his parents even a bit worried? Do they not know? Indeed, they don't know. Patients have rights protection and can choose not to inform guardians of their condition, so his parents always thought he could only be an ordinary beta in this life. But there have been cases of recovery now. Yin Che is also cooperating well with the treatment, perhaps a miracle could happen. Zhang Yao was unexpectedly calm. I read the report on that case too. It's about stimulating pheromones through scenario reenactment, right? Dr. Feng remained silent, everything was clear. How else can it be treated? Reenactment therapy, as the name suggests, involves reliving the past traumas all over again. The kid didn't want to be treated. He'd rather refuse it, rather not live than go through it again. Dr. Feng sighed. Treating this illness requires both physical and psychological therapy. Although his glands and reproductive cavity have been restored through surgery, psychologically. Zhang Yao suddenly felt his scalp tingle. What surgery? Wasn't it caused by the electric shock? Why did the glands and reproductive cavity need surgery? The nerves in his brain started to tremble. Gripping the chair's armrest, he could barely breathe. He thought he knew everything, but it was just the tip of the iceberg. The scariest part was even worse than he had imagined. Dr. Feng skipped over this matter. Since he didn't mention it, it's not appropriate for me to disclose it either. He took a document from the drawer, about to speak when a sudden realization hit him. He remembered Zhang Yao saying that Yin Che came to get treated for him. Suddenly excited, he stood up from behind the desk and walked briskly towards him. Yin Che, you're the only one who can treat this illness. When evening study was about to start, Yin Che finally waited for his deskmate to return. He asked why he took so long. Was the injury serious? Zhang Yao said he finished the checkup in the morning and thought it was a rare chance to take leave from school, so he bought some food for him. Then Han Meng came over to help deliver a love letter. Zhang Yao picked it up, glanced at it, and asked, "Only one?" The chair was moved by someone next to him. "How many do you want?" Han Meng replied irritably. "What are you saying in front of your che bro? I cut up all the others for you." This girl was too persistent. I had no choice but to accept it. "Do whatever you want with it." Zhang Yao smiled contentedly. "I told you it's impossible for only one person to have a crush on me." Che, do you feel any sense of crisis? Shouldn't you be nicer to me? Shouldn't you be nicer to me? Yin Che squints his eyes. I think you lack a sense of crisis. The 7th basketball competition at No. 1 middle school has started registration. The sports committee has been looking forward to this day for a whole year, vowing to take revenge this time. So, he asked the class president to recruit Zhang Yao. Chen Yingying agreed readily and immediately called out Che Zhe. The sports committee quickly stopped her to remind her she called the wrong person. Chen Yingying ignored him and continued calling Che Zhe. Our class basketball team really lacks people. Can you help us out? It does not matter if we win or not, but it would be too embarrassing not to participate at all. Please, please. Yin Che frowned and the sports committee was terrified, thinking he got angry. But Yin Che just replied casually. Upon hearing this, Zhang Yao also signed up immediately. Wherever Yin Che is, there will be applause that Zhang Yao understands. Zhang Yao took him to the usual basketball court, where Zhao Cheng and others were already there, teasing Wang Xiaoro with lollipops. A group of tall and strong alphas surrounded an omega little girl, who giggled. Passers-by who saw this wanted to call the police. Wang Xiaoro heard the roar of a motorcycle, turned her head, saw her brother coming, and instantly forgot about the lollipop. Zhang Yao parked the bike, took off his helmet, and told her he brought another brother today. Wang Xiaoro immediately shouted it was brother Yin. Unlike those alpha fathers who only focus on teasing the girl, Yin Che took off his jacket and asked how to play, as if he was about to fight. Zhang Yao told him not to rush and to chat with his sister first, as she really likes you. Yin Che said he is not good at chatting with kids. Zhang Yao smiled softly and said, then learn, it will always come in handy. When your illness is cured, we will always have time. Yin Che was slightly stunned. You are still in high school, what are you thinking? The doctor said yesterday that there is still no effect, it might not be curable. A trace of disappointment flashed in Zhang Yao's eyes. It is okay, if it can't be cured, so be it. Yin Che asked, do you mind that I am like this? Zhang Yao patted his shoulder, of course I do not mind. Didn't I say that a long time ago? Come on, let us go play basketball, we are on the same team. Yin Che looked at him. He seemed not to care, but the fleeting disappointment in his eyes did not seem fake. The temperature hinted at the approach of summer. After playing half a game, everyone was drenched in sweat. They went to the bench to drink water. Outside the wire fence, several passing students had gathered at some point. When they saw Zhang Yao approaching, their eyes sparkled with admiration, causing a wave of excited screams. Yin Che took a few big gulps of water, some spilling from the corners of his mouth, trickling down his fair neck and into his shirt collar. A small patch of fabric on his chest became transparent, revealing the skin underneath. After drinking, he stared at the people outside the fence. They got the hint and quickly dispersed. Zhang Yao laughed and asked, are you declaring your sovereignty? Yin Che replied, what else? Letting you flirt around. Zhang Yao laughed even more. You are even jealous about this. How are we going to live like this in the future? Yin Che threw the water bottle at him. Take it one day at a time. Didn't you say that dating is day by day, and you said you did not mind my illness? Zhang Yao was about to explain when Yin Che kicked him. I never said I would not get treated. He kicked a few more times in frustration. If it can be cured, you can have as many as you want. Okay, after saying that, he felt embarrassed. We are still in high school. Not even adults yet, and you are talking about having kids with an alpha. Really shameless. Zhang Yao, this beast, really has no shame. Why are you staring at me? You said it yourself, did not you? I can choose anyone I want, right? Then I will reserve a basketball team first. At that moment, Zhao Cheng ran over to warn him, saying his pheromones had leaked out again. There will definitely be a lot of people at the basketball game, do not attract a bunch of feverish Omegas wanting to have your children. Zhang Yao looked at Yin Che and chuckled, I do not want children from others. Someone will have them for me, right? Under his almost coercive gaze, Yin Che reluctantly nodded, feeling very guilty about the empty promise. On the day of the basketball game, they drew Class 4, which did not have any formidable opponents. However, there was an old friend, Wrong Wei. Han Meng was a bit worried that he would play dirty tricks like last year, but it turned out his worries were unnecessary. Wrong Wei played by the rules throughout the game, even suspected of slacking. When Zhang Yao dribbled past him, he barely tried to block. Class 1 won easily and advanced. After the game, Yin Che asked if what happened last year with Rong Wei was Zhang Yao's doing. Zhang Yao said, besides your boyfriend, who else would be so good to you and help you get revenge? Yin Che reminded him, you were not my boyfriend back then, you were still chasing Ziyue. Zhang Yao told him not to be so petty, it has been so long, if you are going to mind who I chased or dated before, then when will you stop? There are too many, I can't even remember them all. By the way, have you thought about what if we draw your brother's class next round? Yin Che had thought about it too. This competition is about class honor. We can't just throw the game for his personal reasons. Let him play normally, he has to grow up. I can't protect him forever. After evening self-study, back in the dorm, Zhang Yao unusually did not come to visit, saying he needed to rest early to conserve energy. Yin Che lay on his bed folding stars in the group chat. Zhang Ke had some juicy gossip. I just saw brother Yao in the grove, he seemed to be with a girl. Yin Che's hands paused, and the group urged him to come out and explain himself. Zhang Yao soon came online to say, you got it wrong, I am in the dorm. But what are you doing in the woods so late? Yin Che did not think much of it, glanced at the date on his phone. It is May, more than a month until his birthday. Last weekend during treatment, Dr. Feng asked why he wanted to get treated. I have always wanted to ask this question. Before, you told me you did not plan to get treated. What made you change your mind suddenly? He replied without hesitation. Because I want to have a few more days of romance to cherish every day. It seems like I have not cherished enough yet. Such a quiet and peaceful night, it is too wasteful to just sleep through it. He walked to the next door and knocked, but no one responded. Could he be asleep? Didn't he just send a message in the group, rarely offering warmth, yet he faced a closed door? Yin Che thought, maybe Zhang Yao just is not that lucky. As he turned around, he saw someone coming up from the stairs. Still in school uniform, as if he just returned. Zhang Yao approached with a smile. Were you looking for me or planning to ambush me? Yin Che took a step back and asked, did not you say you were in the dorm? Zhang Yao said he could not sleep and just went for a night run on the track. Afraid you would misunderstand what Zhang Ke said, so I said I was in the dorm. I will take a shower. You can go in first. Yin Che followed him into the dorm. Zhang Yao took off his jacket, his forehead was sweaty, and his face a bit flushed, indeed looking like he just exercised. Zhang Yao, pulling off his t-shirt, asked, standing there, do you want to shower with me? Yin Che frowned, I told you, you can't lie to me. Zhang Yao argued, does this count as lying? Are you going to break up with me for such a small thing? Can you bear it? Yin Che pressed his lips together, silent for a few seconds. I will let it go this time, but do not lie to me again. I trust you, there is no need to make excuses to reassure me. Zhang Yao stopped undressing, pinned him against the wall. Don't want me to reassure you? Then why come to me so late at night? Zhang Yao leaned in closer. Coming to your boyfriend's dorm to sleep in the same bed, just to chat under the covers. Backquote. Yin Che turned his head and told him to take a shower. You are all sweaty, who would want to sleep in the same bed with you? Zhang Yao leaned closer, squinting his eyes. Can you smell my pheromones? Yin Che said he could not. Zhang Yao almost pressed up against him, his body radiating heat after the exercise. His breath sprayed on Yin Che's neck. How about now, even without the pheromone scent? It still makes one's body temperature rise. Yin Che was not used to Zhang Yao being this passionate. He pushed against his shoulder. Bro, that is too much. Zhang Yao's breathing suddenly became heavy. This is too much, how about this? He pushed his knee between Yin Che's legs and then pushed up again. Che, I want to take the next step. Zhang Yao stared at him, desire evident in his eyes. Yin Che's mind went blank for a moment, followed by intense pain, like a drill boring into his brain. It felt like a steel rod was being inserted into his body. Zhang Yao stopped his actions, withdrew his leg, and reached out to touch his face, but Yin Che slapped his hand away. He knew he was overreacting, but he could not control his body and mind. He trembled and slid down, curling up. Cold sweat poured down, his vision blurred and chaotic. Zhang Yao's figure turned into many indistinct shadows. Zhang Yao squatted down. Are you okay? I did not expect you to resist this much. I am sorry, I won't do this again. Yin Che suddenly felt pity for him. If they do not do this, will they be stuck at just holding hands and hugging for the rest of their lives? He could have had a wonderful romantic experience. But now he has to be cautious in their relationship. Even a slight touch is too much. It is pathetic. Is this kind of love really worth it for Zhang Yao? He tried to speak in a relaxed tone. You are taking too big a step. After hugging and holding hands, is this the next thing? Did we miss a step? Zhang Yao sighed in relief and smiled at him. We have already kissed, remember, last time, you secretly kissed the back of my hand. Yin Che adamantly denied it, saying he did not kiss. That was your imagination, he said. Zhang Yao pulled him up and hugged him. Okay, my imagination, whatever you say. I just finished exercising and my pheromones were unstable. I acted impulsively and scared you. Sorry. At this age, it is natural for boys to have strong desires. If it were a normal Omega, they would probably be completely captivated, wishing Zhang Yao would touch them more. Yin Che felt guilty and asked if they could take it slow. He was not used to it yet. Zhang Yao softly asked, "Can I kiss you, or maybe somewhere else, like your hand?" Yin Che's face felt a bit warm. What is so special about kissing a hand? Zhang Yao persistently looked at him. His gaze like that of a predator. Yin Che did not stop him again. Zhang Yao immediately took his hand and gave the back of it a quick kiss. After the kiss, he laughed and said, "Now we are even." Clearly a wolf. Yet sometimes like a silly, clumsy husky. Soon, the basketball finals arrived. A peak showdown between the two school heartthrobs. The strong alliance of the school heartthrob and the school bully. The brotherly rivalry between the bully brother and the heartthrob brother. This plot is exciting enough to go down in school history. The basketball soared as the whistle blew, and the whole place erupted. Zhang Yao and Yin Zi jumped the highest, but Zhang Yao was a step faster, grabbing the ball and landing. Quickly dribbling towards the basket. He moved so fast that even his teammates could not catch up. As he was about to make a beautiful long arc shot, Yin Zi, who had just arrived, jumped up to intercept. Slamming the ball down with precision and flair. With a disdainful look, Yin Zi quickly descended. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he went for the ball. However, before he could reach it, the ball disappeared right before his eyes. Yin Che passed by him, snatching the ball and saying, "Sorry." Backquote. The student keeping score flipped the scoreboard, and the students from class 2-1 screamed in excitement. Yin Zi's competitive spirit was ignited, and the match grew fiercer. The pheromones in the air became denser. Many students at the sidelines felt it, especially the Omegas who had a strong reaction to the alpha pheromones. Some faces turned red, but many were too excited to notice anything unusual. Yin Zi angrily said, "Tell your boyfriend to keep his pheromones in check. Is he sick showing off like that?" Yin Che looked utterly confused. Yin Zi, exasperated, forgot you could not smell it. "Never mind, I will go to him directly." At that moment, a girl, exhausted, collapsed into Zhang Yao's arms. Both of their faces were very red. This scene seemed familiar. Zhang Ke, with sharp eyes, noticed that the person was Yin Zi's ex-girlfriend, Zi Yuyu. After collapsing into Zhang Yao's arms, she slowly came to and seemed to be alright. But for some reason, Zhang Yao's hand around her waist did not loosen until Yin Zi rushed over and pulled him away by his collar. "What are you doing holding her?" Zhang Yao coldly retorted. "Can't I help a classmate?" The atmosphere was tense, but fortunately, the PE teacher came over to mediate, sending them back to the game. Zi Yuyu was helped to the infirmary by classmates. Yin Che stood silently the whole time, unable to move. After school, he saw the class group chat discussing the incident. Just then, a new message popped up in the top left corner. Zhang Yao sent him a message saying sorry again. Actually, Zhang Yao had already apologized during today's club class, saying it might be because he had pursued her before and had been in contact for a while. So today she was affected, could not control herself for a moment and did not pull back in time. Dao Huan was very sincere and apologetic, looking quite guilty. There was nothing to criticize. The physiological instinct between Alpha and Omega is engraved in their genes. It is not that easy to resist. But now, looking at his message, he feels annoyed again. He does not want to mention it anymore. Yin Zi sat beside him and said coldly. "Is it news from your boyfriend? I advise you not to believe anything he says. He is a scumbag. Some things are hard to hear. But I have to tell you, it is too easy for him to deceive you. Even if he is too timing, you would not notice because you can't smell the scent of others on him." Yin Che wanted to say, "He won't lie to me," but could not speak when he opened his mouth. Zhang Yao had just deceived him last night. Although it was not malicious, it was the first time he realized Zhang Yao could lie to him. This time, he happened to find out. What about before? Were there things he had not discovered yet? After dinner, he went back to his room to do homework. Zhang Yao routinely sent a video. The first thing he said was, "Sorry, Che, I went to get inhibitors." Yin Che was a bit startled, while Zhang Yao seemed very happy. "I said I went to get inhibitors. Just came back from the hospital and got the permanent one we talked about last time. You do not have to worry anymore. I won't be affected by Omega pheromones again." Yin Che was stunned for a while and heard himself slowly say, "Oh, that is good. Good my foot." Zhang Yao gave up his alpha symbol, yet he thought it was great. Zhang Yao won't be attracted to other Omegas anymore. Knowing it is selfish, he could not help but feel secretly pleased. So selfish to the extreme, guilt drove him to ask. Really no pheromones forever? Zhang Yao half seriously, half jokingly said, not gone, just hidden. As long as I do not have relations with an omega, causing a pheromone outbreak, it won't fail. My partner is a beta, so it is effectively permanent. Yin Che thought. That is okay, there is still hope. Need to ask Dr. Feng to intensify the treatment. Because many people in the class group were discussing Ziyu Wei as Zhang Yao's rumored girlfriend, Yin Che wanted to make their relationship public. Zhang Yao agreed readily, telling him not to go home next weekend, but to stay overnight in his dorm and take a photo to post in the group. After hanging up, Yin Che had no mood to do homework. The next day, he went to school with panda eyes. As soon as he got to the classroom, he started catching up on sleep. Zhang Yao fiddled with his hair and asked, why are you so tired today? Not feeling well, he waved Zhang Yao's hand away and said, didn't sleep well yesterday. Zhang Yao took advantage of the situation and pulled him under the table, holding his hand tightly and whispering, stay over tonight. Okay, I will make sure you get a good night's sleep. Yin Che pulled his hand back, saying, a good night's sleep, more like you won't let me sleep. But by Friday, I will have no choice but to take the bait. After all, he made the promise himself. Yin Zi met his gaze. Brother, you are not going back this week because of him. You have progressed to this point already. How can you be so casual? Zhang Yao said, he is my partner, living together is normal, right? Yin Zi felt a bit hurt. Normal my foot. My brother is not even an adult yet. Zhang Yao nonchalantly replied, it is only a few days away. Yin Che was taken aback. What do you mean by, a few days away? Zhang Yao seemed increasingly impatient lately. Yin Zi could not stand it anymore and took Zhang Yao outside. He kicked open the door to the dormitory rooftop, trying to stay calm, and asked, what did Dr. Feng say when you went to the hospital last time? The wind on the rooftop was strong, and Zhang Yao's smile seemed a bit forced by it. I asked clearly, it was my mistake. Your brother is not an omega. Yin Zi breathed a sigh of relief. I knew you were just guessing. Face reality, my brother is a beta. Don't impose omega standards on him. Just because he can't smell pheromones does not mean you can deceive him. If I find out you wrong him, I will beat you up. Zhang Yao smiled, welcoming the supervision. There was no time for banter. The door slammed shut in front of them. Back in the dorm, Yin Che had already moved his pillow over. Suddenly telling him my birthday is in 2 weeks. During these 2 weeks, I will try my best to cure you, just wait a little longer. Adulthood is a hurdle, whether you can cross it depends on these 2 weeks. Zhang Yao was indifferent, saying, why rush, take it slow. It is not like I can't wait. What is the big deal about suddenly becoming an adult? Does your illness become incurable after adulthood? Even if it can't be cured, so what? Others with incurable conditions are living just fine. Yin Che reached out to hold his wrist, the bracelet from Massa. But I said if we break up, you can't pursue me again. Don't forget that. Zhang Yao said he would remember it well, never giving him a chance to mention breaking up. The single bed in the dormitory was not wide, let alone for 2 boys who are 1.8 meters tall. Zhang Yao lay on the outer side, trying to curl up to leave space. Yin Che saw his posture and felt uncomfortable, so he asked him to move closer. Zhang Yao's gaze darkened a bit. With the person I like sleeping next to me, I am afraid I can't control myself. Yin Che told him to turn off the light, saying that not seeing would calm him down. Zhang Yao laughed and agreed. The night was quiet, accompanied by the rustling of leaves in the wind outside the window. The ambiguous feelings were eventually suppressed by fatigue. Yin Che did not sleep well, waking up several times during the night. The person beside him remained very proper, not changing his position, tightly holding his hand without touching anywhere else. Rumors spread that Zhang Yao had a girlfriend. Did he turn indifferent after getting what he wanted? Yin Che went to the hospital early as usual, while Zhang Yao took a short nap before hearing the dormitory door open. His face was a bit pale, and the shoulder bag he was carrying seemed very heavy, almost crushing him. Zhang Yao took his bag and weighed it, finding it was not heavy at all. But it was bulkier than when he left home in the morning. Yin Che said he wanted to rest and headed straight for the bed. Unexpectedly, he stumbled halfway, losing his balance and falling forward. Zhang Yao caught him in time, and Yin Che leaned into his arms, softly saying, "Brother, hold me for a while." Zhang Yao hugged him tightly without hesitation and asked, "Why are you suddenly acting spoiled?" Yin Che did not reply, quietly resting against his neck. After a few minutes, he let go and continued towards the bed, collapsing onto it. "I will sleep for a bit first, and we will go out tonight," he said. Zhang Yao told him if he was not feeling well, They should not go. Yin Che murmured a couple of times, already almost asleep. Zhang Yao walked over and suddenly noticed the red string, which had widened a bit not because the string was loose, but because the ankle had thinned. Yin Che usually dressed very conservatively, so the change was not obvious, but even his ankles, which do not have much flesh, were visibly thinner. Who knows how thin the rest of him had become? The color of the red string looked like it was soaked in blood, becoming more glaring the longer he looked. He glanced at the person still asleep on the bed, went outside to a quiet corner, and dialed a phone number. When Yin Che woke up, the clouds outside the window had turned orange-yellow. The scar on his neck still hurt, but it was much better than when he was shocked into unconsciousness at the hospital in the morning. There was no one else in the dormitory. Zhang Yao was not there, and he felt a bit lost, not knowing what to do. The dorm room door opened, and Zhang Yao came in with a bag of takeout, his face a bit flushed and forehead sweaty. I just went for a run and picked up some porridge from the shop outside. It is quite light, eat it while it is hot. Yin Che asked, why are you still running? Haven't you already outrun Bolt? Zhang Yao pulled him to sit down for the meal and said, pride leads to falling behind. I need to keep it up. You eat first, I will go take a shower. At this moment, the class group chat started buzzing again. Zhang Ke posted a picture with the caption, this time it is solid proof, right, brother Yao. Zhang Yao was seen comforting someone with an arm around their shoulder. Yin Che's breathing gradually became tense. The person being comforted was not him but Yaoi. When Zhang Yao came out, he opened the photo and placed the phone in front of him, asking for an explanation. Zhang Yao looked surprised and said, listen to me, I was just coming back from running at the sports field yesterday and happened to meet her. She did not go home this week either. Then we started talking about your brother's situation. She was a bit upset, and I was just comforting her. That is a reasonable explanation, I can accept that. Yin Che did not inquire further about his rumors. Zhang Yao exclaimed, just like that, you are not angry? Yin Che asked. Otherwise, what? You did not do anything to betray me. Why should I be angry? You even took the suppressant. I do not think you had the intention to flirt with any Omega. Zhang Yao laughed, you trust me so much, I am really touched. Yin Che tapped on the table, but your boyfriend is a bit upset. Take out your phone and take a selfie with me. Post it in the group to shut Zhang Ke and the others up. Zhang Yao hesitated, thinking it might not be a good idea. I later thought that if it were posted in the group, Zhang would definitely make it widely known. If it accidentally reached the teacher, and then my dad, it would not be good. Yin Che did not understand. Didn't you promise me? What is not good about it? My dad has a bit of a temper, and I have caused a lot of trouble in Dongcheng before. He does not allow me to date in high school, fearing I might harm others. Yin Che turned to leave. I will go tell your dad that you have not harmed me. Zhang Yao quickly held him back, urging him not to rush. We have a long time ahead. Waiting until after graduation to give everyone a surprise is not bad either. Can you wait a year for me? Look, I am waiting for you too. His last words blocked all possibilities of refusal. I am waiting for you. Can't you wait for me a bit? It sounds fair, but something feels off. Zhang Yao seemed less accommodating than before. He had no choice but to compromise. Yin Che's birthday was approaching, and classmates were discussing how to celebrate it. Zhang Yao was expected to surprise him, but instead he said, I originally wanted to take you to my place to meet my dad. Seeing how good-looking you are, he might just agree. And we could go public earlier. But you are too popular, everyone wants to celebrate your birthday. I can't bring so many people home, can I? Yin Che pursed his lips, not letting his corners lift. He thought for a moment, then sent a message in the group, let us keep it simple, go for KTV, it has been a while. I will treat. Then he replied to Zhang Yao, after KTV, we will go to your place. On Saturday, Chao Wanyan prepared a table of elaborate dishes. During the meal, she complained to Dr. Feng, what are you saying today? I have been treating your illness for months now. Why does your complexion seem to be getting worse? Yin Zi looked up and glanced. His brother was naturally pale, but today he came back looking almost bloodless. Yin Che, with eyes downcast, said, it is normal, it will get better after a while. Next semester, I am thinking of transferring schools. Yin's father felt it was a bit sudden. Yin Che explained that Dr. Feng suggested going to a place with a nice view to relax and recover faster. I have already chosen the place. He booked a huge private room, big enough for the whole class. Most of the guests had arrived when the main character finally showed up. Zhang Ke, always stirring things up, loudly called for Che to drink as a penalty. A group of well-behaved students, now infected by the carefree atmosphere, joined in the teasing. Che, you can't refuse to drink. Yin Che reached out to take the drink, but Zhang Yao grabbed it first. He can't drink, I will drink for him. Before anyone could object, Zhang Yao tilted his head back and downed it in one go. His bold move immediately heated up the atmosphere. Han Meng, watching the dazzling couples, sighed. I am so jealous. How come all of you have partners, and I am the only one who feels like I wasted my junior year? Zhang Yao, with a proud tone, offered, want me to teach you how to pursue someone? It is actually simple, just be consistently good to them. Most people will be moved. Say some nice things, and they might become devoted to you. Look, even your Che was won over by me. Yin Che, sitting next to him, felt a subtle shift in his mood. As if Zhang Yao was showing off a trophy. At this moment, someone suggested playing a game called I Have, You Haven't. The rules are simple. Each person takes turns saying something they have done that others have not. If anyone else has done it, they must accept a penalty. The birthday person started. Everyone thought he would mention his many fights, but surprisingly, Yin Che did not bring up any of his school bully exploits. Instead, he pointed to his stomach. I have had surgery here. Zhang Yao paused with his drink. When it was Zhang Yao's turn, he thought for a few seconds and said, I did something really bad, probably unforgivable. Yin Che turned to look at him, meeting his gaze. The lighting in the room was dim, and Zhang Yao's eyes were dark, hiding his emotions. Everyone gossiped about what it could be. But Zhang Yao did not want to say and directly accepted the penalty. Just as he was about to drink, Yin Che suddenly stood up to answer a call. Dr. Feng said on the phone, after evaluation, there is roughly 5 months left. It is not an unexpected result. These 3 days after adulthood were supposed to be its fever period. If the pheromones can't erupt during this period to feed the beast that has been lurking, it is only a matter of time before being torn apart. He recently discovered that this world is actually beautiful. He has never been so eager to live. Zhang Yao ignited his unprecedented will to survive. However, this will to survive cannot help him heal. Instead, it leads him to despair, which is quite ironic. After thinking for a while, he said, Dr. Feng, there is only one last stimulus left. I might not be able to do it myself. Can you help me destroy my reproductive cavity? Feng Deliang felt a tingling on his scalp as certain past images flooded his mind. He still remembered seeing the child for the first time over 10 years ago. The robbers had cruelly turned this Omega child into a beat, reportedly to retaliate against the child's father for defending a beat in court. He did not understand what it meant to turn an Omega into a beat. Attributes are innate. How could they change? Once in the operating room, everything became clear. A 7 or 8-year-old child was electrocuted into unconsciousness, his body bruised and bleeding profusely. His immature glands were burned through with cigarette butts. And his reproductive cavity was pierced with a steel rod. Fortunately, after a day and night of repair surgery, the child's glands and reproductive cavity were successfully preserved. They thought the child was lucky to have survived. However, during a post-operative examination, it was suddenly discovered that the child could not smell pheromones anymore and had no pheromones on his body. Acquired conditions are almost impossible to cure. All known cases experience rapid organ failure after the fever period at age 18, not lasting a year. Who knew Yin Che's first reaction was, there is still so long. His next sentence was, Uncle, please do not tell my family. Okay. He agreed and has kept this secret until now. Feng Deliang was shocked by his thoughts. Backquote. You are hurting yourself. If you do this, your family will definitely find out. How will you explain it to them then? I just feel restless if I do not try every possibility. Please let me try. If none of it works, I won't act recklessly anymore. I have already mentioned to my dad that I want to transfer schools next semester, go abroad, and he agreed. When the time is right, I want to go to the seaside, especially with Zhang Yao. Holding hands, leaning on shoulders, waiting for the sunset by the blue sea. One day passes and another comes. With Zhang Yao, every day feels like a passionate romance. He was so absorbed in imagining that he did not notice ahead, and unexpectedly bumped into someone while turning a corner. That person suddenly hugged him, familiar height, familiar scent. Zhang Yao's arms tightened as if using all his strength to embed him into his body. Don't leave me. Please. Yin Che was stunned for a moment, quickly hung up the phone, pushed him away, and asked, how much did you hear? Zhang Yao's eyes were a bit dazed, his eyes slightly red, letting out a hiccup. Why did you go out for so long? I missed you. Turns out he was drunk. Yin Che sighed in relief. Grabbed his wrist, and pulled him back. I thought you could hold your liquor well. Just 2 or 3 beers and you were done. Zhang Yao suddenly got angry, shook off his hand, grabbed his arm, and dragged him into an empty booth, closing the door. Who says I can't? Your boyfriend is very capable. Yin Che tried to pry his fingers off but could not. Zhang Yao's grip was strong, forcefully pushing him onto the sofa, then pressing down himself. Warm breath sprayed onto his neck. Things were getting out of control. Zhang Yao pressed lower and lower, eventually his lips touched his skin. Yin Che felt like electricity coursed through him, his hair stood on end. Don't do this, I can't. Zhang Yao raised his eyes, looking at him deeply. What is impossible? How do you know if you do not try? Zhang Yao pulled out his shirt, his waist felt cold. Yin Che lifted his leg, trying to push him away with his knee, but Zhang Yao was alert, holding his knee and pressing it to the sides before he could move. Backquote. Your body fits right in. You will like it. The more you touch, the more you will get used to it. Yin Che froze, suddenly feeling nauseous. He did not like this at all. He did not like what Zhang Yao just said. Take back your words, or I will hit you. Zhang Yao laughed and boldly pinched his waist. Would you really, you like me so much? Yin Che punched him hard on the shoulder. Zhang Yao winced in pain and got off him, his heart racing too fast, causing dizziness from lack of oxygen. He still detested the alpha's coercion, even if it was Zhang Yao. Or perhaps precisely because it was Zhang Yao, he especially hated all coercive behavior. Clearly, he said he would wait for him to adapt. Yin Che clenched his fist. Don't think I won't hit you if you mess around again. I have not finished speaking. A punch landed heavily by his ear. The forceful punch grazed his cheek. Yin Che's mind went blank with a loud bang. Zhang Yao frowned. Why are you always so dizzy? How long do I have to wait? You are already an adult and still can't be touched. Forget it. It is your birthday today. Let us not talk about these disappointing things. He stood up and pushed the door open to leave. Yin Che lay on the sofa, dazed for a moment. What did he mean by disappointing himself? He slowly sat up, burying his face in his hands. Zhang Yao thought he was disappointing. When he returned to the private room, Zhang Yao, as always, thoughtfully prepared a birthday cake for him, and even gave him a bouquet of red roses. It is cliché, but he liked it. He planned to take it back and make it into a specimen, replacing the paper rose he had preserved for a long time. Zhang Yao smiled and said, "Happy birthday," as if he was not the same person who just called him disappointing. Was it the truth after drinking or just drunken nonsense? He could not tell. Backquote. I just think that even if Zhang Yao is talking nonsense, he should not say something like that unless he is really angry with me. When I go back, I definitely can't ride the motorcycle. He hailed a taxi by the roadside and got into the back seat, noticing Yin Che still standing by the road, so he asked him to get in. Didn't we agree to go to my place?